I'm muted. It's a Friday that feels like a Monday. It's a Friday that feels like a Monday. I was just singing the sweetest song about Fridays and hoping that everyone has the best Friday ever, 'cause Fridays are generally the last day of work for a lot of people. And I hope if that's you, that today is gonna be the funnest day you've ever had. To be honest, my Friday's starting out a little bit like a Monday, but you know what? I'm gonna run over it like a car running over something. I didn't want it to hurt anything. No, it was me. It was all me. Oomph. And we're not terribly surprised, are we? Anyway, good morning. I decided, here's the thing. I love that we're doing this together. Actually, I think it's good that I go on every day. And the reason I do think it's good because I need to and I want to. But I think I go on every day and it's great because, as an older person, I'm very self-conscious about the way that I look, right? I've got all kinds of issues like we all do. And I'm not special. But I better go check the court. Oh, she's not on yet. Um but I struggle with, like, in the beginning of doing all this online stuff, I was like, put on makeup, put on makeup, put on makeup. And, oh, whoops, speaking of which, I love makeup. I love makeup, but I also am like, there's a point at which I'm like, why am I trying so hard? Does anybody really care? And I'm not sure anybody totally cares. I mean, I think you need to look like you don't want to make people vomit, right? I don't want people to recoil. I'm going for the not recoiling. Where's my goddamn... Oh, I really hope I didn't lose this. But anyway, let me go ahead and pull her up because I don't want to miss, and I will, undoubtedly. I will miss. I will miss it. Let me like it. I'm gonna like it. Okay. Hey, stop! I mean it. I mean it. Stop it. Anyway, no, I need to get my blah, 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 blah. Oh, there it is. With fake with eyelash extensions, which is what I have, eyelash extensions. You have to brush them or they get all clumpy. And so I have to brush them as if they were regular. Oh boy. When you get a close up of your skin, you're kind of like, what the fuck? Oh yeah, see these lashes. I need some help here. These lashes are like on their last leg. They're like, lady, we can't do all this heavy lifting. We're just lashes. We're not heroes. Anyway, so I guess I decided to do less makeup. I think it's good. It's good for me to go on because it's going to make me figure out how much am I doing. How much should I do? Anyway, I don't know. Good morning. Good morning. How is everyone? Oomph, I'm so excited about our phone call tomorrow. I'm excited to collab. I think it's going to be fun. I hope you're going to have fun. I hope it'll be fun. Badger, Badger, Badger. Badger, I miss you so much on Twitter. I miss you guys so much. It's funny because even though I'm really close to Gal and everyone, it's just hard to keep together because they're working on different things. Well, not that they're working on different things, but I'm working on different things and they don't always coincide. And so it's lonely. It's lonely. Oh, good. Yeah. So it's lonely, but I miss you, Badger. I miss our spaces. I want Mastodon to do spaces. I don't know what's so magical about that, but I feel like Mastodon spaces would be super interesting, don't you, Badger? And Oomp's on there too. What am I saying? I think we should. I keep asking for them. I keep asking for spaces type things. But anyway, let's see. What am I doing this weekend? This weekend I have to clean up my house. If I don't clean my house, what am I even doing? Yeah. I also want to get caught up with the news because I don't know, Badger. I interested in your opinion as well about this. Are we gonna get there, Badger? Are we gonna get there? My boob tooth so far is way more stayed than Twitter. Your boob tooth. What do you mean stayed? What does that mean? I mean, Twitter's a hellscape, so we know that. That we know. You know what I don't have this morning? Hot coffee. I'm really sad about it. All of a sudden, I'm like super sad about it.
Of the Alec
Oh, there she is.
murder case.
Holy lolly.
The judge
Good morning,
is just
darling.
taking the bench.
Jesus Christ, we're
early
late.
this morning for him.
Oh, okay.
You know,
All right,
on
my
time
loves.
for us. Just kidding. Nothing's on time for us. It's day 20. It's
Morning.
day 20.
Ready to proceed?
I'm going to leave her.
Oh,
I believe
dear.
we will get there. Thank you.
One brief matter.
Thank you, Badger. I like hearing that from you.
One
I
brief
believe
matter.
it too.
Provided the court reporter with
Oh,
one
dry,
that was a
serious
short
stuff.
one,
Yeah,
he
no,
actually put it in the full one, so I'm
the
gonna
Mastodon
replace,
is very serious stuff, although I try.
552 with the full disc with the consent of defense counsel.
I try.
Oh, they put in the wrong disc.
Okay, very well.
Okay.
That's fine.
Let's let them open.
This is not a big deal.
I'm
We are
going
getting
to
ready
mute
for the
myself.
cross-examination of the officer that led the investigation into the roadside incident.
They bring the jury.
Bring the jury. All right, we're going to switch feeds real quick as we bring the jury. Yesterday, we saw the roadside incident, and the feed is still not caught up. Yesterday, we saw the roadside incident testimony in Alec Murdaugh's own words, which will either lead the jury to believe he is capable of just about anything,
You don't have coffee?
or
Well, you don't have
they
coffee.
will
You just have to
simply
smoke a little
believe
more. That's
that
all.
he confessed to everything else and he can't stomach the guilt of it all, but he didn't confess to these. Therefore, this is not something that he did. So I think it cuts, like everything in this trial, both ways. I think it cuts both ways. I'm very excited to see this cross-examination. I wonder how much you, as an audience, because there's been 40,000 of you in here.
I'm also
all day,
playing with
every day.
lighting, Oomph and
But
Badger or
I'm
whoever's
wondering
here.
how much you're impacted
So if the lighting,
by Jim
I'm always
Griffin
interested in hearing
and Dick
your
Harpootlian being
opinions on
so
lighting and
involved
shit.
in the
There's nothing to be
underlying
perfect,
case,
obviously.
not as the
obviously.
lawyers
We're so not there.
in this
I'm
trial,
sitting on my couch
but
with a bunch
involved
of
in
lights in
everything.
front of me.
Well, I talked to Jim Griffin, and then Dick is answering
I
questions
doing? What
for
am I
Alec
even doing?
yesterday to the police officer. How much is that going to impact the jury? Are these two helping him cover things? Or have they just been his buddies and his lawyers forever? Because it feels really weird to
Very
me.
good. Good morning.
The jury's present,
All
sir.
right, day number 20.
Fucking hell.
Cross-examination. You may proceed.
Your Honor.
Oomph and I are going to have fun tomorrow, though.
As the trial
We're gonna
gets longer, the
create
time I
art.
get on
Morning,
stream
ladies and gentlemen.
has been getting longer as well. I've been so tired.
Love art.
All right, day 20, cross-examination.
Let's see if we can do this quickly.
Yeah, let's.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's
It is
great.
Friday.
Oh, shut
Monday's a
up.
holiday.
It
So let's
is?
see if we can't get through
Oh,
this.
President.
Adorable.
You are is it senior special agent?
What's so
Oh,
special?
I think my
Okay.
dog
Ask him
is-
what's so
And,
special.
You
Yeah.
investigated, your charge was investigating the so-called roadside shooting, correct?
Correct.
And as part of that, after Alec was airlifted to Savannah Hospital, correct?
Yes.
I know.
Okay,
Are
and
they
did you
going
go
to
see
try to
him
get into his
there?
injuries? Are they going to
Yes.
try to get his
And did you
injuries
talk
in?
to the doctors about his condition?
We made contact with medical staff there.
They're gonna try to get
I
into
don't know
how-
if I specifically
how
spoke to a particular
injured
doctor,
he
but
was.
we made contact with the medical staff that were
It's all
providing.
hearsay.
So, did the medical staff tell you he had a shallow sort of trough wound in the back of his head, apparently caused by a bullet? Did they tell you that?
They did not.
Did they tell you he had a fractured skull?
They did not.
I
Did
would
you
start
look
to
at his?
object.
Did you subpoena? Have you subpoenaed his medical records?
We have, but at the
Okay.
time of my arrival, the tests were ongoing, and that those documents weren't readily available to me
But you've looked at him since then.
since then.
That's all
So
hearsay.
you would agree with me, he had a fractured skull, a wound, a trough
Nope.
wound in the back of his head.
I wouldn't agree to
I
any of
agree
it.
that's what the medical records state.
I wouldn't agree to any of it. All right.
Let me see if you can identify this.
I'm sorry.
They're just not going to call a doctor and get the medical records in
Looking
through
at
this
you like
witness.
You're such a fucking stoner.
Sure.
Why are you such a
Okay.
stoner?
Nobody objects to anything. I don't know if it actually matters. Truly.
My cats are judging me.
He can't testify to medical records.
These appear to be a portion of
He can't-
Mr. Murdoch's.
You can't
medical
just
records.
put those into
It's a
evidence.
portion,
Yes, sir.
but it's the sort of the summarizing portion, is it not?
Yes, sir, it is.
No.
I think you furnished these to us. Do you have any objections?
Yes.
Objection, Rule 801.
Yes. Finally, an objection. Look at Jim.
Well, let me ask you this.
He looks
question,
pissed.
Just make it easy. Who subpoenaed and got these records? Did SLED?
Yes, at the time of the incident, they
Doesn't
weren't
matter.
discussing his medical condition with us. I mean, we were able to, due to HEPA, they weren't readily providing us access to his medical records or
doesn't-
consultation with his doctors.
Too early for glasses.
We had a general understanding based on what Mr. Murdoch told us or told deputies on the side of the road and based what he stated on 911 that he had been shot in the head. So when we arrived and we saw a subsequent injury,
Just let me cut to the chase here. Did you all subpoena the medical records?
yes, we did.
Are these a portion of the medical records, the business records
I
that you
don't know.
received from the hospital of
You
Savannah?
showed them to
Memorial
him.
Health?
How's he
Yes,
supposed
sir.
to know that?
Okay. Does that resolve that issue?
No.
Business records?
You can't put in the business records of the medical records without putting in the custodian of records from the doctor.
Redacted any
Or having the doctor come in.
matters, that's what's redacted.
Whatever. Just whatever.
Actions, no objection.
Wow.
Just whatever.
Without objection.
This is why we watch. This
Just
is why we
whatever.
watch Emily. Because I would never know. But this was problematic.
They're just like, everything's evidence
Let
now.
me have you, if this will refresh your memory, look at page 1, what
Y'all?
the medical staff says are his injuries.
This is not how this works in normal worlds.
Okay, now, I could have you read that. Do you understand what it means?
I have a general, like I said, I'm not a doctor, I'm a SLED agent, so
Right.
I have a general understanding of the terms on
Right.
on the
Did he have
page.
does it indicate he had a furrow wound in his head?
I don't know. I'm not a doctor. He just said I'm not a doctor.
I'm not trying to play coy, it just says, I mean, I could read it.
Foundation.
If it says,
Okay, let me
He's just reading records into the record.
part to you and see
Fucking
what you
stupid.
think.
Okay. Sure.
Left posterior
good.
peritoneal
Dick's gonna-
subdural hematoma.
Dick's gonna read it
with
into the record.
with adjacent blood products. What do you think that means?
Objection!
Oh my
no
God.
foundation.
Hematoma.
Where is
Calls
this
for
it's
speculation.
a bleeding on the subdural
I
part of
hate
his head. so
South
it's-
Carolina.
a brain
your
bleed.
Legal
No,
system
it could be a
sucks.
bruise on the outside of his
You
skull.
don't deserve.
It says
oh my
linear
God.
left
Jesus,
posterior
mad.
posterior
Oh my God.
peritoneal bone fracture.
Oh,
That
Dick's
would
like,
be
if you're not
a
going to
fractured
testify
skull.
to it, I'll testify to it.
Okay. Scalp laceration overlying the left peritoneal bone. That would be that furrow
Yeah,
I'm talking
bruise.
about, right?
Bruise.
If that's what you infer to, I'm not a doctor, I mean.
Thank
furrow
you.
is-
Finally, you're
you know,
saying
it's-
what you should
I'm
be
just- I can only
saying.
testify
You
what
don't know
it states
the
on the
answer
page.
to those questions. Fuck.
And attending
him.
radiologist reviewed all the images and agrees with the interpretation. So radiologist looked and
Hearsay.
saw brain bleed, saw a
No.
subdural
No,
hematoma,
what is going
saw a fractured
on?
skull, and made findings consistent with a bullet wound to the head. Did they not?
The medical professionals reviewed his charts and his tests. They came to that opinion. We refer to them as it relates to their findings.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, refer to
Thank
them
you.
what?
That's
We refer to
exactly
them
what you're
as it
supposed to
relates to their
answer.
findings. If that's what they
Okay.
determine
This
happened,
is
Okay.
we refer
so
to them.
improper.
So he had real injuries.
There was a laceration on the back of his head that was consistent with a gunshot wound.
Fractured skull, subdural, brain bleed, right?
If that's what the records say, then yes.
Y'all, it's both sides that are doing this.
Have you ever
It's
told
just the defense
anybody
doing it
that,
right now, which is why I'm losing my mind on them.
specifically
Both sides have done this in this trial.
Maggie's sister and her husband, that Alec had been shot in the head? I mean, I can play it for you. You recorded it.
Oh, absolutely. If it's, I mean, I'm not denying that I've done it. I don't remember off the top of my head.
I just want to make sure you've told somebody that Alec got shot in the head.
Yes, I've never questioned that Alex has been shot in the head.
Okay, I'm just trying to.
Okay.
You're just
we're
trying to
having
testify.
A difficult time here communicating this morning. I not quite understand it. The
What's
simple
early?
question was he shot in the head? And you see, I'm not sure.
We're not
until
having
just
a
now you said,
difficult
yes, he
time
was shot in the head.
communicating, Dick. You're trying to get him to
apologize.
testify
Yes,
to
So we
things
agree on that. He's
so
shot in the
far
head.
out of his
Yes.
scope.
Okay.
Holy
For a few
shit.
days.
And he was
Lost my internet, but
in,
his trial is still
intensive
boring.
care for a while, and then he was let out relatively quickly. Isn't that
It's
right?
bonkers.
Yes, I believe
it
he was
just gets
released
more and
on
more
the
bonkers, and we're
7th.
not even at the closure of the
Okay.
prosecution case, which hopefully is
Now, I'd like to
today.
show you Defense Exhibit 125 and
Everything's
127.
back now, Badger, though? You okay with
Who's
everything?
trying to change what the medical records
I hope
say?
it's not weather related.
I don't think any of this matters. I don't think it matters that he had a graze wound and a bruise. I think if he had a major skull fracture and a substantial brain bleed, he would have been in the hospital more than a day and a half. I think that fact speaks for itself.
Exactly.
If the jury feels that the defense is slimy after yesterday's
Are these photographs consistent with what you saw?
interview, this is
Alec
going
Murdaugh
to
at the
double it
hospital?
down for them.
No, this
they
first
don't, it won't.
photograph was photographed by Hampton County EMS.
Okay.
So prior to my arrival, this was taken. When I
Hey,
arrived
Dick.
in Savannah, Alex was not in this condition.
No one thinks your
They
client's a
represent
victim,
the-
so you
the-
trying to
the-
do
This
that
image
isn't going to
is
go
something
well.
that
I don't know. I
It
think
feels
the
gross.
The guy, I don't actually know what his
Okay.
role was. He's a sled agent, Jim. He's
So,
a sled agent, and he had to do
This
with
was
the
taken by-
roadside
by
incident.
who? Hampton County?
I don't know who took the photo, but it was included with the Hampton
And Jim
County
wants him
EMS
to
records that
testify to
we
medical
Okay.
records. I don't really understand. There's
So,
certainly a
Megan,
point
you
to
make
it,
an
but
excellent point. They
it's lost
did
on me
admit a
right
new
now.
tarp
So it's
and
lost on the
evidence
jury too,
and
probably.
photocopies from a
Elmhurst
textbook.
have these.
Everything's evidence. I'm shocked that, frankly, now that we're 4 weeks in, I'm shocked that the can of pork and beans isn't also in evidence, and the same sheet of music that Dick wants everybody to sing from, which today is the medical records. I'm shocked that that's not in evidence. But the judge can only rule on the objections that are made. And he's letting them all do what they're going to do. I saw someone in the chat that said I'm a dentist. I can totally testify to autopsies now. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly, Exactly. Who was? Did you see how outraged
Okay,
he was
so
when
this
there was
is
an objection?
The photo you indicate
Outraged.
some other law enforcement agency took
dare you.
I need
before
to
he
order
went
coffee. I
to,
need to
that's
get
at
some
the side of the
coffee.
road?
Order.
Or
I
is
need to go get it.
Or do you know?
Oh God.
This photo was included in the records from Hampton County EMS that we obtained at the time that he
Who are
provided
we focusing
the
on in
recorded
that
statement
shot?
inside the ambulance, where
Okay.
he gave the detailed description of what happened to him.
It's a
Which we
lot
listened to.
of people in
Yes,
suits.
yesterday. So at some point, his wound was treated and he was placed in a cervical collar outside my presence. I wasn't present when he was transported. I didn't meet with Mr. Murdoch until I went to
Okay.
Savannah.
Put the next picture on.
They're really just, the reason they're not showing it is because there's pictures of Alec. They're
And who
really
took
trying to
this
make
picture?
Alec a victim in this.
Yeah.
Which,
This picture was, I did not take any pictures, so I believe it may have been
I feel like I have to
I
see
wonder if-
Agent Rebecca Gregg,
how
who was
the
accompanying me to Savannah.
jury will
And is
feel
that
about
an
it.
accurate depiction of what his skull looked like
Feels
at
gross
the
to
hospital?
me.
Correct.
And you noticed
That's
blood
what
there?
his skull looked like. I hope the sound
yes.
is okay. Oof,
So
let me
even
know
when
if
the
it's
defense
not.
is doing their job, how they do their job
I'm trying
is,
to find the right mic.
Now, as
Is
I
a big
understand
part
it,
of it.
after he was released from the hospital,
Stay.
he went to detox in Atlanta.
That's what y'all told us, yes.
I'm sorry?
That's what you told me.
Okay. And we called you from a facility in Atlanta to give the statement we saw earlier, correct?
You called me from a telephone. I don't know exactly what your location. I wasn't there
I
with
love
you, so
this
I don't
guy.
know where you called me from.
Thank you, sled
You're telling
agent.
me SLED can't tell where a phone is?
That's
Mr.
not
Harpootlian,
Look
I mean,
at
if you're
your
going to tell me
phone
that
is.
SLED can't tell us where a phone is,
Pose the question, you must give him an opportunity to
I
answer.
apologize.
Yes.
Mr. Harpootlian, you called me. I don't know what number you called me from.
My cell phone.
Okay, so you called me from your cell phone. I have that number, so it identified as yours.
Right.
But I don't know where you were at. You told me that you were calling from Atlanta. I took you at your word, but I can't testify to where you were calling me from because I don't know.
Did you ever
Thank you.
subpoena his detox records?
We made an
Why?
attempt, but we had issues with them honoring an out-of-state subpoena.
Well, I mean, you can go to a court in Georgia and make them honor it, or we could
Okay.
have given you consent. Did you ask us for consent?
No consent was given.
No consent was asked for.
No
Right.
no consent was asked, no consent was given. So
Two can play at this game, dick.
Okay.
Yeah, are you?
We
That's your
represented
good.
on that call
I don't
that he
feel
was
so
in a
alone
detox
then.
facility before
Iced coffee,
when we
weed.
called you to set up the call in
And
Atlanta.
murder.
And he was now, and I think we've
Iced
said on
coffee,
the recording
weed, and
that the doctors
murder.
indicate he's
That's what you
coherent.
said.
He's been through the detox, which is a pretty tough process. and he
Apparently,
he
it took him like 3 days. Oh my God, we're switching feeds. I'm sorry, y'all. I can't. I literally can't. I cannot.
that?
no, sir.
Okay.
What's going on?
And so as soon as he came out of the initial stages of detox,
Give me a second to
don't know.
fix the,
Testify.
who
Oh.
called who initially?
Come on.
We went
Emily,
down
stop
the
it.
initial stages of detox. You don't know this, but
You don't know
we
this.
went down. We called you.
Turn up the sound, Emily.
Harpootlian, you can't testify.
Who called who
He's like, I can't.
initially to set that call up?
I called you on the day of September 7th to reach out to let you know that we had some developments in the case, and I told you that we wanted
Mr.
to
Harpootlian, you
speak to
can't
Alex.
testify.
Okay.
You told
What?
us that he was in rehab or was en route to
But
rehab.
Your Honor.
And we would try to make some arrangements. We had initially discussed agents traveling to whatever facility Mr. Murdoch was in to meet with him in an attempt to get a statement. That meeting did not materialize. On the afternoon of the 13th, you called me from your cell phone to set up a telephone interview. Given the complexity of the case and the fluid movements of the investigation, we wanted to, agree to that so we could get some type of, at that point, Mr. Murdoch had, obviously, the story that he told us was not true, and we wanted to take that as an opportunity to try to make some sense out of the investigation, given that you and Mr. Griffith were there saying he was ready to tell us really what happened.
So
Hey,
he,
KMS.
his attorneys reached out to you to
She
give
hasn't
us
sped
before
up
the
to
statement
get
was
to
on.
the
On
get caught up.
On the 13th, you called me, yes.
Right. And secondly, he admitted that he had stolen money, right?
Yes.
He admitted drug use.
He's going
Yes.
to. He admits
Um,
everything.
on, guys.
he
But not the
admitted
murder, so he
that
didn't do them.
lied, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
I heard a big crash. I'll be right back.
And you're just testifying away there, Pooty Poot. What else do you want to say? You've testified to the medical
And
records.
as a result of that statement,
You told Alec what to
he
say
was
in
charged
his
with
interview.
insurance fraud, conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, and filing a false police report. Is that correct?
Yes, he was.
And insurance fraud and filing a false police report. Is that correct?
Yes, he was.
And by that time, he had moved from the detox facility in Atlanta to a rehab facility in Orlando, correct?
Correct.
And you asked that he surrender himself, and he did that, did he not?
Yes, he did.
He had his son Buster drive him from Orlando to Hampton County, and I believe you all met him and, by prearrangement, him and Buster at his mother's house.
The agreement was for us to meet you and Mr. Griffith with Mr. Murdoch, that no stops be taken.
I love
from
that he calls
Orlando
Mr.
to
Griffin Mr.
Hampton.
Griffith.
We
love it so
encountered
much.
Mr. Murdoch and Buster pulling into the driveway of the Almeda
Oh, I
property.
hope so, Jim.
So outside of our agreement, so Mr.
Shoot.
Murdoch was taken into custody as soon as he arrived at Almeda.
Well, so perhaps if we weren't going to
That
Orlando,
sucks.
stopping to get his lawyers before he surrendered himself would have been a violation of our agreement.
No, our agreement was that Mr. Murdoch was to go from Orlando directly to your custody.
Pray they turn that market
I don't
upside
fault
down.
Buster. I don't think that he was
Right
doing
side up?
anything that he thought was wrong. He was just listening to instructions. But, we were supposed to meet him with you, and he showed up at his mom's house, so he was placed under arrest at his mom's house.
Well, we showed up at Mom's house as y'all were taking him away, right?
After he was arrested, yes.
Right, but I mean, we were there minutes after you arrested him, right?
Yes,
were supposed
because
to
they
be with
called
him.
you. So, and I think I might have called you to tell you that we were arresting him as well.
Yes,
Right.
because we called you.
He went to a bond hearing.
Yes, he did.
He didn't do
and
what he was
granted
supposed to.
bond.
Yes.
And one of the conditions of the bond allowed him to go back to Orlando to rehab, right?
Yes.
And he went back to Orlando to rehab
Just needs
Yes.
my rehab too.
until he was indicted on the financial fraud charges.
Yes.
Is this supposed to make him look? Is this supposed to make him look better? I don't
They
understand what.
think that
Our
the
poopy
agreement doesn't really
our poopy
matter, and they
pants
can
is
just do
saying,
whatever. That's what I've
His
gotten from this
cooperation,
testimony.
when I say
He thinks
cooperation, the statements
he can
made,
do
and,
whatever.
I understand you were only investigating the roadside shooting, right?
Correct.
So you weren't investigating the murder, you weren't investigating, I mean, I'm talking about Maggie
You weren't
Hall's
investigating
murder.
all
You
of his
weren't
other crimes,
investigating
right? Just
the
this
financial
one?
crimes.
Okay.
Only the roadside
Dumb.
shooting, correct?
Are you referring during my interviews with the 3 interviews with Mr. Murdoch?
I'm sorry.
Are you referring to, in the 3 interviews with Mr. Murdoch, the first 2 interviews were conducted with him being considered the victim of a
He's
violent
taken in
crime.
Right.
rehab.
And
yeah.
then-
And in the 3rd interview.
Oh, hell yeah.
you know,
Absolutely,
You set
Tim.
parameters as his
Absolutely.
attorney as to what information we would discuss
No.
on the call.
I'm not- but he did, when you asked
No, no,
questions
no, no,
about,
no. Yes, yes,
his
yes.
bank accounts, he cooperated fully with you.
I like that
Right.
this sled agent isn't
After some
giving
give and take, I think,
into
between you
our
and I,
poopy
he
pants.
disclosed information, yes.
Right. And he admitted to
that's
you he'd
good.
stolen money.
From his
Yeah, he
clients.
confirmed that he had stolen money, because at that point, we had been told by other parties he had stolen money, and on the 7th, we recovered enterprise banking slips. So we knew we had documentation he had stolen money. He just confirmed it with his,
Did you know whether he knew he was just coming out of detox? I mean, certainly,
What?
many
Did you know what he
defendants would have
knew?
never talked to you,
No.
correct?
Objection is sustained.
It's a
Did he
dumb
have to
old-
talk to you?
some of the best confessions I've ever got were from a defense attorney. So he spoke to me.
Not this defense attorney. okay?
He still confessed on the call, so.
I mean, there are defense attorneys and defense attorneys.
Oh, shut
right?
up.
Okay. So,
Fucking hate
let
this guy.
me say this. As a
Really
result of
do.
some of the information you got,
Oh
did
my
you
God.
did you
Why
give
do
that
we have such a
that
stupid
statement
electorate?
that he gave you? Did you give
Senior
that?
Agent
He's on the
Kelly.
interstate senate
Gives
in
zero
South
fucks
Carolina.
about
That was a joint
Defense
operation out of our
attorney.
office. There were
This is
several agents
great.
that were involved
But
in
no agent in charge like Mr. Owens?
There was an agent, David Williams, Special Agent David Williams, myself, Special Agent Matt Wright. We've all had part in the financial investigations.
Okay, and as a result
Ryan
of his
Kelly,
cooperation, partially,
you
and
might
what
be
you
the best
already
sled
knew,
agent we've seen.
You're aware that he was indicted on 90 indictments of financial fraud, which could result in life without parole for him. Do you not?
He was found,
If you'd answer yes or no and then explain your answer. Was he indicted on 90 charges
Oh my God.
of financial fraud and for which he faces life without parole? Is that correct? Just yes or no?
Objection is sustained.
Calls for a legal conclusion.
I'm sorry, what was the objection?
There's an objection, and I sustained the objection.
Oh,
Sorry, Your Honor, I don't understand the grounds of the objection.
Calls for legal conclusion. Is the grounds. Poot just said grounds.
I'm sorry, I understand what 401 is. I don't know why it would apply to this.
Objection is sustained.
I'll bet
The
you at the
information you
break,
got was
the
voluntary
judge is
about the
going to tell
financial
him what he
piece of
did.
this was voluntary by him? No one
I'll
threatened
bet
him?
you.
No one coerced him? He has 2 lawyers sitting there, right?
to the best of my knowledge, no one
couldn't see
threatened
him.
him. I was not present with Mr. Murdoch at the time of giving his statement. I wasn't, it was over the telephone. I'm, based on what you've told us, no one threatened him. Y'all
Nobody
were
had a
there
gun to his
representing.
head.
Let him finish.
I wasn't in the room. If you did, I can't speak to it.
If you did, I can't speak to it. I wasn't in the room. The defense very much,
What does
and
it
they
mean
shouldn't
when
have pushed
your
so
toe
hard with the
itches?
medical. The defense
Itchy
very much
toes?
went to get in how much
And
time he's
redirect.
facing. So the jury knows they don't have to punish Alec for the financial crimes.
clothes.
He's going
When
to be
you
punished.
interviewed
Money
defendant Alec
clothes.
Murdoch
That's the
on
point of
September
that.
4th, that was in the
Itchy
hospital, is
toes,
that
money
right?
clothes.
Yes, it was.
Did he agree to speak to you?
Yes, he
Or
did.
just
Did he
itchy toe.
respond appropriately to your?
Itch on one.
Dealt with this matter, and if we're going to go into this,
Itchy toe,
like a
money
Jackson
flow.
v. Dino hearing,
Wait,
Defendant Alec Murdoch,
I want to go back.
when you interviewed
Ow.
the defendant Alec Murdoch on September 4th, that was in the hospital, is that right?
Yes, it was.
Did he agree to speak to you?
Yes, he did.
Did he respond appropriately to your?
dealt with this matter, and if we're going to go into this, we'd like a Jackson v. Dino
That's out of
hearing
left field.
as to his competence to talk to him in the hospital.
that's a speaking objection.
He specifically cross-examined him on the injuries in the hospital that he had suffered, and I'm just following up with the agent about the circumstances generally
Correct.
of his interaction with Mr.
Gentlemen, we'll have you go to the
That's
jury
correct.
room for a break.
That's correct.
Please do not discuss the case.
Creighton's correct. Creighton's right. Creighton's right. I'm going to speed this up. Here's what just happened. There's another interview we haven't heard about yet. They are letting the jury go back to the courtroom. The jury is out.
Yikes. What a fucking mess. What a fucking mess. Just put him
Well,
away already.
Yo, we
I'm
wanted to
done
see
with
the
this
lawyer's lawyer.
bastard.
And this morning, everybody's a bit feisty.
He's already been convicted
Creighton's not
for
wrong.
life and whatever. Get him
The
out of here.
defense cross-examined about the hospital.
City,
Waste.
please.
They want to
What a
ask
waste of
about
oxygen.
the hospital. So
Look at
we're
all
going
the
to pause
good
for
people
some
who are
more outside
dead
the
and
presence
The
of the
nature
jury.
of the
Douchebags
objection again,
sitting
Mr.
there
Harpootlian.
tweaking.
Your Honor, there's several bases.
Taking
One,
a
that's a
fucking
leading question,
face.
but if you get past that.
Just go to
Secondly,
prison already.
we had an agreement, which he complied with on direct examination, to have him say what happened there in summary fashion and not go into a quoting piece, even though we
to
believe,
reading the medical
and if you look at
records,
these medical records,
motherfucker.
he's showing positive for barbiturates and opioids, many of which were administered by the hospital. We believe the doctors will say he was not competent to give any sort of voluntary statement. And
bring the doctors.
he was not advised of Miranda warnings. He wasn't
in
in any
custody.
way.
Oh, so sorry.
We don't obviously wasn't in custody, but we believe that
Company,
we're
trust
entitled to
me.
a hearing on competence to give a statement if he's going to go further on this. And to do so, we're going to need the doctors from Savannah here to testify what his condition was.
Bring the
So
doctors.
Perhaps we should adjourn this and come back on Tuesday or Wednesday of
No,
next week to finish.
you've already asked.
Your Honor, the sum total of my questions was specifically in response to the cross-examination. I was not going to ask him to go back to the, to relate what he related to Agent Kelly, which again, they had already agreed for us to do in summary fashion. It was simply going to be questions that he was not in custody. He was voluntarily agreed to talk, and his questions were subject matter appropriate, and he appeared to understand the questions. That was going to be the extent of it, and it was in direct response to
To
their
cross.
putting in the records and discussing the injuries that he.
Who-
that
you
were reflected
testified
in
to the
those
medical records.
That was the extent of my questioning, not to reiterate the summary
can't
to
even
which,
read my
frankly,
phone.
they had already agreed to allowing us to do, which we did yesterday.
If that's all he's going to ask, I withdraw my objection.
All right, very good. Let's bring the jury in.
What is he afraid of that
And
was
give it
said?
straight. Yes, sir.
That's what we're agreeing, if that's all he's going to ask. But if that
Yeah, we
question
need to
leads
hold
another
fast
question,
on
leads to
public
another question.
education. It's time to defend public education. And because that's going to be the battleground, that's going to be a key battleground.
I think
is
Creighton wants to say, what the fuck,
Higher
Dick?
education.
We let you testify to
K-12.
medical records so you didn't have to bring the
But let's make sure we
doctors in.
protect K to 12.
You've got a
strongly.
law
And,
enforcement
and-
officer on the
and-
stand saying, I'm not a
Matter, but-
doctor. And Dick just starts reading the medical records in.
Getting nervous.
He wants to make
People
sure
trying to
that the
change
jury's
this
not left with, Creighton wants to make sure the
country
jury's not left with the impression
into a
that you can't, that he couldn't give these statements because he had
hypocrisy.
all of these massive brain injuries. But here's what I'm going to go to
You
real quick.
can't let him do
He
it.
was in court
This is our World
shortly
War
after the
II.
roadside shooting. This is coming from Twitter. Mandy Matney
guys.
posted this morning. I retweeted it.
This is our World
Um,
War II.
Let me pull it up. I'm just going to share a photo from his hearing from days after the roadside incident. This is not in evidence. This is for you. This is Alec days after the roadside incident, after he got out of
What?
the hospital,
Nothing
and after
happened.
he was in custody.
He was fine.
After the fractured skull and the brain bleed.
We need
this
to
Yeah.
read
is
much
this.
on in public education,
This-
critical
it-
reasoning, and evaluating.
They did not shave his
authority,
head.
and
The
do
objection
something
is-
about
is
misinformation
withdrawn. You may
channels.
proceed.
Yes,
That's what it is.
yes,
Thank you, Your Honor.
yes.
So-
May it please the court.
Just for everybody, so we're all on the same page.
It's right.
All right, going back to the question that I asked, when you interviewed.
He was
and
not
I'm just asking these
severely
particular
injured.
questions. When you interviewed the defendant on September 4th. That was the day of the roadside shooting, correct?
Correct.
Did he voluntarily agree to talk to you?
Yes.
So
Was
we might
he
have had a
in
small
custody in any
fracture,
way?
but it was
He was
not.
not in custody.
Did he
It was
respond
not.
appropriately to your questions?
He responded appropriately and consistently to the answers to my questions that were given on the, 911 and on the.
It was not a massive
to
injury, and that's
Hampton
what they're
County
getting
Did he
to.
appear to understand your questions?
Yes.
And did he respond appropriately to the subject matter of those questions?
Yes.
When you interviewed him
They were
on
devoted to their
September
students.
6th,
They
he was still in
are.
the hospital, is that correct?
Yes.
That's amazing.
And
Jen.
at that time, did he voluntarily agree to talk to you?
Yes.
Yeah,
Was he in
no, and
custody
it's
at
funny
any
because
point?
He
having
was
been
not.
in
Did he
public,
respond appropriately to your
quasi-public
questions?
He
education,
did.
kind
Did he
of
appear to
under the
understand your
guise of
questions?
public
He understood the
education.
questions and again gave consistent responses
it's-
to the
it's-
interviews from
it's
September
fraught
4th,
with
from the 911 call,
problems.
and from the video.
Doesn't mean he
doubt,
didn't have a
it
concussion.
definitely
They
needs
never said he had a
revamping.
Related
concussion.
appropriately to the subject matter of
But
your questions.
it
Yes,
is
the side
not
They
of the
said
road.
contusion.
revamping in the ways that they think.
You were asked a little bit about
That brings
the
us way back.
circumstances of the telephone interview on September 13th, 2021,
It
correct?
needs to
Yes.
be revamped in other
And
ways.
did you want to do a telephone interview, or did you want to speak to him in person?
No, our initial
have lots to say
inquiry
about
was to go to where he was at. We did not know his location.
You
They
know,
took
I'm
him
not
out
a
of
pedagogue.
state.
I mean, I'm not a-
Our
I'm not a-
intention was to
not-
go
I
meet
don't
with
have
them
any advanced
wherever they
diploma
had him to
education.
conduct that interview. When those plans
worked
did
with
not
kids for
materialize,
25 years.
time was of the essence when they called us and agreed to have the
And I had a
telephone
pretty
interview.
good stint at the high school I
we made
ran. Our
an
math
investigative
and science
decision
scores went
to
up.
agree to that and
I'm
conduct
just
the
saying.
interview over the phone.
That time
Our
period between
attendance
September
was very
6th
strong.
and 7th,
I'm just
when
saying.
all the
did
developments
not
you
have a
testified to
concussion.
yesterday on the
He
side
had
of
a
the road took
contusion.
place, and
I think they know
September
a thing or
13th
two
was
about
slated
how to
for graves
structure an
wounds.
sitting
educational
around
program.
doing nothing, or were y'all
Okay.
actively attempting to further question the defendant?
We were absolutely actively in working the active investigation. We were actively attempting to make contact to have that interview and make that take place.
And it was not till September 13th
And your
that
mom
the
and
defense
sister do
agreed,
too,
but only
right?
through a telephone interview, is that correct?
Mr. Harpuli had called me on the 13th, and he
The
said,
brain
hey,
injury
we have
was
a
not
short
as
amount of time, we
severe
can do this, can we make
as
it happen?
Dick
So we
has
had
made
to
it
make it
seem.
happen, and within about 30 minutes' notice, so Agent Albayalde and I got to a place where we could conduct the interview, and the interview occurred.
Yeah, they wouldn't let law enforcement
And
see him.
when y'all had that phone interview that the jury heard yesterday, at the beginning, they put limitations on the subject matter of what could be discussed.
Which
Yes,
also
they
is
advised that they
appropriate.
would only discuss the side of the road shooting.
That's
that
appropriate.
The Moselle incident and the financial crimes were off limits.
That's
Ultimately,
appropriate.
some financial information was discussed, is that correct?
That is correct.
But Moselle never was, is that right?
Correct.
It's appropriate.
You were asked about.
Yeah, the financial stuff had a lot to do with the
ultimately,
roadside,
when
right?
he was
Or I
taken
guess
into
it
custody, is that
God, I
correct?
don't know.
Yes.
Do you remember roughly what date that was?
This guy's
I don't have
terrible.
the booking paperwork. I don't remember what specific date. I took him into custody twice, so I don't know what date.
And that was after he had finished that rehab stint, is
Oh,
that
are you
correct? Your
telling? How
understanding?
are you?
Yes, we took him in custody
Oh, I
once
hope you're
in,
good. Let me get my
on the
phone.
Almeida property. We
on.
also took him in custody a second time when we went to Orlando to extradite.
But what you were just asked about by Mr. Harpootlian, when he returned to South Carolina, that was the first time ever that he had been taken into custody, is that correct?
Yes,
And that was for charges related to the side of the road.
yes.
They're leaning towards the side of the road, unraveled everything, which is smart for them to remind
fuck
or
is
to
this
at least
guy?
Special Agent Kelly, nothing further.
to at least be able to argue the side of the road is what
I don't know
unraveled
what
everything,
they're
not
That
the
second
murders.
What do
time
they
you
think
took
they're
him
gonna do?
into custody, do you know when that was?
What do they think they're going to do?
I don't have the exact date in front of me. I apologize.
Oh my God. Canadians.
If
Fucking
I told you
Canadians.
October 16th with that, of 2021, with that,
You know, I never really liked them as much
I
as
believe
you
it
guys
was,
did.
I believe it was
Okay,
the
I'm
9th of
just
October
saying.
2021.
okay? And tell this jury how
Jim, my
long
sister was head of the
has
union.
he
Our kids are
been
in
out of
private
jail
school. My wife was
since October
insistent. Sometimes you have to
16th,
choose your battles
Completely
in
inappropriate.
interest of domestic
But okay.
tranquility. Yeah, no,
I mean, did he make
get it.
bond?
I don't believe so, no. He
Okay,
hasn't.
so
totally
he's
get
been
it.
in jail since October 16th.
Oh, they want him to know.
I get it. The
It is.
school system
It's
can be
completely
really, really
inappropriate.
What
detrimental in their
opportunity
current
has he
state
had since
to
October
children.
16th?
I understand
It's
that.
completely
2021
inappropriate.
to
I've seen it.
manipulate witnesses, to manipulate
ran a high
evidence,
school.
to manipulate anything in
Things
this
I had
case.
to
What opportunity?
feed from New York
Objection.
City public school
Go ahead.
system, mostly.
There's an objection.
I'm sorry, what's this objection?
So,
Objection 401, Your Honor.
And response.
Did you hear him say,
Yeah.
what is
Well,
this
Your Honor,
objection?
I understand. These kids are
No
not
question, he's been in jail since October
supported in
6th.
their educational goals.
Legal
There's too much
response
fucking
to the
overhead
objection.
in the fucking New York City
401 is the objection,
education
relevance,
department.
and your response.
My
too
response
much
is
goddamn
that,
overhead.
they have him, they're trying to portray him as this
Oh, he's just going to testify
manipulative
himself.
person,
So angry.
and he's not got the
So
ability to
fucking
manipulate
it's
anything
like,
after
it's like
October
working in the
16th.
goddamn
Objection is
Soviet
sustained.
Union. That's
They're going to
and
just
I've
get
been
into
in the
his jail
Soviet
calls now.
Union.
That's not relevant.
I know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Argument.
God, the New York City education
Inappropriate argument to the
makes
jury.
me so mad.
No, you're not. The fuck you are.
It really
Now,
does.
did you tell
Really
anyone in
does.
his family the reason you wanted to see him while he was in
Makes
rehab
him mad,
was to
too.
show him a picture of a truck?
Gus is like, yeah, mommy. That makes me super mad. Okay,
Who's
I'm gonna
just
stop talking.
pushing
Hi,
it?
Badger.
Conversations
just
about the
pushing
picture of
it
the
today.
truck. We
Thanks for
obtained a
sending that,
picture of
Tom.
the truck on and around.
Excuse me, if you would just answer yes or no, and then you can explain your answer. We're going to go down this trail, and if you say no, then I'm done. If you say yes, then I'm going to ask you when you did it.
Objection,
And we
no
don't have to go through
question
this
pending.
Back and forth for the next 10 minutes.
Look at him
Did
looking at the jury.
you tell anybody in his
Why
family
is he just
you wanted to see him
admonishing
in
the witness?
rehab, just to show him a picture, among other things, just to show him a picture of a truck?
I believe that was
Yes.
one of the items we wanted to discuss with Mr.
Occupied.
Murdoch.
Okay. And so you were giving the impression that at that point, you still
Third
believed him,
parties.
and you just wanted to show him a picture of a truck.
401, Your Honor.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
That calls for speculation.
So true. The
Can you
pandemic.
hear
Oh
that
my God!
question
What a
again?
great little funnel
That calls for
system it was,
speculation,
wasn't
actually.
it?
You
Gave them the impression.
indicated to a member of his family you knew was communicating with him that all you wanted to do was show him a picture of a
All
truck.
you wanna
To the floor, Your
do
Honor.
is have some fun.
It's cross-examination.
It's speculation, and that's the word you're looking
Is
for.
it- Did you communicate?
What's the response?
I asked the question.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Fuck!
I'm
No.
sorry,
I mean, it is confusing. I hate this.
Are you a senior special agent?
yes, sir, I am.
Senior special agent Kelly, did you
The
communicate
the
to a member of
condescending
Mr. Murdoch's family,
tone.
Randy Murdoch, that all you wanted to do was show him a picture of a truck? That was paramount
On
in your-
Microsoft
in-
Teams? Is that what you
to
said?
you, and that's what you communicated to Mr. Murdoch.
Objection 401, Your Honor.
Objection's overruled.
The question you just asked me is that,
wrong
and I
objection.
responded to, that was one of the things. That was not the only thing. You know, we knew the identity of Curtis Smith. We knew the truck that
Senior,
Mr. Smith.
I didn't
Agent
ask you what else you
Kelly.
knew. I asked you,
Ask the witness to be allowed to complete his answer, Your Honor.
You may continue your response.
We wanted to meet with Mr. Murdoch to show him images of the truck. We wanted to show him to see, at this point, we suspected he was not telling the truth, and we wanted to see if he would continue to not tell it, to continue to lie to us
Are
about
you
not
going
knowing
to
the existence
continue to
of
lie
Curtis
to
or the
us?
truck, or if he would,
Are
show
you?
some type of clarity and
Change this lighting.
so, and this goes to sort of the same issue. When you wanted to see him, with the exhibits I just introduced,
What's the exhibit I just introduced? He doesn't
when
remember
you
because
wanted
he's
to
so
see
rattled
him
by this
and you
witness.
contacted me, I indicated he was in detox, right?
Objection sustained.
Were you aware that he was
Now he's
in
making him work for
detox
it.
in Atlanta?
Make poop
I was
work
aware that
for
he
it.
was out of state, and based on the
Cat.
information you told me, and I took you at your
Cat.
word, that he was seeking treatment in an
I'm trying to
out-of-state
open the
facility.
shower door again.
Okay. And did I indicate to you, or did anybody indicate to you in detox, you need an uninterrupted period to get off the drugs?
I believe that is what you explained to me.
Okay. And that he wouldn't be competent to communicate.
This is
until
irrelevant
he'd
and
been-
outside the scope at this point.
Maybe I won't.
Maybe I walked away from
Would
him.
not
You
be
probably
competent
wandered off,
to
Dick.
speak with you until the doctor said he was competent, right?
On the morning of, on the September 4th incident, he consumed opioids that morning. He was not detoxing or coming off those drugs. He did not appear to be under the influence of any narcotics. When we met with him in the hospital, he was on his cell phone, he was walking, he was talking, he was coherent. He was the victim of a crime, the only witness that we were aware of for that crime. So we obtained a statement from him so he could tell us what happened.
You would concede he'd been shot in the head. I don't want to plow old ground, but he had a head wound, fractured skull.
Asked and answered beyond the scope.
Beyond the
Objection
scope.
sustained.
Because it's beyond the scope.
Did you ask a doctor if he was competent to speak with you?
Again, those medical records, the doctors would
That's
not.
not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you if you talked to a doctor and said, is he competent to talk to us? Did you do that?
Mr. Harpootlian,
Would you just say yes or no, and we can move on?
This is badgering the witness. Isn't that a thing?
Answer
Or
the
is that
question.
in the movie?
And object to the form.
Is there such a thing as badgering the witness?
could you repeat the question?
Did you speak to one of his physicians or any medical personnel and ask him if he was competent to speak with you in the
Who's losing
hospital?
his mind this
I
morning?
did not.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I love
Records
business
and
administration
evidence.
classes, Jim. We
And,
tried to do that.
There was
Personal
drug testing
finance
done
is
on
what we
this day,
called it.
correct?
Again,
It
they
was
did not
hard to find a
discuss
good
with me his
curriculum,
medical records.
believe it or
Mr.
not.
Harpootlian, they didn't talk to me about his medical records.
And you didn't ask them, did you?
He
Did you ask them?
The testing that was
He's
being
now
done,
ask them?
we did
argumentative.
not ask to discuss
Okay.
specific aspects of Mr. Murdoch's medical condition.
Because of
We
HIPAA.
had to subpoena the records with a court order to have access to them.
Because
They
there's
will not discuss
rules.
openly his medical records with us.
They won't.
Did you ask a doctor, that's repetitive, but if you had asked a doctor, they would have told you, according to these records,
Calls for
that he was
speculation.
positive for barbiturates and positive for
Calls for speculation.
How in the world would
opioids,
you
would they not?
They would have
assume
told
the
us
doctor's
they-
gonna release that information without a
Justice
subpoena?
Were you, according to the records that are in evidence, were you aware that he was on opioids and he had a positive test for opioids and benzos?
Once we have
Notice.
subpoenaed
Would you
the,
please answer the yes or no?
No, I'm pausing
Once
you.
we got
Shut
the
up,
records,
Dick.
we
Would you
learned
answer
if-
yes or no?
Dick, shut the fuck up for a second. Here's the thing that I think should be objected to and discussed. Harpootlian argued to the court that those were things that the doctors gave to Alec Murdoch. Argued to the court that those were things that the doctors gave to Alec. So for him to then argue or question in a way that makes it seem as if this defendant was taking those things before he went to the hospital to substantiate his drug addiction is arguing out of
know,
both
Badger.
sides of his mouth. And he's literally blocked from doing that based
We
on
tried.
the rules.
We tried
He
to do it
just
with our social
argued to the
studies program.
court.
We had and we
Just
tried
argued
do
to
a
the
lot of
court that
debate
the
because
doctors
another
gave him
thing They
those.
need to bring back
And
We need
this
to
is
bring
on
back
recross, so the
as a
prosecution
formal
doesn't have
program
another
within the
chance
English program or within social studies,
to
or
do it.
ideally
This has
as
gotten
a
very fiery this
collaboration.
morning. Dick is very feisty. I mean, the
Yeah,
judge
and I
is
love
just going
pop
to lose his
classes. I
mind.
love hands-on. I tried to
So-
get a coding back
right.
when I was thinking that
Let's
was the
go.
way to help kids.
Meds given ASAP will show
give
lapse.
them access
Exactly.
to a coding
And
program
Dick
where
already
they could
argued
then
that to the
become
court.
part of a,
So he can't turn around and
you know,
argue
getting
it
help desk
back
stuff
to the witness
right out of high
that
school
Alec
if
took
they
those
weren't going to go to
things.
college.
He can't
So
do it.
yeah,
He can't do it. He
We
can
didn't-
bring in
I
the
didn't- I didn't
doctor,
quite get it off the
but
ground
he's
before.
it is
I was
illegal,
trying to get
not
my math
illegal. It is
department to really
against the
help
rules of
lead that,
court
but
and principles of
we didn't
law
quite
for
get
him to do
there.
that. Okay, let's see.
You
what
don't win them all,
Your Honor,
dude.
I would object to him badgering the witness. The witness is entitled to answer the question.
You may respond as you see fit. Go ahead.
Yeah,
At the
shut up,
time
Dick.
of September 4th, we did not ask the medical doctors or the medical professionals any information about his condition because they would not discuss it with us. So if I had asked,
'Cause there's
they
laws.
would not have discussed it. So we did not ask. When we
man.
obtained the medical records
Yep.
through court order, we were able to review them and learn after the fact the diagnosis.
Would you still have, if you'd had the medical records, would you have still gone forward with questioning, knowing he had opioids and benzodiazepines in his blood system?
At that point, he was a victim of a crime.
I would have questioned him.
He was the only witness to a shooting that we were currently investigating. I would have asked those questions, and when I found that they were consistent with the two other statements he had already given, it would have allowed us to move forward with the investigation.
What do you got? What? Oh
Beg the
God.
court's
What are you
indulgence.
doing?
No, just stop, man.
What do you have?
Just stop.
What do you have?
You've pushed a bridge too far at this point.
Thank
Dick.
you.
You may step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Completely
Call your
inappropriate.
next witness.
It doesn't seem to fucking
May it please the
matter.
court, Your Honor. State calls Special Agent Peter Rudofsky.
What a weird fucking interview that was.
Please God be a timeline witness. Poot looks pissed because he wanted to get more information in with that witness than he was allowed to get in. But bring your own witnesses. It's not like the defense doesn't have their entire case in chief to
Do
come.
you swear or affirm that any testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth shall help you God? If you will please be seated, state your full name for the record.
God, they all look alike. Wait, is that the same
Let
guy
me
as the
guess you were for
last guy?
SLED.
Is there a uniform?
Special Agent Peter
Your
Rudofsky, that's
uniform beard?
Rudofsky, and it's pronounced Rudolph and then ski.
So just don't get it wrong.
Rudofsky.
Agent Radofsky, how you doing
Got
today?
it.
I'm doing good, how are you?
I'm
Like,
good.
let me give you a
If
pronunciation
would,
Sorry, we
guide.
have
tell the
kitty
jury
cam.
just a little bit about yourself. Give us a little quick history of where you grew up, where you went to school, and how you ultimately ended up with your current position, please.
I'm originally from Oakland County, Michigan, Metro Detroit area. Became a reserve deputy in
Jojo, I'll answer this when we have a
2015,
break.
reserve officer with Bay City Department of Public Safety while I was attending Saginaw Valley State University to get my bachelor's degree. And then went on to work at Oakland County Sheriff's Office as a special deputy. Graduated in 2017 at Saginaw Valley State University with a criminal justice degree. And then in 2017, moved to South Carolina, worked for the Department of Public Safety. In 2020, came to the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, where I am currently. Began in the undercover vice unit, worked in the undercover vice unit until October of 22, where I currently am a special agent assigned to investigative services.
All right, and that was when again?
That was October of 22 is when I had my new position.
At some point in that position in SLED Investigative Services, did you get involved?
Oh, 'cause
in
you
the
were watching a
investigation
fight.
of the
That's why your
murders of
heart's
Maggie and
racing,
Paul
Pam.
Murdoch at Moselle?
I did November of
Lots of a
21
fight.
is when I was brought on to assist the Low Country region with this case.
November of 21 or November of 22?
21.
And let's talk a little bit more just about some of the experience you've had as a law enforcement officer. Have you had any experience with or had any training with using
Timelines?
the FBI CAST program?
I did. I took a basic 16-hour
have a
cell site
timeline?
analysis course, which allowed me to use their system CastViz, which is what if you saw Matt Wild's presentation, the mapping system and the plotting, it allows me to use that system and kind of do a basic level operation of it.
I feel like this is going to be
And
the emotional like release
What has
from
been
how
your,
fiery
your
that all
primary
got.
focus of your involvement, at least, in the investigation after you got involved in November 2021? And to be fair, that was November 2021. You were not working in investigative services when the Moselle event happened in June of 21. Is that correct?
Stacey
That is
King,
correct.
So
congratulations.
when you came on in November of
On your old
21,
dress chips.
what's kind of been one of your main focuses and main assignments?
The main focus was to take all of the various forms of data. There's, a lot
make
of
a timeline,
phones,
and make
lot
a
of different
timeline, and
data,
make a
take all
timeline.
of that and put it into a readable timeline that you could start from, the beginning of the day to the end of the day and see everything with all those different phones and different, media sources all in one document.
I didn't want to count.
Stand by
I
for
didn't
me
want
just
to.
real quick.
I didn't want to count chickens, y'all. I've been too optimistic. All I want's a fucking timeline. I've been very optimistic about a timeline. Thank Jesus, there is a timeline. Thank you to the universe, to the force,
I'm going to show you what's
to
already
AWA.
been admitted into
We
evidence
have
as a defense exhibit,
timeline.
Defense Exhibit 60 that was entered a long time ago in this trial. And do you recognize that? It's already in evidence.
I do.
All right, and what is that? Tell the jury what that is, please.
This would have been a rough draft or working draft of my timeline. I have a date of 1/12/23 at 3 p.m.
Is it
was an
color
updated time on
coded,
this.
All right,
sir?
and that was, who prepared that document, though, that was put in by the defense?
This was prepared by myself.
And was that provided to the defense a week or so or sometime prior to trial?
It was.
All right, and on that particular document, does it say that it is a working draft?
It does on the top here. It's going to have in yellow working draft. And then as you go through the document, it's going to have the same yellow on the top working draft and draft across.
So why
the
did they
document.
let the defense put
And
it
as
in?
you have, how long you been working on this document right here?
Roughly about a year on this document.
And as new data came in, new data's been analyzed from various sources that have been put forward to this jury, has that been incorporated into your timeline here?
It has.
All right, and since the time that this was initially prepared, has there been additional information added to it and that document continued to be worked on?
There has.
All right, and has that been
I
provided to
am-
the defense as well?
It has.
I am emotional. We've gotten here. We have a color-coded timeline with maps and cell site data. I saw a code. I saw a codex in there to key code the timeline. I don't know why they let the defense put in the working draft, but whatever.
All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked as States 520
I'm so excited.
and see if you
If
recognize
this
this
sucks,
document.
I'm going to lose my mind. All of it. I will lose all of my mind. All of my mind will be lost.
I do. This is going to be the full timeline. This is going to be the latest copy.
Great.
And I'm going to show you what's been marked as
I
519.
have a
Do you
Charles
recognize that
Johnson
document?
update later.
I do.
All right, tell the jury what
Just
that
a
is.
little
This is going to be
spoiler
a
alert.
condensed
We're
timeline of this
winning.
document here.
We are
Instead of having the whole day,
winning.
it's going to have roughly from 6 p.m. to
No
11 p.m.
Nazis, no
on June 7th.
fascists,
2021?
no
2021.
dicks.
Your Honor, at this time I would offer States 519 and
No
520 into
Nazis, no
evidence.
fascists, no dicks.
They
I
are
can't wait
admitted.
to see them. I can't wait till we get to see them.
Wow,
get back to
iron
those in a
workers
second.
union. Jeez,
Please don't
Jim,
stray
that's
too far.
intense.
Please don't
You're
stray.
making me feel really,
We're
really
here
rosy
now.
right now.
Creighton, just give us the timeline, man. Please let this be your last witness.
All right, now you mentioned before that you
We're
had
so tired,
some training
Creighton.
in using the FBI CAS program, is that correct?
That is correct.
And during the course of this investigation, actually fairly recently, did additional information come in related to what you've been working on?
That is correct.
And explain that to the jury. What information came in?
Creighton, we're so tired.
So on Friday, I received a call,
Which Friday?
would have been last Friday,
oh,
from Attorney General Conrad,
GPS.
Last
that
Friday.
GM discovered some new data. I initially did a search warrant back in of March of last year. No data was returned to us from OnStar. We get a
GM was
call
like-
saying that they have data and that they're going to be sending it to me. I received an email on this past Saturday with 3 Excel files of data from GM.
All right, and tell the jury generally what was that data?
There was a lot of data in it. Mostly it was a lot of latitude and longitude plots.
That sounds like a
There
real.
was speed
like
data in there and a lot of data that
sounds
when
like
you
some
start
real
your car up,
drama,
you might see, like,
J316.
engine lights and all that, those codes and stuff. A lot of the codes was on the data.
Oh my God.
And for what vehicle was this for?
This is for the 2021 Suburban driven by Alex Murdaugh.
GM previously responded to law enforcement inquiry that there was no such data.
That is correct. All we got was basic subscriber data.
You know what
from
my
OnStar.
mom used to
And when did they
say?
respond to
Actually,
that
she didn't say
I believe
this.
it was March 18th.
She used to say, if you lay down with
Of
pigs, you're gonna get
2022.
dirty.
2022. And then during the course of this
Darling,
trial,
if you lay down
they
with those
contacted
pigs, you're
and said,
gonna
"Oh,
get
wait, we found
dirty.
something."
That is correct.
Don't
Whoopsie
lay
doodle.
down
All
with
right,
those
and since that
pigs.
time, have you?
We actually do have
You
all
know,
that shit you
sometimes
were
I
looking
listen to my
for.
mother,
We just
sometimes
didn't
I
give it to
forget
you.
to listen to my
program
mother, but
and
then I
analyzing
always
that
end up
data.
Weird.
remembering
I have the
to
CAS
listen to
data
my mama.
is pretty much
So,
a tool that
yeah.
you can take different latitude, longitude, and different kind of data points, put it in the system in an Excel file, and it pretty much plots it and paints a nice
Yes.
picture for you.
I hear
And
we
you,
got some
have you worked in this
Canadian-
case as you've been
Canadian
synthesizing the data from various
convoy.
sources? Have you worked
Again.
or synthesized the data that came from
Let's go.
Engineer
I keep
Falfusky
hearing
with
the
the
meatball
FBI?
song. You
Yes,
know.
sir.
And remind the jury who Falfusky is again, please.
He is a
Like,
vehicle engineer from the FBI out of Washington, D.C., and he's the one that took the telemetry unit out of Alex Murdaugh Suburban, and he took all the data and recreated
Fuck the
that,
Canadian
the year-long
convoys.
process
Fuck the
to
Canadian
get all the data
convoys.
extracted that
we
he previously
recall.
testified on.
All right, and is that telemetry data generally synthesized or summarized
I call them
along with
loser
other data in your
parades.
timelines that are admitted into evidence?
There's no
Yes, it is.
convoys. There's just
Can you,
loser parades.
Compare to, for the jury, the difference between what the telemetry that Engineer Falfusky did and the OnStar data that GM recently provided.
The biggest
is so
difference you're going to
helpful.
see is on the telemetry data. If you remember, there was that Excel spreadsheet with all the different colors on it. It would show vehicle going into drive or park, moving, propulsion, that kind of stuff.
damn
The
it.
data we got back from OnStar is mostly a lot of latitude and longitude and speed and different kind of codes and whatnot. There wasn't really any location data in the FBI data. I don't believe there was any for that day. I believe it was all before. But we have mostly, GPS coordinates and whatnot. That's the biggest difference that you're going to see between the reports.
All right. And was the OnStar data recently received generally consistent with the telemetry data that had been developed by the FBI and Falfusky?
It was.
Just more specific
just more specific.
All right. I'm
They
gonna
think
show
I'm
you
really
their
boring.
data.
All the
States
chuds think I'm super
524,
boring, which is not
Mr. Island,
not
see if you're ready
untrue.
to
I'm
pass
not
this document.
I'm not saying they're not inaccurate.
I do.
All right, and tell
They
the
think
jury
I'm
what this
boring,
is,
so they
please.
don't usually
This was a
watch.
presentation I created that is
I mean,
based
they'll
on the
probably start
GM
watching
OnStar
because
data
they're
that was
running out of
received
people to
last
watch.
week for
'Cause they
6,
keep
7 of 21
deleting
for a
everybody.
2021 Chevrolet
But
Suburban.
whatever. Wait till
Your Honor,
they
at
hear
this
the
time, I would offer
podcast.
into evidence States 524.
Thanks, gal. Thanks, oof.
Okay.
No, you guys, I
can't
don't
wait till
mean
we
you
start
guys.
getting
I
into
mean the
what's in the
chuds. The
exhibits.
chuds don't watch me.
Not just the fact that the exhibits exist.
But my friends do. Ah, I'd like to be able to weld. I'd like to do a little flash dance, Jim.
Creighton,
Come
we're
on
all
now.
patiently waiting. We want him to just read the entire timeline
All
with
right,
the
I'm
pictures.
gonna, if I could have computer input, please.
I want you to put the pictures up. I want to go through a PowerPoint. Can we do a
I'm
PowerPoint?
gonna go ahead and put Exhibit 524 up on the screen, the
Good.
one we just admitted.
That might help.
We're going to get to see it. This is going to be the rest of today, I think. I'm very excited about this. Because then we'll actually be able to say, oh, well, those all have reasonable explanations. Or, oh, those things
Oh,
don't
good,
have
oh.
reasonable explanations.
You teach me to
At least
weld.
we'll all be singing from the same sheet of music on what this timeline is instead of trying to
You teach
piece
me
it
to weld,
together
Ink.
through testimony. I'm very happy.
Ron Paul, undoubtedly.
Hopefully the technology works because the judge has got
All
about
the
30
calls.
seconds before he excuses the jury. You know that's true, Creighton.
Would like to flash dance.
If it doesn't work, he's going to
Well,
send the jury
like-
out for a break.
524, the exhibit we
Can't
just put into
tell.
evidence.
That is correct.
All right, and that's your name up there, and it's got the CAS program and everything,
Oh,
is that right?
you don't
That is
know how
correct.
to weld.
All
Okay.
right, moving
It's a
on to this next slide.
PowerPoint.
Can you see all
I
right up
get
there?
it.
I can.
All right, if your little screen becomes hard to see, just let me know.
Oh
and we
my
can have you come
God,
down
here we go.
And look at the big one.
We're going to look at Excel
All right, let's up on this
spreadsheets.
slide. Tell us what this represents
Fantastic.
to the jury.
What you're going to see up on the
Wow,
slide
well
is going to
done,
be three
everybody.
file names that were received
I'm
from
sure it's
GM.
Ron
These are all
Paul or
three
the
Excel
ghost of one.
files. This is what they were
I know,
labeled
can't
to
mess.
us
Continue
from
being a
GM.
no. I'm, yeah.
And what is
Yeah,
this
being a
slide?
no one is really highly
This
valuable.
is an
these
overview.
days.
Your, do you mind if I
Actually.
step down?
Yeah.
Point out?
Just what YouTube has taught me. Good. Then let's go and let's learn welding together. Then we'll do that.
Chad,
We'll go to
you're so
Jim's house.
excited.
Jim will teach
I'm
us
so
how to
excited.
One is
weld,
going to be Moselle. Moselle
and then we're going to
property.
create large
Bottom
like,
left, we're going to have
recycle
Hampton.
art pieces.
Far right is going to be Almeda. There are 4,820
Yes,
It is a
Data
hot
points.
commodity,
Law school.
and just
that
so
make
don't
up these
take it for
lines.
granted, Cam.
400 and how many?
A couple more slides, you're going to see the
Don't
individual
tempt
dots.
the
This is
reaper.
kind of like an overlay of all of those
Don't tempt
dots.
the
But just for reference,
reaper.
that's where we're at in the map.
And just very quickly, tell the jury, when we're talking
Oh,
about
burning?
these dots, is that what the CAS report
Me
did?
too. I
Is
spent more
plot
time
the dots
burning.
based on the data provided by GM OnStar?
That is correct.
Badger,
No, we
badger,
have a
badger,
map.
Each dot's
here,
going to represent a
gal.
latitude and longitude.
Did you have to
Hey,
manually
everybody,
enter
say
in
hi to
all
Gal.
4,820, or how does that work?
I did not, the nice thing
I'm
about
gonna
the CAD
try and
system
stay
is
in
it
the
takes
fringe. I
cell,
made some
you put it all in an Excel
firing range.
spreadsheet, and it does all
No,
that
no,
for
I don't
you.
want to stay in the firing
Kind of
range.
like Google Earth would
I
do.
want to step away from the firing range.
All right, this next slide,
Am I
what
in
is
the
that?
firing
This is
range?
the
I
same
hope
slide,
not.
it's just showing on a different, the last one
I
was like
gotta
a
be quiet.
Google
This is
Earth kind of
important.
view photo. This is just a regular like map photo. It kind of
It
just says,
does-
you know, the
it does
location's
look
a
like
little
it's
bit
trying to
easier to
run
read.
away.
You got Hampton, Almeda, and then you can see Islandton.
Go on to this slide, is this just a general representation where you can see some of the individual dots?
That's really helpful.
This is going to be the general overview of Moselle. Each little dot is going to either have a single set of data points or multiple set of data points. And this is for the whole day. This is not just for a certain time period. This is going to be for the whole day of June 7th, 2021.
Well, and this is plotting
And generally, what does
the
this represent?
This is
GM.
going to represent in Hampton, around the law firm. Each dot is either a single set of data points or multiple set of data points.
We're going
This
over
is
to
kinda
knew they would
showing
have
the
this
info
data.
GM OnStar
from what we saw
data.
previously.
And that's the defendant's former law firm?
That is correct.
Firing range.
I
Seriously.
love
this
the way
represent?
Creighton leans into former.
This is going to be the Almeda property that's been referred to previously. And this is just showing a overview of all the dots for that day.
All right, we're about to get in some slides that have very specific references to dots, and just generally, what are you
Almeida's
about to go
the
through
mom's
with the jury
property.
as the specific
I
data
wonder if
points
he's
that you're
out
about to
near-
relate to them?
So for this presentation, we're going to go through all the different drives that occurred that day.
I don't think
You're
he
gonna
was
have a data
riding around
point
with Paul
and
in
a
the
slide that's going to show you the
Suburban.
beginning, a couple slides during the drive, and then at the end.
I thought he was riding around with
And we're gonna
Paul
have a
in
couple
the
different drives
in one
that
of the
we'll be
like
walking through.
Polaris things. one of the UTV ATVs.
All right, now we're at this slide. What is the title of this slide?
This is Alex leaving for work.
What time?
And tell the jury, what image do we see right here on the screen?
So what you're looking at, this is going to be the property 4147 Moselle Road. This is going to be the main entrance, and you can see underneath the little box is going to be the house. You're going to see on the date, it's going to say June 7th, 2021, and this plot is going to be 120647.
So he left for work at
Is
noon.
that what time the Suburban got underway, according to the GM OnStar data?
That is correct. It does match up.
Moving to this next slide, what does this represent?
Oh, okay.
This next slide is representing.
That's, yeah,
the
I
vehicle
understand,
making a
Jim.
right onto Moselle Road during his drive.
Yeah,
What time is that?
there aren't any.
The
Mm-mm.
time is 12:07:40
Thank you.
p.m.
That is
Pull
good
down
to
here
hear from
just
you.
Real quick, and explain to the jury this
Come on,
box, and in
Crane.
particular, if there's a little arrow on this box,
Let's end
point that
this.
out to
Come
them
on,
so that they can
Jesus.
understand specifically what's being referenced with the
Everybody.
blue and white box.
The carrot?
So anytime you see a blue box here, it's a little hard to see, but the little
I'm leaving it on
that
this
triangle
feed so
down
we
here,
have the large,
that's where it's pointing to on
the
which
large map.
Only
which
bullies.
red dot is referring to. So anytime you see the box, look for that little triangle, and that's going to tell you the area
Little
that the
triangle
vehicle,
right
the
there.
latitude, longitude correlates with.
Little triangle
Grab
right
bar
at the bottom of the
real
box.
quick. So this little blue triangle right there is what we're talking about?
That is correct.
And it's pointing to that little red dot there, is that right?
That's correct.
And we're not going to go through all 4,820 dots, but just representative dots of these various
Jim,
strips.
that
Is
message
correct?
should be ready this
I just want to point out
weekend because
quickly,
I've
you
been
might see a couple
practicing
other
the
data
song
points.
for your
That could be
mother-in-law.
for another trip.
So I'll send you a
know,
little
sometimes
something this
they have the
weekend
same
and figure out how to
latitude,
reach you.
longitude, But different times. So you might see a couple different data points, but that's the explanation for
All right, and then the one that's highlighted though is the one that's, the information's being referred to right there, is that correct?
that. That's correct.
And right here, we see what?
You see June 7th, 2021,
All right, and then-
12:07 and 40
They did a lot of work. They did a lot of work from Friday last week to Friday this week to get this done.
Yeah.
Because
All right, before we move on to the next slide,
This is
what's the
not
car doing at this point in time?
anything that they
The car
had
is
before
moving.
Friday
And
last
what
week.
location is it?
So
Just
they had to
generally in
triangulate
orientation to the
everything.
property?
Moselle Road coming out of that main gate,
That driveway?
main driveway.
Moving on to
You
the
should
next
read it.
one.
I would
What's this
read it.
represent?
That's
This is
for sure.
12:07.
I will buy that book and I
42,
will
this is
read it.
representing, you're going to see a mile per hour.
For me.
It's going to be the new line that just showed up.
Lolo
And this
asked
is
me
showing
for my
12 miles an
Lolo
hour the vehicle's traveling.
Generally on these blue boxes is the little arrow at the bottom. Is that
I have
kind
to
of in the
do
center
that. I'm
bottom?
so
This
mad
is
at
a little
myself.
arrow
I
at the bottom
recorded the
showing
whole
the
thing and
That
then
is
it
correct.
just didn't
Right,
record.
and some of the
I
entries
didn't record.
have a miles per hour reading, is that correct?
So I
That is
I owe
correct.
them.
That's being
I owe my
recorded by the
babies. I
vehicle
owe my
by
gal
GM
my
OnStar.
gal
And it's
being
suburban
uploaded
prince
to their
and
servers.
princess.
All right, and so what was
I owe them
the
story
speed of
time.
the defendant's vehicle
And
at
I
this
will
time?
not disappoint
12
them.
Approximately 12 miles an
I
hour.
will not.
I imagine Jim Griffin's going to be like, well, you're not telling this
will do
jury
it.
that this
I
means
will
he
do
committed a
something
murder,
for
right?
them.
And then sit
Here
down.
it's in reference to
I love my babies.
miles per hour because we're Americans.
The grandchildren
but,
I don't
the data that
have.
you got, what unit
I
is
did
it?
not have
kilometers.
Creighton
Good
basically
mess.
saying
Did you, convert that
America
data to
in the
miles
middle
per
of
hour?
this.
Still
An
any
Excel
coffee yet
spreadsheet,
today?
yes.
But okay.
And just plugged
Well-
in. what
Because
the
we're
conversion is, and it
Americans.
converted
No,
it
but
to
you know
miles.
what,
Creighton.
TJ?
Equal
I don't
sign,
have
you
any
do the
hot
conversion
coffee.
and
I
it-
had
it
to drink
converts for you.
iced coffee,
All right.
and it's sucks.
All right, going on to this next slide. Was this still on the trip that morning to the law, or that afternoon to the law firm?
That is correct.
I know we'll get back to
And,
the kennel
very
data
quickly,
points.
tell the jury where we're at.
We are still on Moselle Road. We're past the Godly Farms Road, which would be another reference point.
I know, I'm excited to
That's
see
the
speed
residence
because
up
if
here
he
at the top.
slows down
That is
later.
correct.
All right, that's the kennels way up at the very top.
That is
All right.
correct.
I'll
All
live.
right, what is
Oh,
the
Barbara might be
date and
crossing,
time
that
of
would be
this?
good.
I have an
12:08:30,
embarrassment of riches.
And that is showing
Actually, the iced
55,
coffee
approximately
doesn't suck
55
balls.
miles
It's
an
pretty
hour.
good.
We'll see if the car slows down.
It's
on
just
the way
not
to
hot
Mom's.
coffee. I don't know. There's something about
Why?
hot coffee that's really amazing.
All right, tell me about
I
this next
see-
one.
Right?
This is still on the drive to the law firm. This is showing at 12:16 on the dot, and we're showing approximately 60 miles an hour driven.
And where is the arrow on this particular one?
So on this box, the arrow's actually going to be on top, and it's pointing to one of the data points.
The arrow's
Speed again.
60.
Approximately 60 miles an hour.
Okay, Creighton.
Going on to slide 13 for the record, what does this reflect?
This is reflecting coming into Hampton to the law firm. And this is actually, if you look, it's pretty much right on top of the law firm. It's 12/21/37, and we have no speed associated.
Okay, come on, let's get up to the. I wish I
Yeah, we
understand that you
definitely
can't
waited
really
20
like
days,
bottom
but
line.
And the next
actually,
slide, slide
them
14.
waiting gave them time to get the GM
Yes, at
data.
No, I didn't read through the
12/24/06
Dominion
with,
filing. What
no
is wrong
speed
with me?
reported.
You
This
know
is
what
when
else
he's
I didn't
arriving.
read
This is
yet,
the last
Gal?
data
Was
point
the
I could find.
excerpts of the
So he's
Georgia
arrived at work at that
grand
time,
jury
correct?
panel.
That is
I'm
correct.
so behind.
12:46.
12/24/06.
Going to this
Where's the
next slide,
Dominion
explain to the jury
filing?
what this is, and we're slide 15 for this.
So after
That's
each drive,
definitely
we're going to have a
something we're
slide
gonna
that's
talk
going to
about.
show a max speed from all the data sets on Excel. The max speed for his
can't.
drive from
cannot.
Moselle to the law firm that morning
I cannot.
was 12:13:19. The max speed was 65.8 miles per hour.
Okay.
And the average speed
I
of
want to
that
hear
whole
the part
drive
though about where
was
Fox
37.24 miles an
was
hour.
the Fox
And
hosts
that
were
time
like
was at 12:13:19 during his
slamming
drive.
Trump for
I don't know
believing
why it
that
matters.
he
I have no shade
won
for
the
somebody
election or
speeding.
whatever.
All
That I
right, we're
want.
moving
Which
now
is-
to slide 16. Tell the
He's
jury
on his
what
way
this
to work at
represents.
noon. Of course he's
This
going
one's going to represent
16.
Alex leaving work at the law firm, heading
Fox
to
News,
his
US
house.
Dominion. Oh, here it is.
Shows at
24.
6:24:18.
Yep, I see it. I have the thing.
It shows him going 8 miles an hour, just starting to leave.
Was it a
PM
real pillow?
Yeah,
and the speed,
Oh my God, that's bright.
approximately 8 miles
Slow
an hour.
down, everybody.
going on slide 17.
Boring,
8 miles an
almost
hour,
nothing.
This one's showing at
See the grand jury papers. They believe some
6:26:54
people
p.m.
perjured and should be
It's
charged.
showing
Really?
his
So it's not
Suburban
even
going
like
approximately
interesting to
42
read.
miles an hour on
God
his
damn
drive
it.
home. The arrow is going to be on the
All
top
right, I've
right.
got the filing.
It
Speed.
might be cut off.
I don't think the defense expected all this
42 miles an
data.
hour.
They're going to make it
Right,
work
and
for them.
then, is that the arrow right there?
That is correct.
All right, at the top,
The top of the screen.
about 42 miles an hour.
That is correct.
Slide 18, what does this reflect?
This is going to
Section
reflect
G
at
of
Alex
the
arriving home at
Dominion
6:42:54 with a miles per hour of 0. This is the last,
quote,
one of the last data
This
points that
Dominion
without
shit
speed.
is going to give me a
6:42
fucking
p.m. arriving back
aneurysm.
at the residence.
End quote.
That is correct.
Section
And
G
the arrow is
of the
pointing to
Dominion
what?
filing. That's its
The
title.
residents.
Look at that time.
little bit to the side, that's the residence right
Oh
there.
yeah, we're gonna read this.
6:42:54.705
That's for
p.m.
fuck's sake, sure.
All right, and tell the jury, now on slide 19, what does this represent?
Oh
So this
yeah,
is going to
we're
be from his drive
definitely-
home from the law firm
No.
to Moselle.
Dominion is not
represents
owned
at
by a company founded in
6:34:01 during his
Venezuela to
drive.
rig elections
Now I'm
for
The
curious
the
max
to
speed
see
of
if
dictator
King
he
was
Hugo
speeds
Chavez.
54.4
elsewhere.
miles per hour. The average speed
So if
during
they're
this
trying to
drive was
establish a pattern.
41.39 miles an hour. And you can see the location
It is nuts.
somewhere
Oh
off of,
my
I believe,
God.
63.
Driving home, what was his max speed?
54.4 miles per hour was the
Testicle
max
cannon,
speed
that's right.
driving home.
I'm
that,
interested
didn't
why
we?
this matters to them.
All right, slide 20.
Oh, this is going to be fun.
All
All right,
right, so
well,
now
we'll
we're at
pull
where
this thing
Alex is
apart
leaving
tonight
for
then, maybe,
Almeida.
for fun.
This is going to be
If
9:07:06
there's any
p.m.
juicy parts. I'm sure there are.
Okay.
I'll look at that today. Crazy. Crazy.
And again, we'll go through the timeline in a bit, but this is this generally consistent with
A kilo.
some of the telemetry data that Falfosky did?
It is
Suburban goes underway at what time?
9:07:06 according to this data.
Stop trying
Does it
to
change
open
speed
the
on the way there?
shower.
Moving on to the next slide.
Like previous
Where's the Suburban at this point?
Like previous slides, this is going to be the Suburban pulling out onto Moselle Road, coming right out of the main
Wait a minute.
entrance, going about
They
15
have
miles an
pictures
hour.
from
This is going to
OnStar?
be at 9:08:06.
What do we have right here?
This is going to be 9:08:18 with speeds approximately 37 miles an hour.
Where's the Suburban heading at this point?
Towards Almeida.
This is good. It's
All
good
right,
stuff,
slide
Cal.
23. We have a reference point here. Can you explain what that is to the jury?
So the orange dot, that's going to represent approximately where Maggie Murdaugh's phone was located the following day on June 8th, 2021.
All right, and do we have a time reference for the Suburban at this time?
We do. It's going to be 9:08:36
Yeah, I know.
seconds. And it's
I know,
showing a
TJ.
speed of 42 miles an
We're-
hour.
We can talk about
That's
that.
not slow.
He's not having an easy. He's not going to have an easier road.
Moving on to the next one. Tell the jury what this is.
It's going to be
In
tough
the
2
grayish
years.
white looking box, you can still see the little circle where it says Maggie Murdaugh's phone location. And right under it's where the
That's not
pinpoint's gonna
slowing
be.
down.
It's going to be 9:08:36, 42 miles an hour.
Next slide, 25. Slide 25.
The upper halfway portion of that box, you're going to see the circle again, orange circle.
If
That's
you're
gonna be
calling
Maggie
from
Murdaugh's
42 to
phone.
45 a slow
And at
down
9:08:42,
Creighton, I will yell at you.
We have the Suburban traveling approximately 45 miles an hour.
After passing
don't
that
have to
location,
slow down to
does
throw
the
a phone out of a
defendant's
window,
vehicle
do
start to
you?
accelerate?
It does.
How much does it
Going
accelerate?
to slide
Three,
26, tell us what
3 miles an
this
hour
references.
isn't that
We
much.
also have Maggie Murdaugh's phone location. This is just another data point. There's several throughout the road. This one is showing 908:54, 44 miles an hour.
Slide 27.
This is going to show you another overview of this data point.
And when you
and
throw it
location to
out the
Maggie Murdaugh's
window?
phone, 908:54, 44 miles an hour.
Wouldn't
So
you,
that's a
wouldn't it
consistent
land
speed.
behind
I would
you?
argue that's a
Slide 28.
consistent speed.
This one's
You see
further
what I'm
down the road
saying?
past Godley Farms
when you
Road,
throw
just
it,
for a
wouldn't
reference
it-
point.
I don't know.
This is 909:06, traveling 48.6 miles per hour.
Slide 29.
This is another data point in reference to where the phone location is. 909:18.
Yeah, no, let's talk about
it.
PM,
Doesn't seem like he's in a
traveling
hurry.
Let's talk about it,
49 miles
TJ.
per hour.
Get down off of
Slide
there.
30.
This is
Get
going to be
down off of
another
there.
data point at 909:18,
Hi.
traveling approximately 52 miles an hour.
Slide 31.
This is also going to be another one on Moselle Road,
to a
coming up
good
to
home.
Dobson Road.
I'm kidding.
It's going to be 909:24
Physical
PM,
tanning is a thing,
traveling
yeah.
approximately
However,
52
you don't
miles
know
an
where
hour.
on that road the
You're
speed
headed to
changes from
Greece.
45 to
Slide
50 or
32.
This is
55.
also going to be
You brought
another
your
data point
feather.
on
Or
that
if it
road,
does.
Man,
909:42,
So,
traveling
that's a
approximately
pretty
54
consistent
miles an
speed for
hour
me.
on Moselle
Yes,
Road.
Jim, yes.
All right, going to slide
That is the way
33.
to
Has
do
our
Greece.
sort of
In
map
a
orientation
mankini
changed?
and
I'll
a
be
It
interested
has.
to
This
see
cowboy
if
is
the
still
speeds
on
are
the drive to
consistent
Elmina.
on the way home.
Don't
I believe
forget
this is
your
going to be
hat.
63 or Snyder's
we're
Highway.
going
or
very quick
Baltimore
now.
Highway.
Hat.
This is at 9:13:30 PM,
I think that's
showing a
great.
speed of 68 miles an hour
Good
on
for
that drive
you.
to
That's
Alameda.
fast.
I don't know, I mean, sun's good for everything,
For a
really.
two-lane
But
road.
tanning,
I imagine the speed limit
that seems a bit
is not
extreme.
above 55 there, if above
Seems
45.
more like burning. Delicate skin.
I'm going back to slide 3.
I don't know.
But the
real
local
quick.
jury will know better if that is fast for that area or not. But that seems a little
Aw.
quick. 68 seems a
Those
little
are
quick.
cuties.
And
But he was driving that way into work
just
too, the
seeing
other
when
direction.
the orientation changes,
work
can you
went
come
the
down
other
real
way.
quick and kind of describe generally what we were looking at when we started and then the where we're at on that slide that we were just about to look at?
All right, so where we started on this drive would have been right up here, 4147 Moselle Road.
Get off of there. Come on, get down, please.
4147 Moselle Road. This
Thank
would have
you.
been Moselle
Oh, my
Road
Lord.
that we just showed all those data points.
I love it when it
We made a
works.
right onto Dobson Road and then a right onto 63 Snyder's Highway.
Hi.
Approximately somewhere around here on
Are you
Snyder's
okay?
Highway where that data point we just looked at.
All right, returning to slide 33.
They haven't said the speed limit at all. I imagine it's around 55 out there.
Right there is going to be approximately where the data point is at.
Okay. And what's
Oh,
the speed?
Jim, please. That would be.
68.7
I would.
miles per hour.
The chat has reminded me that fast
Thank
is
you.
Going on
subjective.
to slide 34.
Thank
Fast
you.
is subjective.
Thank everyone.
Depending on conditions.
Thank you.
Road.
This is going to be at 9:14.
I need a picture of that.
36, showing approximate speed of 69.4 miles
If
per
they try
hour.
to make a lot out of that
That's gonna be on the
speed,
top.
I don't know if I'm here for
Mankini's
it.
overkill.
I really don't. I really don't know if I'm here for it. It could
Moving
be a
on to slide
lot of
35.
things.
This is going to be at
Don't go there, you
9:16:48, showing approximately
guys.
70
Oh my
miles an
God.
hour. It's going to be the top
Just
portion of
alive.
your screen here.
If
coming
he's
into
going
Barn
from
Hill.
50 to
Right, and
30
down at the
back
bottom
to
center of
50,
the
Come on,
screen, what is
kitty,
that?
stop
maybe.
it. Oh, my
Right here.
God. Derailed.
That is going to be
quickly.
the Alameda property, and
We'll
just to
see.
reference, this is going to be
It's
coming
Friday,
into Barn
though.
Hill.
You know, little sauciness on
We'll
lounge
see if-
days
we'll see on the way
warranted,
back.
Right
right?
here, what
If
do we
it's
have on
consistent.
slide 36?
Full ball tanning.
This is going to be the Alameda property. You can kind of
Nothing-
see it behind
nothing
the other
major.
record part, but it's showing at 9:22:06. His Suburban's pulling.
I like the
into
cowboy boots,
left
though.
into the
That
Alameda
I'm
property.
digging. That I'm digging.
Slide 37, what do we see here? First of all, orient the jury as to what the map image reflects.
This is the Alameda
and then
property.
Describe the data point, please.
So the map image is going to reflect, you're going to make a left into
It's true.
the
Maybe
driveway.
it's
There's a
me.
railroad track.
At that
I believe
time of
here.
night, I'm not going that
It's a
fast because
curved
deer.
driveway coming in, and then right here is going to be the house. This is the little carport
need to
right
be able to
here, and then the
stop.
driveway. is
They
this
ran away.
But also, you
whitish
don't know
part
if you're,
piece.
They
you're
ran
stuck
away.
behind
Hi,
something.
Ted.
And
Good
then up
morning.
here, generally in the property, we can see
TJ,
a
they,
roof and that sort of
the
thing. What
cats, the
generally are
time that
those?
Those are gonna be
Dino
some
has been in
outbuildings.
the
We've all
house,
been
On the
stuck
property,
behind those
They've
drivers.
run.
There's a
For the
decent amount of
hills.
trees right here, but there's, I believe,
Can
two
you
outbuildings.
move
I
the,
can't-
that
I
to
think-
This
show us the
white
outbuildings?
area
The
right here just
tail would
above the
probably
house, what
get
is
them if
that?
they
This.
spent
That's
any
gonna
time
be,
chasing the tail.
Move that thing.
Where you would park.
They would
it's a
probably
paved area
overcome their fear.
in front of the carports.
Where do the data points reflect the Suburban going, though, when it arrives?
The data points for the Suburban, it looks like it went toward, like, a little bit into the grass, closer to the wood line over here. And that's gonna be at 9/22/39.
Getting on my fingers.
Closer to the wood line and the
So the
outbuilding?
schedule today is,
that'd be
I'm gonna
correct.
have to end a little
It's
early
raining off and
because I
on.
do have that thing at 2 o'clock.
All right, and again, what time is the
Walking,
arrival at
morning
Alameda?
walking.
9/22.
Yeah, they are hazardous, actually. I don't want them to puncture Dino, and they would
This
probably
is just,
try to
so
do that.
this right
And
here is
then
gonna
it
be a
won't
better
blow
overview
up, and
without
then
the
Thank you.
The box.
the box.
the whole thing.
You can see
Don't
right
ruin the
here is gonna be
Dino.
the driveway.
But yeah, I'll end
leading
probably
in.
around
So the driveway is
12.
the paved
Carport where your
area,
vehicles would be parked, and then
right
this is the main
there.
house
12
here.
o'clock,
Then you have your outbuildings.
and then the
Pacific.
outbuildings.
3 Eastern, everything in
The
between.
outbuildings
outside of
look
that.
like they're over here.
Did we
Right here, we
take
have kind of a
Back.
line of
Pick it
data
up.
points right there in the grassy
We'll
area
do
behind the
the
house.
We do.
lounge, and I will do the lounge. I won't freak out. I'll try not to.
Did you ever
Going on
search
slide
back there?
39.
I'll tell you
Tell
what,
the
even if
jury,
I freak
what
out,
those
I'll hit the
calculations
button.
represent, please.
So this is gonna represent the
So
drive
that we
from
can. I don't know what.
Moselle
I'm
to
wondering
Almeda.
which camera's on.
During
I
that
don't think the
drive,
right camera's on.
the Suburban reached a max speed of
Isn't that
74.4
funny?
miles
I mean,
per hour during that drive, and averaged 51.94
Oh,
miles
no,
per
it's
hour.
not. I wonder. I'm scared
This
to
is
do
the
this,
data
but I'm going
point
to do it anyway.
with the highest speed obtained.
Let's see what happens.
Was that top speed higher than any speed he
No, I
achieved
don't
when he
like
went to
that
work over that day?
That is correct.
Is that average speed higher than any average speed he had when he went to
That is
Y'all,
correct.
I don't know if that is nearly
or
enough.
return
Okay.
from work?
That's correct.
But that goes both ways. Maybe he's worried about his mom because his dad's in the hospital. I don't know. He's going fast isn't gonna get me there, Creighton. It's just not gonna do it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
they will. They will try to murder the dinosaur.
So that night, Alec had
They're
to
really
call
both 9
to
months
let
old.
him-
Alameda?
He had to
They're
call
very young.
miles per hour.
Miss Shelley.
Oh,
And
Jim,
the
I'm
time
sorry.
again that he
9.
arrived?
At
Maybe
Almeda.
you need to just hold on for
I believe it's gonna
today.
be 9.
Just hold on for
Creighton,
today.
if your
Don't
best
take.
evidence is he
Don't
drove
cut the
70 miles
losses.
an hour, we've got
Back up
problems.
to
Just go on.
9:22:39.
Hold on.
So 9:22:39.
Friday, man,
He
like-
reached his max speed at
The market
9:14:13.
is.
It
there's-
does
Seven,
absolutely.
Now
21
you've got
and
amateur
9:22.
Chad,
days.
it absolutely confirms
Friday's
Miss
amateur
Shelley's
day in the
testimony
market.
that he was there 20 minutes. Absolutely does.
All right,
just
we're going
think
on to
them
slide 40.
Banging
Yeah,
on
that
about
was
speed
really cold.
maybe is-
This is going to
It is
represent
really
at
cold.
9:43:18. This is when we first saw movement,
That is
and
really
this would
cold.
be Alex leaving Almeda
I'm sure
en
Jim
route
feels
back
that that's
to
exceptionally cold as
4147
well.
Moselle Road. It's showing approximately 2 miles an hour.
All right, and the
Makes
time
sense.
again?
9:43:18.
The arrival time that you just testified?
That's correct.
What was the arrival time that you testified?
9:22,
And he's leaving at what time?
9:43.
I thought it was
So approximately how
9:32.
long?
20 minutes.
We lie.
That
Going
just
on to
confirmed what
slide
Miss Shelley
41.
said.
Let me
Oh.
ask you this. Does the defendant's,
Look at
does
this.
data reflect that the defendant's,
That the car pauses for a period of time while in that driveway area of Alameda?
It does, about half on the driveway.
Come on down and show the
I
jury.
turned it up a little bit. I hope that's okay.
Just sent you back, I'm sorry.
This is important.
Halfway during, so this is a driveway right here.
Why don't they search those areas now for the weapon?
The 911 call is at 10:06. I'll be very
Driveway
interested
just
where the
for
car
reference.
is at 10:06.
We see what looks like a data point, I believe, right here. And if we click on that data point, it's going to be about a minute until this data
I
point will
probably
show
should
up.
just open
leaving
the shower. Right?
all right, and then
Oh,
on
we
slide
all knew
41,
Miss Shelley was-
what's the time stamp that you have on that one?
Why
And
am I
show the
just,
arrow
like,
to the
not
jury
opening
too,
the
please.
shower?
9:45:22, and the arrow is going to be all the way down at the bottom, right across the railroad tracks.
I think it's
turning
because they're going
onto
to play
Genesee
inside of the
Highway.
shower and it's going to be noisy.
9:45.
That is correct, 9:45:22.
So the car stops right by the railroad tracks.
All right, moving on to slide 42. Please tell the jury what this data point represents.
Okay.
This slide's going to show you the drive back from Almeda to Moselle. This is just a data point on Genesee Highway. It's 9:46:01, and this one doesn't have a speed.
Pausing by the train tracks is interesting.
Going to slide 43.
This is also going
Orient the jury.
Pausing for a train would take
so on
generally
the
more
bottom
than
you
a
have
minute, though.
Almeda, going through Varnville and then heading up to Moselle. This is at 9:51:30. This is showing approximate speed of 74 miles an hour. It's going to be the top portion of that box.
That's the arrow at the top center.
That's correct.
And
Slide
you guys,
44.
I'm just
Please,
giving my
tell the jury
impression
what
as
this
we
is.
go. This is how I'm thinking through
Top
as
of
we're
the
seeing
map,
these
you're going to
points.
see Moselle.
They will
This is going
tie
to be
it
on
together.
63. This is going to be at 9:54:24.
That orange dot is where Maggie's
We have
phone is.
approximately 70 miles an hour.
And the arrow is located
It'll be
where?
more interesting
gonna
if he
be on the
drops
bottom.
from 70 to 30, right where that phone is. That would be
Slide
very
45.
interesting.
What do you have right here?
This is going to be at 9:59:18. This is Moselle Road coming up to Godley Farms Road for reference.
So that's slowing down
Top portion on the
again.
left is going to be the Moselle property. This is at 9:59:18, showing a speed of 57 miles an hour.
All right, we've moved on to slide 46. Tell me about that one, please.
So this is
Oh,
going to
they
be
skipped
the
right over
arrival
where
into
Maggie's
Moselle.
phone
This is
was.
showing 10 o'clock on the
Huh.
dot, showing 7 miles an hour, making a left into the main driveway.
10 o'clock on the dot.
So
That
nothing.
is correct.
And slide 47.
This is about 30 seconds later. This is 10 o'clock. This is about halfway down the driveway of the main house, showing 22 miles an hour.
All right, slide 48. Tell the jury about calculations reflected on this slide.
So this is going to be from his drive back from Almeda to Moselle Road. The max speed that was obtained during that drive was at 9:51, 43 seconds, was 80 miles an hour. The average speed was 46.52 miles an hour during that drive.
Is that average speed going to also, though, include that minute where the car paused at the driveway in Alameda?
That's correct.
The pausing at the driveway is interesting.
What?
80.16 miles an hour.
And at this time period, would it have been dark outside?
I would actually.
Let me ask you this,
he
you're
almost
a
had a
law
potential
enforcement
for
officer that
stroking out
works in
earlier. He
this
might stroke
area
out
of
at some
the
of this.
state, correct?
What's the
That's
speed
correct.
limit?
And have you, during the course of your law enforcement career, have to respond to emergencies or call for services and that sort of thing?
That is correct.
All right, and this particular road that we've been talking about, these roads, have they recently been paved?
They have.
And was that after the murders occurred on June 7th, 2021?
They were.
Or were you familiar with the condition of the roads and what they were like on that route prior
This
to
is
them being
showing,
repaved?
I am.
All right, and tell the jury what
Were they
running code
shit?
is. If you have an emergency or a call for service, an emergency, what is running code?
Running code is where you activate your blue
Obviously.
lights and siren, and you go above the posted speed limit at a safe fashion to get to your arrival in a safe manner.
That's when the cops turn on the lights and they're heading to the scene.
That's
Yep,
what he
blue
just
lights and
said.
sirens.
All right, and you're traveling as fast as you possibly can and still be reasonably safe, is that correct?
That is correct.
And have you had call prior to this road being paved to run code down that road?
That is correct.
All right.
What was that like?
Would you at night, or did you ever at night, on the roads as they existed at the time of June 7th, 2021, run in code with your lights on, run 80 miles an hour down that road?
I would not, no.
And why not? Tell the jury why not.
Due to the time of night, the heavy deer population out there, as everyone could probably see, I mean, deer will run out all the time.
They're-
And especially
they
with all your
just-
lights, it attracts the deer. So it's actually worse having your blue lights on sometimes. The deer actually are kind of attracted to that light. And then also the road conditions, the road, was a lot of potholes and
Was the
A country road
defendant's
pothole is like no other
top
pothole in the
speeds
world. It
on
will
both the
swallow
trip
you.
to and from Almeda in excess of any max speed in his trips previous in the day?
that'd be correct. Posted speed limit is 55 on 63.
And it took, we
All right,
did see
we're
it
going
take
on
law
now to
enforcement
slide
quite a while to get
49,
to the house.
And tell the jury what this represents.
This is going to be a timestamp of 10:05:06 p.m., and this is showing Alex Murdaugh leaving for the kennels.
And where's the dot on this particular slide?
The dot's going to be on the bottom towards the middle, right by the house.
Moving on to slide 50, tell me what this represents.
This is also showing the drive over to the kennels. The timestamp of this is 10:05:39.
And where's the arrow?
911 calls
The
at
arrow's going to be on the
10:06.
bottom. You kind of see it by the field.
All right, going on to slide 51, what does this represent?
This is just
Oh,
saying the
yeah,
max speed was
no,
obtained
CMS
28
hitting-
miles an hour at
hitting
10:05:49
What?
during
is
that trip.
really
On the
can
property?
be so damaging.
He's going 30 on his property? Huh.
And then slide 52.
This is showing the Suburban arriving at the kennels,
No,
10:05:57
no one's gonna come out in the
p.m.
middle of the road.
Seems
And backing up still on slide 52, can you remind the jury, and we'll talk more about this with the timeline in a minute, but generally what time was the 911 call?
10:06.
we've reminded the
I do
chat
not know the
several
seconds.
times.
And to your recollection, during the 911 call, did the defendant say he was returning back to the residence during that 911 call?
He did.
All right, and so we're on slide 53. What does this reflect?
This would be him heading back to the house around 10:11:54.
All right, slide 54.
This is just also showing him driving back to the house at 10:12:18 p.m.
Right? Didn't he say he was gonna get
5:55.
it done?
It's just another slide at 10:12:30 p.m. showing 32 miles an hour.
I'll need to go back and look at how long he
Where's
was
the
at the
dot?
house.
The dot is going to be on the bottom, and it's going to be on the main drive to the house.
Slide 56.
This is going to be at 10:13:54, showing 2 miles an hour, and it's right next to the house.
All right, slide 57.
This is just showing on that max speed from going from the kennels back to the house was at 10:12:19, and the Suburban reached 35.78 miles an hour approximately.
Slide 58.
This is just showing the drive back down to the kennels. This is during the 911 call at 10:14:30 p.m., showing approximately 24 miles an hour.
And then the final slide in this exhibit, what is that?
This is just showing the max speed at 10:14:25 of 30
know.
miles an hour during that drive.
Does that complete your placing of those GM OnStar data points into the CAS program and these slides that you relayed to the jury?
It does.
Your Honor, I'm about to move on to another exhibit that's lengthy. This might be a good time. I would request or suggest a break at this time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen,
All
we'll
right,
take
morning
a break
break.
at this time. Please
I'm gonna
not
zoom
discuss the
to
case.
catch
Alright.
up because I had paused a couple times to yell at attorneys mostly because it was needed. So I think the timeline so far this morning has been
I wanna hear what you
very
think.
helpful. I'm going to answer some questions while the court is on break, but don't forget, y'all need to take a stretch break. We're going to take a stretch break together. Oh, it's been a fiery morning. I've got my coffee. I didn't even ask y'all to let me know what you're drinking and where you're coming in from. It's way too late to roll the intro this morning. We're just not gonna roll it. So Becky asked the questions everybody's asking. Doesn't this support Alex's timeline? I honestly don't think the attorneys are fighting that much on a timeline. I don't think they're fighting the timeline. Oh, my in-ears are pulling on my head. I don't think the attorneys are fighting that much on a timeline. The timeline, the defense is going to argue, is too tight to commit these murders, clean up, ditch the guns. And we saw Jim Griffin
don't
doing
think
that in
that's
his
true.
very good cross-examination of the lead investigator
I still want to
yesterday.
know if it doesn't it
So
put
you're
him at the
saying
kennels at
that he
8:45 at the time of the murders?
was up at the kennels,
Oh my
committed the
God,
murders,
come
cleaned up,
on.
ditched the clothes, ditched the guns, got in his car and went to Alameda and did all of that in like 15 minutes? All right. And the prosecution is saying, yep, he was up at they're focusing on he lied, but he was up at the kennels. He committed the murders. That doesn't take very long. Cleaned up, ditched the clothes, ditched the guns, stopped for a minute, leaving Alameda, got back to the house, peeked to see if anybody was at the house, hauled ass back up to the kennels. It seems odd to me to drive
Yeah, they're
30 on
she
property.
talks about him a lot, Jim. They're
But maybe that's just their custom. Maybe it's that far. I don't
Kendra
know.
Scott.
Hauled ass
They're
back
pretty
up,
well-known,
and then immediately called the police. Doesn't seem
online.
to
You
have
can get
much
'em
time to
online.
go and check the bodies.
Your wife would
But
like
also, we
them,
know the
Jim.
condition of Paul's body was such
You
that it
make
would be
them
readily
go
apparent
online. They're
that
very
his
pretty.
injuries were incompatible.
And I'm not really a
with
big
life.
earring,
So
like long earring fan. I'm more of a like a little stud.
it goes
But
both
those are
ways,
pretty.
and the timeline goes both ways. I think
It's
there's
Mother's
evidence that
Day
he took a
gift.
shower, but when?
Or
But when?
late
But yes,
Valentine's.
that's what we heard from That's what we heard from Blanca, that somebody had showered. The thing is, we don't know if he showered before he left to go to Alameda, or if after law enforcement left that night, he showered and then went to stay elsewhere, because
Which
he
would
did
make
not stay
sense.
at
You would
Moselle
shower
that
after
night.
that, right?
And that it was then seen in the morning that he showered after law enforcement left. It's unclear. It happened at some point. So, except on the 911, he said he had checked them. He did say that. He said a lot of things that aren't true.
I know.
I
And
just don't know if it
my
will be
ears,
enough.
they can't.
The phone and the
if they
Suburban
weigh
are
'em
leaving at
down.
the exact same time. I want to look back
The
at
guns we
Maggie's phone. I'm
cashed
sure
and
it'll
shed
connect
on mom's
here,
property were
but we'll see.
Buster and
I
Randy
think
probably got rid of them.
here's the
Oh,
thing with
T.
this
Jennings, you're
timeline,
right.
from my
T.
perspective.
Jennings knows
If
all
the
the.
jury
I
is
do
inclined
love
to
him
feel
on
that
other
he's guilty,
people's
this
cameras.
timeline will support a
Absolutely.
feeling that he's
I don't know
guilty.
why you're
If the
thinking
jury
we're
is
not
inclined to
showing
think that he is not
content. That's
guilty, this
fine.
timeline will support a belief that he is not guilty. And that is the problem
Should
with
take a
almost
minute.
every piece of evidence in this case. Is
Ooh, I
both of
cannot
them
wait to read
go,
the
almost
Dominion.
everything goes both ways. Truth be
The
told, said
Dominion
seriously, whatever
file.
happened to
Bad
sidebar.
man.
This courtroom is too small for sidebars, and the jury would hear, so they excuse the jury. They've done very few of them, so they excuse the jury to have those conversations outside the presence of the jury.
God, there's
Poot
so much
wanted to have them
goodness
in
there.
the presence of the jury today and was arguing to the jury, which he will have time for in closing arguments, but he's doing it along the way.
Yeah.
Poot got a whole bunch of evidence in today that's not proper evidence, but it's happened on both sides, and it's happened this whole trial. So at this point, I'm flustered with all the attorneys because I'm like, seriously, we're just doing that.
Be quiet.
Shine on Emily working the hell out of this trial. Well, we're invested
Oh,
now,
that's not working.
and it's crazy and it's wild, and we just can't stop. Kate, do we know the time of death? I think there's controversy over the time of death. Nobody asked the medical examiner, because why would you ask the medical examiner the time of death?
I gotta clear out the chat.
Nobody asked the medical examiner the time of death, and we have when the phones stop. It's one of the only arguments so far by the prosecution for me that makes a ton of sense. When the phones going silent makes a ton of sense to me,
Now let's
especially
go
with
back and
regard to
clear.
Paul's phone.
Fuck.
That makes sense. Paul was in the
Okay,
middle
catch
of
up.
active text conversations about not just a movie that he was going to watch with a girl, but
Court's on a
also
break
with
right now. She's going
Rogan
to
Gibson,
over the
his
summary of the
bestie,
morning
about the puppy cash. They were in active communication and in the middle of a text conversation, and then it just goes silent. So,
Where was Alec?
I
at the
think that that's a
time of the
pretty
murder?
good timeline. When Paul's phone goes silent, for me, is the closest
Angry.
to time of death. So within a minute of when Paul's phone locks forever, I think that's when the time of death is. That makes the most sense to me. And that's one of the things that I agree with the prosecution on. A lot of the other stuff, I'm like, I don't know about that. But Paul's phone, the defense is going to try to bring in another explanation for Paul's phone going silent. We've already seen it. The defense has been arguing, yeah, but when your phone's on low battery, don't you just stop using it more? And it seems from Paul's habits, no, he runs it till it dies and then plugs it back in. He doesn't stop using it more. So with that,
Wonder if this
I think the time of deaths are probably right around 8:49
retire. Dude
p.m.
doesn't need.
I think
to
that's.
go
I think
between-
that's.
Oh, I hope
I
he
think that's the most
is able to
reasonable on
kind
the
of
time of death. The
gracefully
defense is going to try to push
get
it back.
through this.
I think.
KMS, I don't know why
So,
you're
8:49 is when the phones are both
so
locked,
weird.
and Maggie's phone is locked.
Anyway.
We've got other things in this case that point towards he had to have known that this happened. The timing from him getting back to the kennels to calling 911 is very, very fast. And he tells 911 that he's checked them, that he's been up to it now, that it's bad.
Right.
We've
That's
seen that.
20 seconds. How can he check the body?
We've
in 20
also
seconds?
seen the interview, all the police interviews where he says that he's never up
KMS.
there.
Your
And
comments
that might
didn't
be
show
what
up
the
on
jury
the
hangs their
chat
hat on,
overlay.
or not.
Yours and TJ's.
There's just
two of your
quite
comments
a
didn't show up
lot
on the chat
there.
overlay, and I didn't really understand
Hillary
why.
says, I'm going to tell
That's
you
all.
anyway, donut
Sorry.
shop
I should
vanilla
have
latte
just
K cup,
explained
so
that.
good. Cheers.
I
I have
tried
a
to
very big
troubleshoot it,
scone
and
here
I
this morning, but it's been
don't
messing
know
on my
what I
fingers.
did. But now you're better.
Ricky said,
Much
y'all
better.
talk about TikTok and surveillance, but the amount of information our phone car track
I
is
just
scary.
want to
Yep.
know.
At this
Can
point, I'm
we put
questioning my
Alec
coffee machine too.
in the
Oh yeah,
kennels at
your
the time
coffee
of the
machine is
murder?
spying on you.
Because his
I
voice
completely agree. I'm
can
not
be
actually being
heard,
facetious. It logs all that
and
stuff if
frankly,
it's
I don't
digitized.
understand
All of our things in our
why
home log
they're
what we
not
do.
talking more about what's
Yes,
his
TikTok
voice
knows a
over the
scary amount
phone or
about us
was
and
he
what's on our phone.
standing there in person, which
But
means he
so do our
pulled the
phones, so do our
trigger.
cars, and so does everything else.
That seems
But
like
this
the
case, I
key
think the GM
question.
data gives both
Am
sides
I
a
wrong?
lot of really powerful evidence in this case.
I know you
And
have to
both
do
sides, I
more
think,
than
will
just
make the
that,
most
but
out of the GM
wouldn't you
data.
start
The
there
fact
as
that
your
GM was
premise,
like, we don't have any of that data,
right?
and then they
Give
do,
me a
is
side
fucking
eye.
wild to me. And
The first time
I
made
think
me
the
like
jury will
things.
see how much
I
the
know,
jury
right? Yeah.
thinks
Side
Alec
eye.
telling two witnesses
Yeah, KMS,
to
I'm good, but I'm not that good.
remember it differently,
I'm
how
not
powerful that
that
is to them,
stealthy.
because that's pretty powerful to me. Does that
Yeah,
mean
I'm
he pulled
definitely
the
not
trigger?
technically good on this one.
Does it mean he's
No, but
involved?
why?
For me,
No,
we've
'cause
gotten to
no, because
there's no
we've
way
said
he's not
very
involved.
terrible things in this chat,
It makes me feel like
and
they're
they all get
involved.
through.
The
Something just
attorneys,
glitched, I
the
think,
attorney's
on my
behavior
streaming
might
software.
push the jury.
That's what I think
The
happened.
attorneys being in
It's
that
been
interview
kinda
with law
glitchy.
enforcement and answering the questions for Alec
I
in
think
a
I
way
need
that
a
you
different
normally only
streaming
see with a
software
proffer.
because
And
this one
then
doesn't
Poot's
allow
behavior
'cause
this
what
morning was
2
almost
things I wanna
defensive.
do. Oh,
It
wait,
was
let me turn you down
very,
a little bit, I'm so
very
sorry.
interesting. And that might also make the jury be like, what the hell are you hiding?
Anyway,
Does Cousin
sorry
Eddie
about
have an
that.
alibi for the
I'm
night
so
Maggie
sorry that
and
when
Paul
we're
were murdered?
competing for
The
your
law
attention.
enforcement said that they
Um,
cleared
so
Cousin
my
Eddie.
restreaming
I've seen
software, I
part of the
think is
police interview
not,
with Cousin
it
Eddie,
doesn't let me do
and he
2
says he
key
has an
things. One
alibi,
is bring the
but
voice
I
Discord, the
don't
voice channel
remember
from the
exactly. It
Discord that
feels
we
like it's
have,
still hanging, doesn't it? One
into
brief matter should
any
be the
live stream, which
documentary
is
name.
something I think I'd really
I
like to
don't.
do so that
Oh,
people could just be on voice only, but still be part of
yes.
the
One
active
brief
live
matter. I
stream.
think the
Wouldn't that be
documentary
fun?
name
Because we do
should
have a
be
Discord server
Bring
that
the
people
Jury
could
or
join
May It Please the
if
Court.
they wanted to be on voice.
Maybe May It Please the Court is the
So
name of
that's
the
one
book
thing that
I will
this
write
software
after
doesn't
this
seem to allow
fucking
me to
trial
do. And
because
then
I
the
have
other
aged
thing is
100
I
years.
can't choose more than
This
one
is wild. And if I
video
write
source to
a book on
share
how to do trial
live stream
advocacy, I
source
will
at a
call it May
time.
It
So
Please the Court. And I
I
will say,
can't show
look,
you her live
the most
stream and
important thing
Court
in
TV's
a
live
trial
stream on the same screen, you know?
ever
And so
is a
this software
clear,
doesn't allow me, even with the
concise
paid version, which is what I have,
narrative,
it doesn't
a
allow me to do
story.
that. So I think I need a different
This is
restreaming,
what
or
the
I think I
evidence
need a
will
different
show,
streaming
story.
software,
And
or
then
to
you
try and
show
figure out
it
OBS, but
with
I'm very
every
not smart about
single
programming.
witness. And that is something that the
But yeah,
prosecution
that's what I wanna
has
do.
not done
So maybe in the
easily.
next couple weeks, I'll figure that
Fancy
out so that people
Pants.
can join the
Hello,
Discord,
Heather
which is
Dubrow. Good to see you in the
free
chat.
and
I
not
don't see
hopefully not
it as
annoying,
them
although
trying to help
KMS, we've
AM
been
cover
notified a
anything up.
couple times.
Why would they let him talk so much? Friends
And
don't
then
let friends
the
talk to the police.
Discord can be
It's
the voice
odd.
thing.
They shouldn't have let him
What is
talk. But
this
it seemed that he
harboring
was
guns?
from that interview where Corey Fleming was there, and Corey Fleming was
No,
like, I
what
don't think
is
we
he
should do this. Alex like,
doing?
I'm
What is
okay.
he involved in
Alex
that
seems like
now
maybe it's
for?
not Bubba that's the
Why? We don't
hard-headed
need
one.
him
Maybe it's
involved
Alec
in
Murdoch
that.
that's the hard-headed one.
I can't
This
take
whole thing
this
reeks of
one.
cronyism. I don't disagree. And old boys club. Dick and Jim
I'm gonna
would have
say
been
this
smart to stay
again.
far, far away, which makes me
This is
wonder
our
why they
World War
didn't.
II,
I
you
think
guys.
they are
This is our
loyal
World
to
War
Alec.
II.
And I think they think the state's overreaching. And I think they have
World
an
War II
argument
got
for
my
places where
father,
the
who
state
was
has
at heart a
overreached.
pacifist,
And that's
because
the
after the
thing.
war, he
It all
really
there's parts
became a
of this where I'm like,
pacifist.
really? Okay. And then there's parts of this where I'm
This
like,
is
ooh, I
our
don't know about this.
fight
I'm so invested in this. I dreamt
against
last night that the
fascism.
judge had to leave because someone threatened
We
his
really
life. And I was like, no, it was chaos. You know that you're too
we
invested
really
in a
need to
case that's
fix
not
this.
your own when you are
We
waking
really
up
do.
in the night thinking about it.
Jan
Hey,
direct
Sunny Girl
messaged
said,
me.
question, how is it legal that Poot and Jim would have been
Oh.
paid for their work on
Oh,
AM's case
okay.
with
Well, you know
stolen money
what,
from
Ted?
AM? Will that have to be untangled? It probably won't be.
Hold on.
There's no bankruptcy. There's no one trying to
Let me just say something about that then, Ted. Jan Forney, or whatever your name is, why don't you come on my show tonight and let's have a little talk about mind control. Bitch, bring it. Bring it. Bring it. I'm so done with these simps, these simpy grannies who are so crusty that they can't even believe their eyes. So you're telling me that Jan Forney is believing Chuck Johnson, who's a fucking Nazi sympathizer, anti-Semite, Matt Gaetz simp, Jan Forney on Twitter is supporting that? Oh, please. Jan, get your head out of your fucking cunt, all right? Pull it out, dust it off, and start again. Tell her, clip this and send it to her, Ted, please. Clip it. Clip the bitch. Come on, Jan, let's have a little conversation. That's a great idea. That's great. That's great. Game on. Game on.
There will still be
I'm
lots of
done with
time
these. I'm
here,
done with the
but
crusty
Monday
cunts.
is our members only live stream. I've
Chuckles
got some
crusties.
additional
I'm done
books
with them.
for those of you that don't know about Linda and her clam. Maybe we'll have to revisit that,
I
but I've got some
don't
additional
deal
books
with
we need to
bananas
visit.
shit
We're going to talk
anymore.
about this case.
Well,
We're going
we
to
all
talk
know
about the
that.
other things going on around the interwebs. Jen
Well
Shaw's going to prison
intentioned,
today.
so
I still don't know
vigilant.
if anybody knows what prison she's turned
Thought
herself into. I would
vigilante.
sure love
Oh,
to
I'm
know.
sorry.
Was it Camp Brian? I'm
Well
curious.
intentioned thought vigilante.
Motion to name the pickle Bubba. Oh, we
You
might need to.
simps.
We
You
might need
fucking
to.
simps. You
Marley Mai, thank you again
fucking
so
simps. Do you
much
see what Chuckles
for the
Johnson is
super
doing
chat.
lately?
I
He's
think
crying because no one will subscribe to his goddamn fucking Nazi Substack. I'm telling you right now. Chuck Johnson is begging for subscribers because what he wants, what he needs to feed his ego is people to listen to his voice. And so he's kind of getting bored with the simps that he's built on Twitter because the same 400 bots show up every night to listen to him rant and rave and opine. Oh, and then there's Dana, that cunt. Anyway, so then, so he's getting so upset that crusty cunts, that's it. He's getting so upset that no one's subscribing to his Substack, and making any money that, and his crusty grannies are just not satisfying him anymore, so Chuckles Johnson on Twitter is begging for people to subscribe to his Substack. But you know what? We're all gonna laugh at you, Chuckles. We're laughing at you because you lose. We win. Are you gagging for relevance, Chuckles? Are you gagging for it? Well, guess what? You're not gonna get it because 'cause you're a fucking anti-Semite, and we stand up to anti-Semites. That's what my father taught me. That's what my father taught me when he was in POW camp in Germany and in Poland. That's what my father taught me, is that you stand up to people. So fuck you, Chuck Johnson. Fuck you. Fuck you, crusty granny simps. Fuck you, Jan Forney. Fuck you, Dana Smith Dutra, or whatever the fuck your name is. Fuck you.
I don't know. But if they are, we will cover them. They will be more concise. But didn't he chat? Let's put it up. I need to put up a poll.
Yes.
Miguelina, poll,
Crusty
please.
cunts and the well-intentioned thought vigilantes.
On the
That's it.
interview yesterday,
You guys are brilliant. You
did
just
Alec Murdoch
crowdsourced the most brilliant
confess to
name.
the financial crimes?
Thank
Yes,
you.
no, kinda.
I'll say them all again.
Is where we're at.
You know what?
Because
Let's
Alex
note the time
said,
because I'm gonna go back this afternoon. I'm gonna clip all of
hey,
this myself.
or Jim
And I'll
said
put
the
it out
gains
as its
are
own little
some
highlight
taking
reel.
money from the law firm.
So let's
They
see.
were talking quite a lot
When
about
did
the
I
financial
start? About
crimes. And it seemed to me like he confessed
1:46, 1 hour,
to a
46
lot of the
minutes in,
financial
she
crimes.
starts her
So
rant.
there might not, once they go to trial on this, those might all just resolve. But Poot really wanted the jury to know, look, he's facing life without parole
I'm
on
not
all the
here
other
for a
cases. You
long
don't
time.
have to convict him of this because he's going to get punished. It was a smart move,
But
and
I'm
it will
here
stick with the
for
jury,
a real
even if the
good
question
time.
didn't get answered. He let the jury know that this man is
And I'm
facing
not-
a lot of time outside this.
I don't
Completely
have
improper.
time to suffer
but
fools.
good for their
I'm
case.
not suffering
and
fools
they're not going to
gladly.
appeal it if they lose, and the state can't appeal it. The state
How
can't appeal
dare
anything
these
Poot
people?
does.
How
Because
dare
if he's
you?
acquitted, the state can't appeal.
How
It's
dare
double
you
jeopardy.
fuck with shit
And
so
if
much?
he loses, the defense isn't going to appeal shit that they did. So it's kind of a no harm, no foul.
Okay, wait.
On the poll, the third option, yes, no,
1:45.
kinda. For those of you that asked, yes, I went and got my nails done yesterday. These were the nails I intended for Valentine's Day, and then I didn't have time to go get them done because of this trial. So that's where we're at. Those are the nails because of Valentine's Day. I hope when this is over, these lawyers watch your videos back. They definitely won't.
Yes, you can. You can do
This whole trial
piano.
has
That's
gone on my nerves. It has.
amazing.
But again, there are things
I have
that
to do.
lawyers
I have
in
to.
other cases
I
that
can
I'm like, why
only
are they doing
sing, and
that?
I can hardly
it
do
works
that. So we're
for
just
their
gonna have to
jury
deal with
that
it. We're just
they're
gonna have to
looking
be
at
kind of the.
in their jurisdiction.
Everybody gets to
So
play band.
if it doesn't annoy the jury, it doesn't matter if it annoys us. His
I do
injuries
like
were
crusty
severe, but he
pants and
could
the
call 911.
well-intentioned thought
Okay.
vigilantes. Wait, I'm gonna
And
write
he
that
made
down,
his
Ted,
injuries
for
seem so
tonight.
severe, or Poot was trying to. But what we got from Alec is,
And I like
hey,
the
I got a
Ks.
flat
I
tire.
think the use of
Somebody
K
stopped
is
to help me
very
to change it.
inspired.
Super nice looking guy. Nice person. They stopped to help. And then somehow they shot me in the head. The 911 call was not a, holy shit, I've been shot in the head. The 911 call was, I have a flat tire. And oh, by the way. So. Shore Life Creations, it's my birthday. Can they put that into evidence? Yes.
I feel like
We've noted it for the record. Shore Life Creation. Happy birthday.
Am I the
Discussed it
drama?
with
I
Dick and
gotta
Jim.
make
Everything
sure I
feels corrupt
remember
now.
Ted
It was an odd choice in the cross
started
examination
us
this
on
morning.
that one, and TJ and
Laura said,
Cameron.
your sarcasm is why I'm a member and love your channel so much. I got the belly giggles from your reaction. Best
Breathe.
start to a Friday. Thank you so much. I'm
not going to
so
go down quietly. I'll
done
tell
with
you
some of
that.
the
It'll be
just-
annoying.
And it's both
It won't be
sides, which is
quiet.
why I'm done with Creighton too. What are we doing?
Thank you for
even?
telling me that,
This
Ted,
is a
because I
murder
need
trial.
that kind of.
How are we just
I need
doing a
the
murder
inspiration.
trial? With
It's
like
hard to
whatever,
not be on
whatever.
Twitter and not see the fuckery.
He showed at the cottage next to
Oh,
the
it's on the
kennels.
Masto?
It looked
Okay.
like he was showing at the outbuildings,
Oh, my
but they
glasses
didn't. They didn't get into it much.
This is kind of a long break.
Might be coming back. I'm hearing white noise, which means they've turned the. I'm turning it down so the bailiff doesn't scare the shit out of us again. Finally listened to the Mandy Matney podcast. Well-researched and intriguing insight. Amazing listen. I think it's a great podcast. Mandy Matney's podcast has a particular perspective. She does not say that it is neutral reporting. It is not. But I think it is well-researched. But she definitely has a position
I'm
in that
going to clip
podcast.
it, Badger.
I think it's
No
a good listen.
worries.
But
I'm
if you're
gonna
looking
clip
for
it.
neutral,
Oh my God, she's a classical pianist,
or
Jim.
two-sided, that is not what you're going to get on the Murdaugh Murders podcast. But it is very well-researched. And I like it.
It
Because
will
I'm able to
never
separate
be
the
an
two.
escalation, Ted.
Good morning
It will
from NT,
never
daily
be an
500
escalation.
insanity. It's the car race, right?
Yes, sir.
The Indy 500 is
I
happening.
talked to Mr. Waters. He thinks he's probably going to go close to lunch. I think it's right. I mean, I'm just guessing. And then we probably got 2 hours across on this witness.
2 hours across on this witness.
We've got short witnesses, we've got some long witnesses we can bring once they rest. We've got a motion for directed verdict, which I don't think will take that long.
It won't take that long. You're right. Well done, Dick.
I mean, I don't want to start a witness today.
She would
and
like to
finish them on
talk about
Tuesday,
Mean
if
Girls.
it's a long
Is that what
witness.
she would like to
So,
discuss? I
that's-
need
tell
Jan's
maybe
fucking
some
ass on my show.
30-minute,
All right, that
40-minute
bitch needs to get her
witnesses be here
fucking
back.
ass on my show.
Just
They're
don't
working
want
on
the court to
scheduling.
Sit here or have to go home without maximizing use of your time.
Well, certainly, I do not like a witness to be on the stand over
She's
the
out of
weekend
control.
because we end
Fuck
up
Jan. Fuck Jan, Ted. Fuck Jan.
starting back at the beginning.
Tell her I said so. The
Pardon?
Lolo who?
3-day weekend, it's not just a weekend. I mean, it's-
I'll say me.
Where?
You know, we have to be flexible. I don't know how long all this is going to go. Is this your last witness, Mr. Waters?
Barring some need for an audible, yes,
Shame
sir.
on Jan. Shame on Jan and all like her. Shame on them.
Last
You should be ready to do
Witness!
some
All the real
witnesses
heroes
today,
in
I
this
would think.
country,
Yeah.
all the
I'm
real
assuming
heroes in
the,
this country, like my father
The case proceeds
spit
beyond
on
directed
her.
verdict.
and her fucking simpism.
Last witness. Last witness.
You know,
You kiss my
I think
ass.
you answered- You don't want to start a 3 or 4 hour witness this afternoon.
not at all.
Yeah, okay, well, that answers the question.
Neither
It
do
may
we.
come up a little bit short, sort of hard to gauge, but we've got some relatively short witnesses, and then we've got rather long witnesses.
I understand.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Wait, so
I want to put on the record that I received a note from
Oh, fuck.
the jury after returning from lunch yesterday. The jury somehow thought that they would elect their own foreperson. And asked me if they, whether there's a reason for
Oh, that's
appointing
why you put it
someone
on the
else,
record.
or if we could keep the same foreperson. I don't know who gave them
Nazis are bad.
the notion that they would select their own foreperson. And I know, as I told them, that it's done differently in different places.
He did tell them
I
that.
appoint 4 persons, and
Your Honor,
I
that's
did
what they
not
see on
change.
TV.
I did not accede to them saying we already have a 4-person.
The judge is like, no, no.
That was the reason I gave an explanation right after lunch, explaining to them that the fact that you are a 4-person doesn't give you any more authority than any other juror.
It's true.
So, but I want to make this note a part of the record.
If I could also, if we conclude this witness, and obviously I would request at the conclusion of that witness that there be at least a brief recess just to do an exhibit check and any housekeeping, if we are going to rest at that time, if I could have an opportunity quickly to do that outside of the presence of the jury.
Okay.
2 short witnesses, it sounds like, at best, this afternoon. Thank you, Your Honor.
Very good.
I do
Bring the
appreciate
jury.
that. Bring the jury. I do appreciate that Dick's always
Yes,
looking for a
please do
break.
that. Please go and
Dick's like,
invoke some
can we end
well-intentioned
now?
thought.
Can we stop early? Can we
Something.
do this? I'm here for it.
Thought
These days have
policeman?
been long.
Is that
I've been
what
tired
was
too.
it?
I'm not
Vigilantism?
throwing any shade at Dick when he's just like, hey,
Vigilant.
can
Be
we be
vigilant
done?
on the
Sure.
thoughtfulness
He's trying to
front
schedule witnesses.
and with
It is a
well-intentioned.
very fair point that you
Yes,
don't want
do
a
that.
very important witness
Do that, Ted.
on the stand
Have
over
a
a
good
3-day
day.
weekend
Have a great
because
day.
they will have
I'll
to
see you
start
probably tonight
over.
if I can see you.
With that, it'll be very interesting. Dick's ready for the 3-day weekend. He's tired. He's ready to get into their case in chief, and he's just kind of done. So we've got the jury coming in. We are on the prosecution's last witness, barring the need to call an audible, which is what Creighton Waters said. And we thought this would be it. So for all of you that voted that we live here now, it looks like we'll be done on Friday.
Hold on.
Very interesting. I wonder if Dick is telling the family members they're going to testify today, because we see Dick just talked to John Marvin and is now talking to Buster in court. I wonder if those will be the witnesses that they will start with. If I'm the jury, I definitely want to hear from Buster.
May it please the court, Your Honor.
But we're hearing 2 hours of cross-examination
All right,
on this witness.
Special Agent Rudolsky, we just finished with the
Back to the timeline, folks. Back to the timeline.
524. And
Remember,
again,
the defense has a
just
week
to remind the
of their
jury,
case.
prepared, 2 timelines. One is 520, which is the big one, correct?
That's correct.
With a more expansive timeline relevant to June 7th, correct?
That's correct.
And surrounding days, correct?
This got hard to hear.
And then
Hold on.
this
Oh,
one,
I
which
turned
is
it down.
519, which is a condensed version of this that focuses just
Good job,
on
Emily.
the hours, the evening hours of the day of the murder.
I'm sure
correct?
Pooh
That
will
is
throw his
correct.
papers at least one more
At
time.
this time, I'm going to publish 519 to the jury, and let's discuss it.
He explained to the jury yesterday why he picked their 4-person. They definitely wanted to pick their own. They had kind of already seen.
It goes through a strobe part if I change lights. So sorry about
There
that.
we are. Is Dick still up talking to Buster while
I think
court is
the judge
resumed?
is good,
'Cause
but
he's
I don't know,
noticeably absent
Jim.
from
I
his
don't know
chair,
what I'm talking
and he was
about.
talking to Buster. If so, that's
All
tremendously
right.
rude.
I don't get
just
this.
real quick, I want to
Look, a reference guide.
go through this opening page.
Condensed-
And this is a condensed one,
I'd
519,
sure
is
be
that correct?
bored if-
Timeline.
That is correct.
Fuck if I and hard to
And
follow.
Has your name on it,
If I were a
correct?
juror.
That's correct.
All right, and then we have a reference guide right here. And if
I
you
wouldn't
would
have
just,
Emily to tell me what to think.
explain just some of the various sources of information that have been admitted before this jury that you ultimately synthesize into this summary timeline.
Okay. What we have here is we're going to have cell Cellbrite extraction report. It's going to be for Paul Murdaugh, which as you go through this timeline, PM is going to refer to Paul Murdaugh. We're going to have AM, which is going to be Alex Murdaugh's cell phone extraction, and then MM, which is going to be Maggie Murdaugh. So anytime you see the abbreviations, that's what it's going to refer to. We have their cell phone extractions here. We also have the FBI telemetry report. We have the FBI CAS data. We also have different reports from the phones, like the Axiom reports. We have an ALPR report in here, which is actually probably not in the condensed one.
I will have to walk
That's
the
going to
dog.
be automated
soon,
license plate
so.
reader data for Maggie Murdaugh's Mercedes. We're also going to have some Snapchat data and then data from Rogan Gibson, Paul Murdaugh, Alex Murdaugh, Maggie Murdaugh, and Buster Murdaugh's CDRs, which is the call data records from Verizon.
Let me pause you real quick. So we have extractions. Tell the difference to the jury, and I don't mean to point out what the
Oh
state.
yeah, I think we've named this witness Data
between,
Daddy.
an extraction
'Cause-
and then
'cause
CDRs
chat
or
be
cell
like
data
that.
records, please.
So the extraction is going to be what, like Britt Dove testified, what he actually extract out of the phone. And then the CDRs is going to be what Verizon testified, which is going to be their records of phone calls and text messages. So two separate data sources from two separate entities.
If Dick left with a phone in his hand, he's probably organizing witnesses, which makes sense.
We have referenced here a couple different, like Knowledge C database. That's kind of like the Axiom database. It's just another database that was, records were provided to me from. We also have a PMPED building access log. And then in the big
The swipe
timeline, we
card.
have the 911 recordings. And then just want to point out a Dylan Hightower extraction. That would have been the first phone extraction of Alex's phone 2 days after the 7th. And then we have the GM OnStar data.
Chat, y'all make me laugh. Because chat is Bay.
All right, and then down at the bottom here, we have
the
some
Daytona
color-coded
500.
things on the left of the screen, and then a
Wrong
box on
car
the
race
right. So
thingy.
quickly explain to the jury.
Apologies, car
what
racy
those,
fans.
Reference points
I also
mean,
mess up
please.
sports
On
ball.
the right of the screen, you're going to see the 2021 Suburban log file excerpt. Forkowski from FBI had that Excel sheet with all the different colors and everything. This is going to be a reference guide, so when you're going through this, what the colors actually mean on the data.
All right,
And
give an
then,
example of what you mean by that.
so you're going to see kind of that reddish, pinkish color. That's going to mean that the infotainment center is booting up. So when we go through this timeline, you're going to see
I
that
love the
data
different
section
colors.
highlighted with that color. That's what you'll know is happening with the data. If you see pink, it's going to be a propulsion. When you see blue, it means that it's either in and out of park. And that's kind of just how we're going to be reading it as we go along the timeline.
All right, and then these addresses have colors over here, and just, we don't have to go through every one, but the first one, that red one, what one is that?
4147 Moselle Road.
All right, so if we see that little red box
Hey,
with an arrow on it, that's Roselle on the map.
Summer.
And then the green is what?
It's going to be Almeda, the Almeda property.
We'll talk
Oh,
about the
Summer,
others as we go through.
my lovely Summer.
right.
I've been sending you quite the big hugs,
All right,
but
let's start
they've been
moving
all
through it.
virtual. I apologize, but I do send you big hugs, my love. I really, really, really do.
Give me
I
one
really do.
second.
No, go back to
Hang
that.
in there. I mean, you're a champ, but it does
All right,
not go unnoticed.
Starting, all right, so this timeline, this condensed timeline begins roughly when?
It does
around
not
6
also
p.m.
go
What day?
unreported, darling.
June 7th, 2021.
Sometimes reports are
And,
made and they're just
let's
made
start at 6:04. I want to
anonymously.
move through this expeditiously. and we'll
Yes, I
stop
know.
And talk about some specific
That's
entries as we go
right.
through, okay?
I know. I bet. I imagine you are used
So
to
starting
it.
there at 6:04, does Paul Murdoch have any phone activity?
He does, he
But you're
calls Will
handling it
Loving.
so well.
And as you can see in the parentheses, it's going to say PM
hats off.
extraction. That means it was pulled off of Paul Murdaugh's phone extraction.
There you go.
Just for reference.
You've got
So
friends.
at the
you're
end,
saying.
it says
Will
PM
Loving,
for
that's the
the
individual that
time,
testified.
We see you.
and then it
Weeks
says
ago.
where it's
That is
from.
correct.
And
down here.
6:08, what activity we see on Paul's
But
phone?
meanwhile,
He makes
this
an
guy
outgoing
killed his
call
almost
to
his
Dad,
whole
which is
fucking
identified
family.
as
Summer,
Alex
Jesus
Murdaugh.
Christ on a
It shows
cracker!
answered, but,
I do
1 second.
declare, he killed his
And what
whole
was the source of that
entire
information?
family.
That was
And
from
half the
Paul
county.
Murdaugh's phone extraction. It does not show up in Alex Murdaugh's original logical dump or the second one from Britt Dove, but it does show up on his CDRs from Verizon. So that'd be the records that Verizon actually keeps for the phone.
All right, and can a user of a phone affect the CDRs that are with the Verizon phone company?
And
Can the user
Summer,
affect what data remains on their
consider
phone?
those who are
And frequently throughout
allowing
this timeline,
themselves
we
to
see
be either
instances in
manipulated
which
or
there
being
was a call logged on the
manipulative.
on Alec
Consider who
Murdoch's
they are
CDRs,
as
but was
individuals, and that
missing
they are so
from his phone
far,
from the
far,
extraction.
That
far
is correct.
beneath you.
Don't leave
It is not even worthy of
Can you
your
explain any difference between the CDRs as it relates to Alec
He can't
Murdoch's
even
phone
help
say
it.
that
and
yet again.
whether
He's
or
so
not
Judge me
there's
by
any
my
missing call
enemies.
logs on the extraction from his phone?
Judge
As we go
me
through this
by
extraction,
my
you're going to see
enemies.
that multiple instances, we're going to have calls showing on Alex Murdaugh's CDRs that are not, that we could not find on the logical extraction or the Brit Dove full
think,
extraction of
I
Alex's
think,
phone. And that's going to be notated on the bottom if
Roosevelt
if
said
it was
that.
not
I think
in the
FDR
extraction.
said that.
All right. 6:09:48.
Judge
Do we
me
have
by
any
my enemies.
communications, on
It's a
Maggie's
very
side?
powerful saying.
This is going to be a iMessage from Maggie Murdaugh to Paul
reason I
Murdaugh
haven't
stating,
switched
"You okay
feeds
getting little foot massage? Then I'm heading home."
is
And that was
because
obtained from
the
Maggie
logo
Murdaugh
for
and
Long
Paul
Crime
Murdaugh's
blocks some of the
phone
text.
extractions.
And I don't want to block any of the
6:10:01, going
text.
to the bottom of
Annoys me.
Yeah, don't
this page, that being page number 2.
Their
Is
logo in the
there
bottom corner
another
blocks the
message
text.
from Maggie to Paul Murdaugh?
Beetlejuice
This is also going to be iMessage to Paul
We
stating,
don't want to
"Love you
draw any
and Blanca cooked you
Beetlejuices in
dinner."
here. We've got a
Moving on to
nice
page
clean
3.
lounge. We've got a clean lounge.
And what does this reflect right here?
This is going to be from FBI agent Matt Wild.
We don't
This is
need
gonna be
that
from his
trash
report.
mentioned in
This is
here.
for
Any
Paul
trash
Murdaugh. You're going to
mentioned.
We
identify
finally
the
get
by
the
right
name.
shaded
hand
areas
corner
of the
where it says
towers.
Paul.
We can
Just
allude
for
to them,
reference,
but we
anytime you see a
don't
map,
give
if
them by
you look on the
name.
right-hand corner, it's going to tell you whose map that is for.
All right. And just generally remind the jury what this map reflects, please.
This is just showing generally
That it
where
is what
the
it
cell
is,
towers
yeah.
are located and where
It really
the
is,
area,
Plumber. You really
whenever,
can't. And they're just, this
like a
isn't
phone
even
call or
about
text
believing
message,
anything.
where it
It's
was
just about
pinging during that
engaging
time for
and
Paul.
eating
And these little
eating
red
blood in the
things
water.
right here
That's
with
what
the
it is.
angles on it, what do those reflect?
That's so
That's
below
going
us.
to be where the cell tower is and what
Untoward.
angle.
Means
This
you have
particular
nothing
exhibit's
in
a
your
little
life
blurry
except
for
for
me.
the
Take place
pain
from.
that you want to cause other
Down at the
people. And
bottom,
I
what's the first time
literally have
reported
no
for
time for
Paul's cell
that.
phone
She
as
did
a
get a
Literally.
mani-pedi. Blanca
Do
testified
whatever
that
you
she
need.
got
Oh, no, you don't have to be
Six,
sorry at
emails
all.
that day.
Describe to the
None of
jury
you. No one has
generally,
to be sorry.
where these cell towers reflect
Ever.
Paul's
Doris,
phone.
Ever. I
no.
want you to be
Alec
able
So
to
if
come
you
here
didn't
and
delete
say what
things
you
until
need to say.
later.
Beaufort area
Hell
down
yeah, I just don't
right-hand
want
side,
them to-
moving up
We'll talk about
towards
the
Moselle,
deleting
which
They
stuff
don't
on the phone.
deserve
I don't
that.
think
They
far
don't
right
deserve to be
I don't
corner.
think it's a big deal.
That little
And I'll
That's
talk
where I
about why.
really feel.
badge-looking red dot.
I don't want
Up
them
here at
to
the
be
top center,
named.
what is that
I don't
right
want them to
there?
give, I don't, they
That's
don't.
going to be
don't
an
need
arc.
that.
It's just a distance arc.
That's
The red
almost
dot,
too
what
much.
is that?
The red dot, that's going to
Grace.
be 4147 Moselle Road.
These are cell
And
towers.
And we all
what
know I am
times
not very
does
full of
Paul's
grace when it comes to
phone
people who are
ping off any cell
shitheads.
tower near Moselle?
I have a problem with shitheads. Anyway, you are
6:53
welcome.
PM,
Max, I love you so much.
7:05, and
Yeah, I saw you
7:30.
So these are
defending
Paul
and
Murdaugh's
getting in
cell
there,
phone
See
so-
a
pings.
3 right there, is that
Good job.
refer, or does it, what does that 3 refer to as it relates to that cell tower
yes.
location
I
near
adore you
Moselle?
guys.
He
Just gonna show
recorrected
you
the
what
leading
side of
question.
the cell tower it's on, what arc.
And what time does it first ping on?
And you know, it will
So
come.
from
It will
6:53
come.
to 7:30,
I'm
Paul's
not
at
going to be.
Moselle
This
clearly.
this room will not be
7:05, 33
immune to the boredom of others. Let me put it that way.
So Paul
This
gets
room
back
will
to
become a
Moselle
target
like
at some point in
6:30,
time.
7:05.
All right, moving to,
C'est la
continue on
vie,
page
c'est la
3.
guerre,
We have
c'est la
a
guerre.
time reference at
C'est
6:20:53.
la
Can you explain to the jury what, if anything,
but
that
yeah, no, this
indicates?
room will be a
He said what, if
target,
anything,
but
he sure
that's
did.
okay. It's
We
fine.
have Maggie Murdaugh. She received a phone call from
Shit
Proctor
happens.
Marion. That's how it showed up in her
We
phone.
persevere.
Through the
And
phone
I have
number is actually Marion
perseverance.
Proctor. That's how
Tattooed
it
on the back of
relays
my
the phone.
shoulder kind
It
of
shows
thing.
rejected.
All right, and
Perseverance is
after
one of my
that, what
favorite
if any
words.
communications were there?
It means to walk
Right after that,
in.
at 6:21:28,
continual
Maggie
grace
Murdaugh
or
sends a
something,
text
I don't know.
message to Marion stating,
Some definition.
"Can't talk, getting
I'm sorry,
foot
I won't
massage.
talk anymore.
We'll call you back."
Foot
That's
massage.
from her
She was still getting her
phone
nails
extract.
done. At
Oh, no,
6:21 to
that's
6:23,
fine.
are
Ted,
there
don't
any
worry.
communications with Maggie and
I
Paul?
know. I say
There are.
names. I just
Paul
said a
sends
bunch of
message
names.
to his mom at 6:23:27.
There's a couple pieces
stating,
of trash
"What
I
did
would
she
like to
make?"
come in
What's for
here.
dinner?
And then Maggie
There's other
replies
pieces
back
of
shortly
trash
after
we
saying,
would all
"Country
prefer
fried
to
steak
stay
and mac
out.
and cheese."
I
That's
need
all.
someone to make me
Below that,
country
we
fried
have
steak and mac and
a
cheese,
orange and blue
please.
box.
So you know
What
what?
does that
Trash
represent?
makes its way
So this is
here.
going to be from
That-
the FBI telemetry data from
That's
that
right.
Excel
I
spreadsheet that's
can't
ready into
understand.
evidence. And this
Chances
is just showing with that
that I
color
end up
coordination
finding
I talked
country
about
fried steak
earlier.
for dinner this
The orange
weekend.
is going to show
Intellectual.
system startup.
Intellectual
And
weaponry.
from previous testimony, that could be,
Oh,
you
great
know, unlocking a
pivot.
car, locking it,
That's
getting in
great
close
pivot.
range with the key
That's
fob,
what
opening
you
up the
fix
rear
that.
hatch. Just something
I
that
shall
makes,
hit you with
you
my
know,
cattle
when you get in your
rasp.
car, you kind of hear that noise before you start it up, the telemetry. It's just its inner workings,
It's all good.
you know,
It's a
anything
short
could
trip
really
around
cause
the
it.
marble. Make it count.
Well, I'm
folks.
asking you, going back to that map, the incident location
Make
at
it count.
Moselle where Paul and Maggie were found murdered,
Yep.
what county is that in?
That's gonna be Colleton County.
Do good.
Blanca
Get
did say
high.
green
if you look,
beans.
you know, we
I
have
don't
the
think they were
pink.
telling Paul
Do
that.
good.
Gonna
Get
kinda
high,
show
laugh
propulsion,
often.
and then blue, which is gonna show some kind of shift
Sorry.
in the vehicle.
We're
She
trying to
definitely
pay
wasn't
attention to this
selling the
very
dinner with the
important
green beans.
Down at the
timeline.
bottom, 624, what is that?
624 too, that shows from the FBI report, telemetry report that,
Yeah,
the
Blanca
Suburban
didn't
shows
say
a
she made
device
country fried
connection.
steak and mac and cheese.
That would be Alan
Bluetooth.
Murdoch's phone?
That'd be correct.
Blanca said she made something different. Chat, I'll let you
Moving
describe
on
country
to
fried steak.
6:24 PM. Is there any data points as it relates to the defendant's Suburban?
It is. We have one at 6/24/18, around the PMPED law firm,
All right, and what time is that? No, 6:24?
6/24/18,
Hate
correct.
winter
And
dry
that map
skin.
there,
Those
is
that
that
don't know what
a
country
data
fried
point
steak
from
is,
the CAS
these are not
data
health foods
that
we're
you just
discussing.
explained to the jury?
That is correct.
Moving down,
I'm
we have
actually
some
glad
various
you both
messages
came,
from some
Summer
of the
and
individuals.
Max.
Is
Look
that
how
right?
Max, you
helpful.
know
We
what
do.
I was talking about earlier. I
We
hope
have
you heard me
Alex
say
Murdaugh receiving a phone call
how
from
sorry
Jay
I am and how much I
Parker
love
at
you.
6:25.
And then
6:27,
Summer, I'm
Paul
glad you came
is
in too,
sending a
because I
message to
didn't feel like
Britt
I could say
saying maybe
much in
Saturday.
chat, or else it would have just
He
detracted from
calls
what was
Robert
going
Boyle
on. So I
shortly
didn't want
after,
to be a
and then
distraction,
at
but or
8:38
whatever.
PM, Rogan calls
But I
Marion
just wanted to
Dempsey.
let you know that I saw what was happening, and I reported
And
some
to
stuff.
your
Poor Rogan.
recollection,
Rogan's like,
what
leave
is
me
I
the
don't
out
know,
of the
it's gonna
timeline
help,
until
but
I'm
you
just
never know.
texting Paul.
Leaves it
You never know.
girlfriend
Don't
for
put it
a
all
time.
on. Don't
So
put it
I'm
all
sorry.
on blast.
Moving on to page 5.
So I'm
Oh,
really
that's right.
glad you
Plug
both
it and
here.
say
What does
hamburger
this
steak,
map
cube
represent?
steak,
Where's
and
it
gravy.
from, this map?
And
This
Max,
is
I
gonna
hope
be from
your
Matt
your
Weil
other
from
friend
FBI. This is
is
directly from his report.
able
And
to
what
get
phone does this
support and
map
help during a
reflect?
time
Top
that's
right,
really,
it's
really
going to say Alex
amazingly
Murdaugh with
difficult.
Associated Cell
So.
Phone.
All right, and then there's a box
Oh,
below that.
good. I
Explain to the
appreciate
jury
you too,
again what
Summer.
that
I
box
really do.
represents.
I don't
So the
say it
box
enough,
below that, that's going to represent all
but
the times that
and
the pings were
I just want you to
logged
know that.
that Matt Wild actually put in the report.
And then the black circle with the angle in the middle, what is that?
Cell
That's going
tower.
to show you the cell tower and then
No,
the kind of
you're
angle
not.
that
You're not going
the calls or
anywhere.
texts would have been in.
They can go
What
places.
property is
They
in
can go wherever they
the
want.
sector of that cell tower?
Freedom.
4147 Moselle
Mm-hmm.
Road, and it's identified by that red.
It shall
All of the
pass.
lawnmowers
That's
are gonna
right.
end up at
They'll get
Cracker Barrel
bored. They'll
this
move on to
weekend.
something else.
On
They're starting to
here,
eat
this
each
box
other,
with
right?
times,
Summer, they're going to
there
eat
are
each other.
times of
Don't
what
worry
again?
about it. They do it
There's
all the
been times
time.
of
They'll eventually
activity,
start eating each other
that-
again.
That would send to a cell
Right
tower.
now they're on a
that
high.
They would
'Cause
have
they're all friends again.
data
But
on.
soon they'll be enemies.
In
and
the
it'll
6
all
o'clock
be
hour, what is
another
the
story, and
latest
they'll be on
time
to someone
period that
else.
you see?
Me, maybe. I don't know. You know.
Reflecting activity?
6:52
I got lots of
PM.
fodder. I got lots of
Then
fodder
after
for
that,
you.
what's the next time period that you've seen reflecting activity?
The next time showing on the map is going to be 9:04:24
And the
PM.
jury has
All right, I think
seen-
Cell
my
phone
dog is
reflect
about to
any
tell me
activity
he
The jury
wants
has
his
seen
morning
some of these cell phone charts
constitutional,
already.
so I may have to
6:52
disappear
and
for it while I
9:09.
I find
take
the
the old
time on
dog
it,
out,
type that timeline very helpful.
even though
That
he's
is
going to hate
correct.
every minute of this walk.
Y'all, I had never been to a Cracker Barrel until I moved. There are not Cracker Barrels near where I lived in Southern
I
California.
do like the hash
All right,
browns
6
at Cracker
Not a
Barrel,
problem
I'm
with
not
that.
going to lie.
Activity, if any, is reflected.
I like the hash
Paul
browns.
calls, it's going to show up as PA in the extraction, which is Alex Murdaugh based on the phone
Fuck
number.
yeah.
It shows it was answered, it was 2 minutes and 29 seconds long.
I like
This
how they're
call also
showing
does not show up
where the
in
calls
phone extractions
pinged,
for Alex Murdaugh,
and
just on his
then-
CDRs.
It was in the defendant's CDRs?
That is correct.
All right.
I like
The
showing where
cats
the
was
are
also-
calls
waiting. The cat's
pinged
waiting
and then
It
to
was
come
also
down the
overlaying
hallway
what
for the
the calls
dog to
were.
come out. It's almost like, you know, a
Very,
processional.
very-
6:42.
Or like when Joe Biden or the
and,
president
what
enters
if anything's
Congress for
reflected?
the State of the
We have
Union and all the
a
Congress
suburban
people are
device
standing over,
connection
you know,
to
hey,
iPhone
Joe, hey,
from the
Joe.
F-port at
Which cats do they
6:42:48.
kinda hang over
and at
waiting for the dog to
6:42:54,
pass?
We show the Suburban arrives at 4147 Moselle Road
Let me
based on
do
the
my
GM OnStar data.
Dog walking caption.
All right, and going on to page 6, is that the, your CAS map reflecting that data point you just described?
That's correct. It's going to be the 6:42:54 data point.
And what happens at that moment?
That's when Alex Murdaugh is going to arrive back from the PMPED law firm from work that day.
All right, moving on. 6:43:50, what if any activity do you see?
It shows that Maggie Murdaugh's phone had a missed call from PA, which is Alex Murdaugh. It shows missed, but also it shows up in Alex Murdaugh's CDRs, but does not show up in either one of the phone extractions.
Oh, y'all, I'll be back in
And
1
moving
minute.
on, we have a couple of the orange and white boxes. Tell the jury again what those reflect.
So these are just going to reflect some kind of system boot up. Doesn't mean the car moved or did anything. It just means that door was opened. It just something triggered the car to kind of do a little internal boot up from previous testimony.
It's 6:53:44, what if any activity do you see?
Paul Murdaugh calls John Marvin. It shows 1 minute and 42 seconds long, and that's based off of Paul's phone extraction.
To your understanding, when you see those times of the call lengths, does that also include connection time as well?
It does, based on previous testimony from Verizon, that could include how long it takes to, to get the actual network connected.
And then at the 7 o'clock hour, what if any communications are on Paul?
So Paul sends a text message to Claude CB Rowe saying, "Are you coming tomorrow?" And then shortly after, he sends another text saying, "Sunflowers died. We need to plow them under ASAP." And that was based off his phone extraction.
Moving on now to page 7. Do we have some activity at 7:02:29?
We do. Maggie Murdaugh calls Alex Murdaugh. It shows 2 seconds, and this also does not show on Alex Murdaugh's extraction. It shows on the CDRs, and it also shows on Maggie's phone that Maggie called Alex, but does not show on Alex's phone that that call was there.
Missing from his phone, though, correct?
That is correct.
All right.
Missing in the call log of the phone.
All right, 7:03 to 7:11. What, if anything, is reflected on Alex's phone?
His phone's showing approximately 165 steps taken during that time frame.
And then what happens at 7:04?
704, through the catch data database, it shows that Paul Murdaugh is at the residence of 4147 Moselle Road.
Does Maggie's phone reflect any activity as we move on 7:04 time period?
Her phone showed that between 704 and 817, her phone was, showed a Bluetooth connection to MBUX 95224, which is her Mercedes-Benz.
And so anytime we see MBUX 95224, what, if anything, does that represent?
That's going to reflect her Mercedes-Benz.
MB for Mercedes-Benz?
That is correct.
All right. Moving on, at 7:05, does Maggie call anyone?
She does. She calls Marion at 7:05:13. It shows answered 7 seconds.
At 7:05:55, is there any reflection of the communication between Alec and Maggie Murdaugh?
There is. Alex sends a message to, in his phone, it's Maggie May, stating, "Paul said you were getting a petty. Call when you done." That's from the Alex. That's from the extraction.
Moving on, do we have any communications between Maggie and Paul during this time period?
At 7:05:32, we have Maggie calling Paul. It shows answered 1 minute and 31 seconds.
And then does Maggie attempt to call Marion again?
That is correct.
And I'm sorry, that would be at the bottom of the screen.
Yep, that'd be the 7:07:49. Maggie Murdaugh calls Marion. And when it says Marion, it's Marion Proctor.
All right, moving on to page 8, another map. Can you generally explain what this represents to the jury, please?
So in the top right-hand corner, we have Maggie Murdaugh with associated phone number. We have 2 points, 4147 Moselle Road in the red, and the green's going to be the Almeida property. When you're looking at this map, number 1's going to be closer to Charleston, and it's working its way. Maggie is working her way towards Moselle in this map.
All right, and the first time period you see on dot number that's numbered 1?
It's going to be 7:07:49
And
p.m.
the latest time period you see on the dot that's numbered 5?
That is correct. That's going to be in the Walterboro area. It's going to be 7:50:20. 7:50:20 is going to be the latest dot, and that's in the Walterboro area.
All right, moving on, looking down at 7:09:43, what, if any, activity do we see on his phone?
Maggie calls her mom. It shows answered 8 minutes and 17 seconds long.
Would that be Ms. Brandstetter?
That is correct.
We have an orange box. Tell the jury that quickly, please.
So that's just showing a system boot up. Could have been getting close to the Suburban, unlocking it, locking it, opening up a door, or it could just be some kind of internal components based on previous testimony from the FBI.
After that, we have 2 entries. Can you tell the jury what those 2 entries are, the time periods, and what they represent, please?
Yep. So the next 2 entries are going to be 7:14:30 to 7:22:19, It's going to be Paul Murdaugh's iPhone showing approximately 208 steps traveled during that time
I know,
period.
y'all. I missed all the good
And the
stuff.
one below it's going to be 7:15:35
I know.
to 7:21:52. This is going to be from Alex's phone, showing that approximately
The whole long
200
story.
steps were taken during that time frame. So we have 208 steps taken from Paul during his time frame, and then Alex is around 200 steps traveled.
And both those time periods for those steps for Alec and Paul, are those generally roughly the same?
Generally the same.
Consistent?
That's correct.
The footsteps being at the same time are
7:18:44,
consistent
what
with
if
them
any
rolling around
activity do you
together.
see?
Alex Murdaugh sends a text message to CB Rowe saying, "Call me, please."
Going now to page 9, at the top, those two entries, again, explain those two entries to the jury.
So the first entry is going to be Paul Murdaugh's iPhone from 7:25:03 to 7:34:47, and it's showing 139 steps taken during that time period. It's approximate. 7:28:35 to 7:37:11 is going to be Alex Murdaugh's iPhone showing approximately 47
Y'all,
steps
what we're
traveled
doing the
during that
exhibit is,
time
I'm going to
period.
leave me down here so it's smaller.
All right, 7:30
So you guys
PM, we
can
have
see the
another
exhibit is
data
nice and
point
big.
indicating Maggie's trip home to Moselle.
That is correct.
Because when I do this, we lose the
All
exhibit.
right, we got another map. Tell the jury what this one is, please.
I think that's
This
better.
map's just that, her phone was pinging at starting at 7:30.
Whose phone is this
This is
again?
going to be Paul, I'm sorry, Paul Murdaugh. It's going to be the right-hand
I
corner.
trust y'all.
So say Paul Murdaugh with
I
the
trust
phone
y'all.
number on top. This is just showing where his phone was pinging on June 7, 2021, starting at 7:30, and then all the way to 8:40 PM.
My kids don't have school
All
today,
right,
so
we
I
see,
needed a
two
second.
cell towers there and then some arcs. Where do those arcs intersect?
The arcs intersect close to the property at Moselle Road.
Yeah, Alex definitely
If you
not
would,
napping at
just
this
tell the
point.
jury the earliest time that's reflected here and the latest time that's reflected here.
The earliest time reflected is going to be 7:30:05, and the latest time reflected is going to be 7:40:21 PM on June 7, 2021.
So Paul's phone is at the Moselle location according to this data.
That is correct.
All right.
I find this little summary at the bottom under
Bottom
the
of
maps
page
to be
9.
very helpful.
Do we have any communications between Maggie and Mary and Proctor?
We do at 7:31:13 PM.
He doesn't have to ask it
we
that
show
way.
a
He
call
can
from
just
Maggie
say
Marion
what
at
happened next.
7:39.
What calls happen
is
next?
the length
What
of the
text
call.
happened next?
7 minutes and 39 seconds.
That's correct.
Maggie
Does that
talking to her
include connection
sister?
time as well?
It does.
It's Maggie talking to her
Do
sister?
we have any step data on Paul's phone in a time period around this time?
Paul's phone shows between 7:35:10 and 7:41:43. It shows roughly around 171 steps traveled during that time frame.
7:37 and 7:38. Do we see any activity on Paul's phone with some of his friends?
Yeah, Paul received a Snapchat message from Mel Beck stating, BC, I have short-term memory loss, and that was based off his phone extraction. And then Paul Murdaugh receives an iMessage from Ian Kimbrell stating, Paul.
All right, moving now to page
Huh.
10. Going to 7:39:55.
I wonder why they
Can you
shifted
tell the
off.
jury what
That's
that
just a
data point
picture of the tree
reflects
event.
on your summary
There's no need to
timeline?
switch.
from
There we
earlier
go. That's just
testimony,
the tree. I don't know why
you've
that's
seen
blurred.
This is just a thumbnail picture.
Oh, that's why
And
it's
this is when
blurred.
it's showing it was created in Paul Murdaugh's phone. And we have a little screenshot of the creation time. It's going to show
That's
7:39:55
really helpful with the metadata right there.
is when this thumbnail was
The
created in
metadata
Paul's
right
phone.
here on the
And
side.
remind the jury what video that is.
Happy
Let's
with
see,
that.
We got a thumbnail there, but
Yep.
what video is that?
This is going to be that Snapchat video that was sent to a few friends of the tree. You have Alex Murdaugh and the tree that's leaning over.
All right, and again, this is when that video, at least the timestamp, was its creation?
That's correct, based on previous testimony, yes.
All right. 7:41 to 7:48, what if anything is reflected on Alex's phone?
We show that 29 steps were traveled on his phone, approximately between 7:41 and 7:48.
All right, and just talked about the Snapchat video, looking at this map, whose phone is this, and explain these data points to the jury, if you would, please, or expose this first, if you would, please.
So this is going to be Paul Murdaugh's iPhone, and below it, it's going to be his iPhone location data. So this is not going to be Verizon location. This is going to be location data directly off of his phone.
Thank you for
So
the
this is
recommendation.
GPS data
I'm
that's
Kelly.
more specific.
That is correct.
All right, and we see a number of dots up here. What is this area up here generally, sort of in the center of this image?
Lisa asked, when
That's
did
gonna
AM have
be,
time
the
for a
kennel
nap?
area,
We're not there yet, but
And then
I don't
there's
think he
that little
napped.
house.
The cabin?
I think he turned his
Cabin.
phone off.
All right, and what time periods in that upper box do we see GPS data on Paul's phone up there in the kennel cabin area?
We're seeing between 7:45 and 7:54 is location data for that
That's
area.
7:54, 7:56.
Rosie asked, on the same page and singing from the same sheet of
7:56,
music?
sorry.
Same, yeah,
Hard to
same,
see.
same. Same.
And then we have two data points at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, where is generally that on the property?
That's going to be what previous testimony talked about, like a dove field. It's going to be past the main house, closer to the Godley Farm roadside. And that's going to be a data point at
The Dove Field with the dead
8 and
sunflowers.
42 seconds and 8 and 44 seconds.
p.m.?
That's correct, 8 p.m., June 7th.
Darn it.
I'm actually convinced he did not nap. That I feel like has been proven. Alec did not nap. Rebecca in the chat asked, who naps that late anyway? Me sometimes, but I'm old.
There is, it shows approximately
Me
89 steps
sometimes.
traveled during
What time periods?
7:45
It's more like
PM
fall
to
asleep
7:55.
at that time and then get up and move to bed. More like that.
Moving on to page 11, we have a map. Tell the jury whose phone that is and what that data point is.
We have
So this is
a
going to be
map.
Maggie Murdaugh's phone. This is going to be Verizon location data. And what we see here is the tower and then the arc of the tower. This is going to be in the Walterboro area. The time is 7:50:03 p.m.
Right, and moving now, we're starting to some references, and there's a little battery symbol on the side. What does that represent?
So that's going to represent battery life. So right here, this is going to be at 7:52:28. It's going to show Paul Murdaugh's iPhone battery at 7%.
And in your review generally of Paul's cell phone data,
Oh, I like
was
the
it
battery
generally
image.
consistent for him to continue to use his phone even if he had a low battery life on it?
That's correct.
All right. And is that also consistent with the testimony from David Grubbs from yesterday, the day before?
Previous testimony, yes.
All right, below that, 7:55 time period, we have two entries. Can you explain those two entries to the jury and how they relate to each other, if anything?
So 7:55:44 to 8:05:28, we have Paul Murdaugh's iPhone showing approximately 262 steps traveled. And a close time frame from 7:55:32 to 8:05:07, we show Alex's iPhone
So it looks like
traveling
they're-
approximately 270 steps.
That makes sense. They're walking
during that time
together.
period.
But again, them walking
And then at
together and showing it,
7:56,
it'll
what
be
is,
more
what is
glaring.
reflected as it relates to
It'll
that
be much
Snapchat
more
video?
glaring if
This is when the
Maggie's
Snapchat
phone's not moving
video
with him.
referencing Alex Murdaugh would have been sent through Paul's Snapchat account to his friends, based on previous testimony.
And it was created, you already testified to this, but it was created when?
I believe 7:39:55
And it was sent out to his friends when?
at 7:56 p.m.
Lulu82 said a nap before bed is a napetizer. I'm never going to call it anything else from here forth again. My
Moving
husband
on,
nappers.
page
He says it's
12
watching
at
TV.
7:57.
But it's
Does one
not.
of his friends respond?
Yes, he receives a Snapchat message from Brian Murdaugh
Oops, sorry.
stating, "Damn, man, needs some straps, oh it."
All right. Now we're moving into the 8 p.m. hour on June 7th, 2021. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, we have a map here. First of all, in the right corner, whose phone is this?
This is going to be Paul Murdaugh's phone. This is going to be his iPhone location data.
And starting up at the,
Yes, we're getting to the relevant
it's
time
sort of
period.
the top center,
Where
more to the
Alex
right.
says he's
Um,
napping.
Where does that location generally?
That's going to be the little cabin on the property.
All right, and what is the data point? What's the time on that data point up there?
I believe it says 8:06:20 p.m.
All right, and then see the dots
Who's
sort
at
of
the
moving
cabin?
down, and in what direction? they're
Who's at the
generally moving.
cabin?
That's moving towards the main house on the property.
All right, and then down at the bottom of the screen, at what time do we see that data point
Paul.
stop at the main residence?
Paul was up at the cabin.
8:14,
What's the first data point then?
8:45, and then 8:14.
Paul's at the main
PM.
residence at what time? First?
8:08:45 PM.
All right, and just on page 13, we have some earlier data points.
The
Is this
jury has
map
this
kinda out of order
one
just a little bit?
little,
It is, so this is just going to be earlier data points at 8:05:14 and 8:04:45, just showing some location data from his iPhone.
So that one should have gone before this one, the one at the bottom of page 12,
That's right.
which reflects Paul again getting back to the main residence at what time?
8:08:45 PM.
Looking below, again on page 13, do we see two entries for Paul and Alex's phone? And if so, please explain to the jury they are.
So for Alex's phone, we show between 8:05 and 8:09 that his phone approximately took 54 steps traveled during that time period. And then for Paul, we show 8:05:46 to 8:15:24. We show approximately 303 steps traveled during that time period.
Moving on to page 14, do we see that same map again of Paul's phone reflecting him arriving at the residence at 8:08?
8:08:45, correct?
And then still pinging there at what time, at the bottom time?
8:14 PM.
oh, I like the visual.
Again, at 8:07, what if anything do we see?
At 8:07:20, we see that Paul is sending Snapchats to a few friends. That's based off his Snapchat records.
All right, the next entry is in purple, and then there's kind of a line going from that. Explain what that purple reference, that time period references, and then the line that travels down the side of your timeline. Explain to the jury what that's going to represent generally to the various phones as we go forward.
As we go forward, anytime you see purple, that's going to represent Maggie Murdaugh's phone. And for this instant, it's going to represent on the left-hand side, the line going down. Anytime you see a line next to something, that means whatever it says on the left. So if it says device locked, it means the device was locked during those other time periods.
That's
So this
really
is going to show
helpful.
from 8:11:08 to 8:31:15 that Maggie's iPhone was locked.
Really helpful
And as we move
showing
down, you can see
that
it
time
continue to the next
frame
page,
of
that-
when the
that means
phones are
during
locked.
those times, it's locked.
All right, so we'll see multiple of those as you go forward, just explaining time periods where various devices were locked or other things were going on.
That is correct.
All right. Moving on to page 15, we have a map. Explain to the jury
We have a
whose
map.
phone
What
this
is it?
is and what it represents.
We have a map.
This is
What
going to
is
be
it?
for
That's it.
CB Row, and this is a overview map. You can see Augusta, the North Augusta area, and it's showing the sector and the tower that it's pinging off of at 7:13:15 in the North Augusta
This is
Augusta
CB
area.
Rose.
Say 7:13 or
phone.
8:13?
I'm sorry, 8:13:15.
All right, so CB Rowe's
This is
phone is pinging
covering
over
CB
here,
Rowe's
way over here in
alibi.
Augusta, is that right?
That is correct.
So CB Rowe's phone is out in Augusta. So that is covering CB Rose.
All right, moving to the next map.
Alibi. I think that's
whose phone
why
is
that's in
this?
there.
If you could tell whose phone this is, and then what data points you see on this particular map.
So this is going to be Paul Murdaugh's iPhone location data, so it's going to be separate from like Verizon location data. And this is showing at the area of the main house, bottom left, and the data starts at 8:14 and goes all the way to 8:35:07.
8:35, Paul's phone is located where?
At the main house, 4147 Moselle Road.
And down at the bottom of page 15, do we have any step reference for Paul?
We do from 8:15:55 to 8:21:45. We're showing approximately 140 steps traveled.
For all of you asking about CB Rowe, he is the groundskeeper, not the one who takes care of the doggos, but the groundskeeper. Grounds! Oh my God, with the scrolling crane.
Paul arrived back at around 8:08, you testified, is that correct?
That is correct.
At 8:17,
We have not seen him testify, and we won't, which is odd to me.
So it's highlighted purple in reference to Maggie. It's going to show that her phone ended at the connection to the Mercedes-Benz, which is MBUX 95224.
Oh.
It shows that it's unplugged.
And what does that mean? What does that reference mean as it relates to Maggie's phone and the Mercedes she was driving?
So Maggie's back at
And
home
that she unplugged her phone
from the car.
From that
from
vehicle?
that vehicle.
And
at
the data generally
8:17.
reflects that she's at the residence at that point?
That is correct.
I didn't
Paul
realize it was
808,
that
Maggie
late.
817.
That is correct.
I didn't realize it was that late.
Alex's last data point on his phone was 6:52, right?
That is correct, based on the Verizon records.
Hey Maggie, good on you, no texting and driving. I would hate to think.
We
that
have
my
at
phone makes
8:17:44 p.m., do we have a battery reference for Paul?
We do. It shows that his iPhone was at 4% battery life at that time.
As we continue
They
forward, we see
ate,
Paul continue to
and
use
we
his
know from
phone.
the ME that they
do.
ate.
At 8:19, or I'm sorry, 8:17 to 8:18, what if anything do we see on Maggie's phone?
We're showing approximately 38 steps taken during that time frame.
That makes sense.
And that
Car
would
to
be after her
house.
phone disconnects from the Mercedes.
That's correct.
Car to house.
8:19 p.m., see on Paul's phone.
We see that he connects to a PRTC Wi-Fi.
This is
and then
more
he
data than
receives
we've
a
gotten this whole
Snapchat
time.
message from Ansley Wilson stating he got the magic touch. And he also sends another outgoing text message or Snapchat message.
All right. Now, PRTC, his phone connects to PRTC. What is PRTC?
So PRTC is going to be the local internet telephone provider for this area. So it's just-
Finally,
it's
the
just showing a
extender has
Wi-Fi.
entered the evidence.
And was PRTC, to your knowledge, providing services to Moselle Road?
They were providing services to the main house and then the cabin.
All right, going below that, we have a series of communications, and whose communications are these going sort of back and forth, a series of communications?
This is going to be Paul Murdaugh's series of communications.
And I'm not going to read each one or have you read each one, but are these generally communications going back and forth with his friends?
That is correct.
And on this page, they start about what time and continue through about what time?
Start around
I see the he's hurt,
23 and go all the way to,
quote unquote. That could be
8:29.
about the dog. That could be about a
Maybe keep on going
friend.
down. Yeah,
That
about
could be about
8:30.
anything. I don't think it's a literal, but it's he's hurt. It could be like,
about 8:23 to 8:30.
I don't know. I read that as,
All
oh,
right, at
he's hurt.
8:30 to 8:33 p.m., what, if anything, do we see on Maggie's phone?
We're showing that her phone took approximately 42 steps traveled during that time period.
So that's the conversation at 8:30 that Paul was having with Megan
And that
about
starts
the
at what time
movies.
that Maggie's phone starts reflecting steps?
8:30 p.m.
About 8:30.
So we were getting right up to the time of the murders.
Going on to the next page, page 17.
Why does it say
Going back just
activate
real quick
Windows? Have they not
on,
for Windows?
Page 16, generally that series of communications with Paul and his friends, is he generally responding fairly quickly to the communications back and forth?
He is either, it's their Snapchat and iMessages. He's responding and using those two applications very frequently.
I like the overlap bars of what's
Now we're
happening.
at top of page 17 at 8:31 p.m. Describe to the jury generally what this data entry is.
So this is going to be a group message from John Marvin Murdaugh. He's talking about how they're planning to go visit their dad tomorrow and asking if anyone else is going. Listed here, everyone that's in that group message.
And that's generally a number of family members?
That is correct.
And they're referring to as who?
It's going to
Thanks,
be
Buzz. It probably
Mr.
is
Randolph?
a
That is
clean,
correct.
it's probably a wiped
And
computer
based
for
on
the
your knowledge of
jury.
investigation, he had a
Thank you
turn
for
for the worse
clarifying. I don't know
self-rise around
Windows.
this time?
That is correct.
All right, well, let's talk about that very quickly. Did the defendant, or did his phone receive that text?
His phone and Maggie's phone both received the text message.
And did the defendant ever read that text, according to the phone at least?
According to the phone, it was not read until the following day, 6/8 of 21 at 1:44:49 p.m.
And that text came in at what time?
8:31 on the dot.
And did Maggie read that text right away, at least according to the phone, her phone?
She did not.
All right. And when did her phone finally read that text?
Around 49:26.
What time?
8:49:26 is when Maggie read that text.
8:49.
8:49.
8:49:26 actually, Creighton. If we want to do all that. $8:42. Paul's
At
phone shows
8:31.
238 steps traveled.
Entry that we see.
That could show that they're walking to the kennels.
So at the
8:32 to
8:31:15, Maggie
8:42.
Murdaugh's phone unlocks and does orientation changes. And then at 8:31:18 to 8:49:26, we show that her phone was locked.
At 8:31, there's an orientation change. Does the data reflect that her phone was unlocked at that period of time?
That's
That is
leading.
correct.
All right. And then what happens after that at 8:31 and 18 seconds?
Her device is locked until 8:49:26.
8:49:26, is that correct?
8:49:26.
All right. At 8:32:25, we have an entry in green and then a line going down. Can you explain to the jury those time periods and what, if any, significance they have?
So green is going to reflect Paul Murdaugh. Anytime you see green, it's going to be Paul, and purple is going to be Maggie. That's reflecting that his iPhone moved approximately 283 steps during that time period. So on the left-hand side, as we go down, and you're going to see other data entry points, if you see the green next to it, that means that those steps are being traveled during that time frame.
And now we have a map. Whose phone is that?
This is also going to be Paul Murdaugh's, and this is going to be his iPhone location data.
All right. And where is that iPhone location data located?
That's going to be at the kennel area of the property.
All right. And tell me the time periods that he is at the kennel at this point in time.
At this point in time, he's at the kennels at 8:38:07 p.m., 8:44:53, 8:44:55, and 8:44:56.
The circles they talked about how strong the signal was to narrow it down.
What happens at 8:40?
They clearly had a very fast
Paul's
dinner.
phone is at the kennels.
Paul calls Rogan Gibson. It shows answered for 4 minutes and 14 seconds.
Starting at what time?
8:40:20.
And if you have about a 4-minute call, what time does that end?
8:44.
And then he tries to FaceTime to show him the dog.
8:44:34. What, if anything, does Paul's phone indicate?
So at 8:44:34, Paul Murdaugh initiates a FaceTime video call with Rogan Gibson. It shows answered 11 seconds long. And that's based off of Paul and Rogan's information.
And then at 8:44:55, what does it reflect on Paul's phone?
This is when this video was extracted and created through Paul's phone, which shows Alex, Maggie, and, well, you can hear Alex, Maggie, and Paul in the background.
That's the kennel video at
That's
8:44.
a kennel video that's been in previous testimony, correct?
For those of you commenting on Paul's battery, I
Following
think
below
he's
that,
losing it because he's trying
at
to video and
8:47
FaceTime
and
with rough
8:48, does
reception. That
Paul
makes sense to
continue
me.
to communicate this phone?
He does. He uses the iMessage feature in his phone to send a couple messages to Megan Kimbrell.
His last conversations.
And it looks like it's based off of movie recommendations.
Are those communications for 10 minutes or just for a couple of minutes or a minute or so?
A minute or so.
And her last text to him is, no, I need something happy. Don't like watching sad movies.
Going to
That's the
the-
last text he reads.
Top of page 19. What time do we see there?
8:48:29.
All right. And what's going on? What's Paul doing?
He's receiving a message from Megan, and we have some backlight on data at 8:48:56.
All right. And the next entry, tell me the time periods for that entry.
8:48:58.
This
to
is the prosecution's theory of when the
8:49:01.
murders happened right here.
All right. And what happens there?
Paul Murdaugh's phone that's the last time that it was unlocked,
Ever?
ever. $8:49:01.
And the next activity that we'll see on Paul's phone occurred when?
We have a backlight off from 8:49 to,
Going back to 8:48 to 8:49:01, you said that was when Paul's phone was last unlocked?
that is correct.
And continue on with that data entry, what does it indicate? What's the next time ever that Paul's phone shows any activity?
18. That's when,
And the 8:48 to 8:49
oh,
PM?
I'm sorry, next activity notification is going to be the Rogan Gibson call at 9:58:35. That's the next time that any activity or notification shows up on his phone.
Fred, I'm trying to focus. It's very important information.
Looking at this entry
You comfortable?
with the green line on the right side, what are those time periods there and what do they represent starting at 8:49:01?
Starting at 8:49:01 to 10:34:23, Paul's phone shows device locked.
The state's going to argue that this indicates
And until
Paul
it
was
died
killed
at
first
10:34.
and Maggie was killed
It was
second.
not.
8:49:01 is the last time before that Paul had ever unlocked his phone.
That is correct.
The state keeps asking that because that is when they think right after then
Just
is
a
when
few
they think he was
seconds
killed.
later,
I'm back.
does Maggie's phone reflect any activity?
It does. 8:49:26, so approximately 26 seconds, her phone unlocks for
Ooh.
text message notification.
I know that was a long
It
time ago, but
implements
have fun at the
orientation
gym.
page.
And was that text message about Mr. Randolph that you earlier referred to?
That is correct, that group message.
Alex's phone is off this whole time. Alex's phone does not go back on until 9:02.
I believe those are in response to
I'm gonna take
Lynn.
that off.
Process going to have to argue
And at
Some of the voids.
8:49:31,
where
here in red,
isn't.
what happens to Maggie's phone? Just seconds later,
Maggie Murdaugh's phone locks forever
forever. Until when?
Law
until it's
enforcement
recovered the next
unlocks
day
it.
at 1:10
The
p.m.
dog is neat.
June 8th.
on June 8th by law enforcement.
Do both Maggie and Paul's phone lock forever around 8:49?
I know.
They do.
9:15. I'm having a diet soda. I don't have any hot coffee.
And that's the prosecution's theory of when the murders occurred. Is at 8:49.
And I have my Star Child makeup on today.
Paul's
Apparently,
first.
I looked at myself in the
Maggie's.
mirror and I'm
At
like,
8:49:35, does Paul's phone receive a text from anyone?
Please
It
create
does
some
receive a
Russian.
text from Rogan Gibson.
And what
More
does that text
sparkle.
say?
More sparkle.
See if you can get a good picture of it. Mary Ann, referring to his girlfriend, wants to send it to a girl we know that's a vet. Tell him to sit and stay, and he shouldn't move around too much. That
'Cause
shows
Cash-
unread.
Is a good boy.
You never read that.
Never read it.
According to the investigation, is that the conversation that Paul and Rogan were actively engaged in starting at 8:40?
That is correct.
The kennel video was at what time?
8:44.
And then the defendant repeatedly denied that he was ever at those kennels with the victims just minutes
not looking at the
before
witness.
their phones go
He's looking at the
silent
jury.
forever.
Objection. Basis for the objection.
Leading. It's leading.
Leading,
Leader,
please.
let's restate the question.
It is. It's
Did the
argument,
defendant
actually.
repeatedly deny ever being at the kennels at that
Yes.
time period?
Yes, he did.
The jury knows
Various
this, though,
interviews with
Creighton.
law enforcement.
It's okay. I think it's this
The
is
jury
the important
remembers that
part
he
to
lied
me.
about
Was
being at
that
the
kennel
kennels.
video? What time was that kennel video?
8:44,
And what time did Paul and Maggie's phones go silent forever?
8,
Answered it several times.
Objection is overruled.
8:49.
Excuse me, Your Honor, he's
is when their
banging
phones
on
went
about the
silent
same
forever.
shit. The jury knows. The jury knows this timeline. This timeline might be enough, because there's things
At 8:50,
in the thing that
we
cut
see
towards
the
him lying, but there's
activity
things that
on
cut the other way
Maggie's phone.
too. So it
We
might
do
be
at this
enough.
time, as you can see
Might
to the
not be
right,
enough.
her phone is locked, but we do see that 59 steps were traveled over the period of 8:53 to 8:55.
And that just means the phone
I
was moving,
can't
correct?
cut you and
That
tight.
is correct.
I need my hands for a
Do we
moment.
see some orientation changes as well?
We do between
is so pissed at me.
8:53:08 and 8:55:32, we see various orientation changes,
Because it's been thrown.
which
Because
would
the-
indicate
the
someone
phone's been
has the
thrown.
phone based on previous testimony.
Moving on to page 20, at the top, we have
Can I come back
8:55,
to-
and we have a reference to a data point. Can you explain that to the jury, whose phone that is, and just generally what that is, based on information gathered in the investigation?
8:55:48?
8:55:48, yes, sir.
That's just a internal application running in the background for Maggie Murdaugh's phone. It's just, the iPhones will take a random snapshot of what's going on in the phone. So that's just reflecting that there was some, behind the scenes stuff happening in
For
her
those of
phone.
you asking, the dog video was never sent to Rogan Gibson. It was recorded,
It's not saying
but
that
never
someone was
sent.
actively using it.
Rogan never saw the video until law enforcement showed it to him.
Oh, it was recorded but never
Yes,
sent.
there is a
Oh.
Bonnard in my lap. So now we're getting into Maggie's phone and Alex's phone moving afterwards. Are they moving together? Are they not?
I can't wait for closing argument. I really can't. I think
is very annoyed when I saw
I
that.
feel like I need to hear that.
Fred is rambunctious. Fred is rambunctious.
Right here at the bottom of page 13, we have a reference to step data on Alex's phone.
That's correct.
And what are those time periods?
8:05:35 to 8:09:52. It's showing 54 steps traveled.
All right. We'll turn to page 20.
Ah,
Isn't that when he says he's
Zoom
taking a
in.
nap or? See
there's
again.
on the mic, Fred.
Okay. Exhausting.
What suddenly happens to Alex's phone around 9:02?
Pretty much wakes up
And what data point is reflected?
from 9:02:18 p.m. to 9:06:47. It shows 283 steps traveled.
And how long? How many minutes, roughly?
5 minutes, 5-6 minutes.
I'm going to show you what's been marked. as
300
Exhibit
steps
521,
in
your
5
testimony,
minutes,
See if
I
you
guess.
recognize that.
That would
I
be-
do.
And tell me what that is, please.
This is going to be a paste spreadsheet for Paul Murdaugh, Maggie Murdaugh, and Alex Murdaugh that I created.
All right. Your Honor, this time I would offer States 521 into evidence.
No objection.
So admit it.
Oh man, those phones. Boy, oh boy.
Can I have the other one, please?
Those phones will
I
get
want to
you
go
every
back. I want to
time.
get the steps because I want to look at whether
General, if I could have the screen.
is Alec walking back from the kennels and at what time he's walking back or running back from the kennels. I've got questions. I want to go back to that and see it again real quick. So,
All right,
The-
tell the jury real quick, as we
But if
look
he
at
had
this
driven
exhibit, just
down,
admit
I
it.
just don't
We have the
understand.
timeline
Generally,
witness on
we
the
have it at the
stand.
top. Tell them Quicks is and what these columns represent. Explain this chart, if you would.
First column entry, that's just going to be various entries from the phone data. We have a start time, we have a end time, we have the time elapsed in between the estimated amount of steps And then we have a steps per minute calculation, which is going to be the far right.
Oh, so if they show it, they'll be able to show he's running.
You've been testifying to as reflected from the phone data.
Interesting.
That is correct.
What
And then
time?
the last column
8:32 to
is just a
8:42.
simple calculation of steps
That's
based
a
on the time
lot.
periods of
Number
those
8
readings.
is what
That's
I'm
correct.
looking at.
And the last step readings
Number
that we
8.
have on Paul's phone are from what time to what
Fred.
time?
Fred.
The last step reading from Paul's phone is 8:32 to 8:42.
He wasn't taking a nap.
We have one for Maggie as well, is that correct?
We do. Her last
Oh, wait, no, I'm
time frame is
sorry.
going to be 8:53 to 8:55.
And then
He
down
was
the
running
bottom,
at
Fred
the
is
end.
we
trying to
have-
turn the camera off.
This is going to be Alex
Paul was
Murdaugh's
running at the
spreadsheet.
end. I want to see his
I'll
that
just
match
take a
up with
picture and show
that
you all
last entry
what
on
he's doing.
Let's
Paul.
talk about this a little bit.
Fred, I am trying to stream.
Oh wait, his
would,
phone doesn't
start with
start up
entry
until
21.
9.
Get off the camera.
And what time periods is that? This is
But
Alex's
he
phone, correct?
It's
also
going to be Alex Murdaugh's phone,
Right, time period?
6:52 to 7:02,
oh, it's
How
the
many
same.
steps?
Okay, so look at
approximately 283.
And how many steps per minute based on a simple math calculation?
Estimated 29.34.
All right? 22, time period, steps, and steps per minute.
7:03 to 7:11, approximately 165 steps, estimated 19.20 steps per minute.
24,
24 is going to be 7:28 to 7:37, approximately 47 steps, and estimated
Fred is
5.46
feisty
steps
today.
per minute.
Fred is sick of me streaming this
25.
trial.
7:41 to
Trying to turn off the
7:48,
camera.
showing 29, approximately 29 steps, 3.97 steps per minute.
26,
26 is showing 7:55 to 8:05, 270
9:02
steps.
to 9:06,
approximately,
70 steps per minute.
28.2 steps per minute.
Moving a lot faster.
28,
28 is going to be the 8:05 to 8:09. It's showing approximately 74 steps. That's 17.28 steps per minute.
and as you testified,
70 steps per
That
minute's
was
not a casual
the last
pace.
entry on Alex's phone before we get to the 9 o'clock hour.
Sure looks like he's running to
That's
me.
correct.
It looks like he's moving faster than he normally moves.
What time was the
let's,
video
Let's
again?
say that.
8:44.
I think that's more
p.m.
accurate.
Let's talk about 27. What's the time period there?
Time period's going to be 9:02 to 9:06.
How many steps?
283 steps, 70.75 steps per minute estimated.
You moved the
He's a busy
camera
guy
now.
right then, wasn't he?
It appears.
Get your paw off. Completely move the camera.
Was that, what was
9:02
the average
is
steps
when
per
he
minute
just
from
woke
9:02
up.
to 9:06?
70.75.
And was that far in excess of any ratings on his phone in those prior entries?
According to this table, yes.
Could I have the computer back again, please?
That's a much faster pace when he's supposed to just wake up and go to his mom's. That's much quicker. Sorry, that's much quicker pace when he wakes up and goes. He's supposed to be just waking up and going to mom. So that's a much faster pace.
We have a map here on Paul's phone.
I don't think Alec knew his phone
This
could
is
do
gonna be
that.
based off of Verizon records
This
for
is
Paul
the thing.
Murdaugh. It's
I don't think
showing,
Alec knew a lot about what phones
9:03,
can do.
22 and 9:03:30, just showing what cell towers it was pinging off of.
Again,
This
is
is
his
what
phone
Fred's
still locked
doing
during this time?
while I'm trying to
That
stream.
is correct. Paul and Maggie's phones are still locked to this time.
That
Bottom of page 20, we got a
That
pink
is the
box.
cat.
What does that reflect?
on my camera.
That's from the FBI telemetry data, just showing a system startup with the telemetry system.
On which
It's gonna be,
vehicle?
Alex Murdaugh's 2021 Suburban.
We're in
Is there
full
a
code,
CDR
Fred.
reference to Mary Ann
Full
Dempsey
code, Fred.
attempting to call Paul?
There is.
Mary Ann Dempsey again is who?
Rogan Gibson's girlfriend at the time.
At the
I
time.
like that he says at the time. It's just so
At
we're
the time. You never know. They could be broken up.
We
by
have
now.
2 entries after that. Can you explain those entries to the jury and tell the jury what those are, please?
Yep. So at 3:52
Uh-oh.
to 9:04:23.
Bird alert.
Maggie Murdaugh's iPhone backlight is on. At 9:04:23, Alex Murdaugh calls Maggie Murdaugh, shows 18 seconds in his CDRs. This does not show on that Dylan Hightower first extraction or the second extraction. And it also shows missed on Maggie's phone extraction.
That's
That was missing
interesting.
from Alex's phone, correct?
That is correct. In the call log, it is
Yeah,
missing.
but counsel, you argued he's manufacturing an alibi. If he's manufacturing an alibi, why is he deleting phone calls? That doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense.
9:05:15, is there any activity on Alex's phone?
It shows that Alex Murdaugh calls Randolph
Cam.
Murdaugh, 18 seconds.
Kitty Cam.
Does not show on Dylan
This
Hightower
crow's outside.
extraction or the second extraction, just on the CDRs.
We have a pinkish box. What does that represent?
Pinkish box can represent that system startup for the telemetry data for the 21 Suburban.
At 9:06:12, what happens?
Between 9:06:12 and 9:06:20, Maggie Murdaugh's phone implements orientation change from portrait to orientation sideways.
That starts at 9:06:12.
Yes, and it goes
Landscape.
to 9:06:20.
The orientation starts to change. What happens 2 seconds after that orientation starts to change?
At 9:06:14, so that's 2 seconds afterwards, the phone receives an incoming call from Alex.
Was that
OMG,
call
it's
on
Dan.
the
I had a
call log
great
when
point
Dylan
in the
Hightower
chat.
downloaded the defendant's phone?
It was not.
I was trying to grab it and I lost it. But asking if the running or the increased steps are trying to catch Bubba. It's a very fair question.
Oh, yeah. That's a good
Are
point.
those increased steps trying to catch Bubba and the damn chicken?
Right, to put him in the kennel. Because they don't get him in the
9:06:14
kennel in
and
that video, right?
9:06:15.
They don't get him.
Referencing that missed call that showed up on Maggie's phone?
That is correct.
And you're right, he might have been calling it to try to find
Still seeing
Maggie's
an
phone.
orientation change?
Yep, that's when the orientation ended.
Moving down to the bottom of page 21, we have a bluish and a green box. Tell the jury what that is.
So, according to the FBI telemetry data, the blue is going to indicate a shift in the transmission, and then green is going to show driving.
And the GPS data
The
confirms
Suburban's
that.
underway.
That is correct, according to the telemetry data.
At the bottom of page 21, is there another call from Alec Murdaugh's phone to Maggie's phone?
There is at 9:06:52, Alex calls Maggie. It shows 7 seconds long, and that's based off his CDRs since it was deleted off the call history.
It wasn't on Alex's extraction, correct?
It was not.
Remember, Alex showed
2 missed
police
calls?
that night
2
his
missed
phone.
calls.
Then they downloaded it on June 10th, a few days later. So they showed him, and
Moving
in
to
that
page
first interview, go
22,
back and watch, he's saying it's
At
on
the
my
top,
phone and showing
what,
them.
if anything, is
But
Alex
then it's
Murdaugh's
gone when they
phone
download it
in
June
relation to the
10th.
Suburban?
So it's just showing that, the device connected to the car. When you get in your car, your phone will pair. It's just showing a device
Sometimes.
connection to iPhone.
Sometimes it'll
And then the next entry, there's a time range there. Explain that time range to the jury and what that means.
So starting at 9:07 and going till 9:44, 9:31:44, her backlight is off
The backlight is off. That entire time period.
that entire time period. It was on, but now for this time period, from 9:07 to 9:31, it's going to show off.
Going to this map, is that some of the cast data that you did, that you testified to the jury?
This is a previous slide that we had up. It's showing at 9:07:06. The Suburban is leaving 4147 Moselle Road.
2 calls to Maggie.
You can
Does
see that
the
this has been the
Suburban
most important
just
part
take
of
a
the
quick
trial,
right
'cause
and go
this
down this road right there
what
to
people
the
are watching
kennels, or
across
does
the
it just
internet.
continue straight on?
It just continues straight on.
Doesn't stop by the kennels for a second, does it?
It-
Doesn't stop by the kennels.
His vehicle does not stop by the kennels.
Keeps right on going.
It's right on going to Moselle Road, makes a right.
doesn't go to the kennels, but we knew that. It's just a lot of this is confirming what has been
Going down to
shown
the
by
bottom,
both sides this entire
page
trial.
22.
both sides?
It's just another data point. It's showing the approximate location of Maggie Murdaugh's phone when it was located. And at it's 9:08:36, it's showing 42 miles an hour on Moselle Road. And in reference, we're coming up to Godley Farm Road on Moselle Road. This is at 9:08:36.
And then we have, below that, we have a reference to a data point that you previously showed to the jury at 9:08:42.
Yep, it's going to be on the next page.
All right.
Fred's planning his next
Be
plan
at
of attack.
9:08:42. It's showing approximate miles per hour of 45 in reference to where the phone was found the next day.
Emergency snuggle.
And
Here
what's
we
the
go.
speed on the
Okay,
defendant's
okay.
vehicle at that point?
I'm hoping.
45 miles an hour.
Here we go. Come on. Come on.
And is Maggie's backlight off during this time period, this entire time period?
Her phone is locked. Yes.
We know that they're
Backlight
arguing
is
that that's when Alec threw the phone.
Here.
The defense questions that timeline
Come here.
and is arguing that that is not when Maggie's phone
Kitty
threw,
cam.
or not when
Come on.
Maggie's phone
Come on.
had its last
Come
orientation
on, so
change.
everyone can see.
So
At
the defense
9:08:58.
questions when that phone
What do we see?
was yeeted.
Alex Murdaugh sends a iMessage to Maggie stating, "Going to check on M, be right back." This shows unread in Maggie's phone.
It's interesting that they spelled it EM because they called M. Libby.
Moving on, does
I would've-
Alex's phone
think it
reflect a
would've been a-
series of calls being made?
It does.
Tell me about the first one.
First one's gonna be at 9:10:47. Alex calls Buster. It shows 60 seconds long. That's based off of CDR since it's not in his phone extractions.
I wonder what that conversation was.
And that's
with
again also
Buster.
missing from that entire series of events around the time of the murders that was not on Alex's extraction when it was downloaded.
That is correct. It's not in the call log.
I
I'll move on. Your Honor.
Been asked and answered.
love you too.
The objection was asked and answered, and it is Creighton's getting very repetitive. I actually think the defense should let him because it loses its power every time he says
Down
it.
at 9:12:14, what if any activity is reflected on the defendant's phone?
Alex Murdaugh calls Chris Wilson. It shows 42 seconds long. That's based off his CDRs because it's not in any of his
Well, you
phone
cannot
extractions.
force cats to
or
like
call log.
sit.
Connection time as well.
They're gonna sit
It
when they're gonna
does.
sit where they're gonna sit. Period. Here, come here. Well, I don't know what you're doing. It's not that
Moving
serious.
on to page 24, we have a map. Tell
Oh,
the
Julia,
jury
that's a good
what
point.
this map reflects.
This is going to be an Alex Murdaugh location map from Verizon. It's going to show at 9:12:14 what tower and what sector it's pinging off of, and then at 9:18:46 what tower it's pinging off of. The red dot's going to be Moselle, the green one is going to be the Elmina property.
Angela, we are definitely at code
Moving on to the
orange.
next map, is
I
that
changed the
similar
lights.
information
Bye,
of the
Jim.
defendant's trip
Oh,
from Moselle to
yay! Have a
Almina?
wonderful
It's similar, it's just going to show you the
Valentine's Day
coverage
tonight.
areas for each
Congratulations.
tower.
Have fun. Oh. Oh. Oh dear. Oh yes.
And then on page
Tying
26, what
together
does
the
this map
tower
reflect?
information
It's
is
going to be
very
Verizon records for
interesting.
CB row. Far right, the little red dot, that's going to be Moselle.
that?
Blue dot is going to be CB Row's home in Brunson. This is just showing the cell tower data at the time frame of 9:14, 9:20, and 9:21,
Jim.
And?
and
Congratulations.
11:37 p.m.
CB Row's
This is
phone.
close to Fairfax.
All
for
right,
reference.
that's enough.
He's pinging in the arc near his home over here in Fairfax, is that right?
That is correct.
Well, that
Where's
assumes
Moselle?
facts, not in evidence. We don't-
Moselle's going to be that
No,
red,
that's-
dot to the right.
We don't know that's where his home is.
Yeah.
Like, that's not in evidence at all. Where CB Rowe lives is not in evidence.
At 9:18:46, what if any activity is reflected on the
Sure to ruin
defendant's
this
phone?
letter.
At 9:18:46, Alex Murdaugh calls John Marvin Murdaugh. It shows 106 seconds, and that's from his CDR since it's not on either phone extraction call log.
Oh, too much. Too much. Too much.
All right, we're on page 26 now. Tell the jury quickly what this map reflects.
There's also going to be Verizon records from Alex Murdaugh's phone. plotted. It's showing starting at 6:20:34 all the way to 9:46:35.
Just move you up
It's
a little
showing
bit,
from the
like-
cell tower in the sector of Alameda.
You said 6:24 or 9:20?
I'm sorry, 9:20:34.
So roughly 20-minute period in
Rough-
Alameda?
Roughly 20 minutes, correct.
Moving over to page 27, what is this map?
This is just going to be a zoomed-in
sorry,
picture
that's
from the
one.
previous one. Just showing the same time frame, just showing a little bit more zoomed in from the cell tower in proximity to Alameda.
At 9:20:34, what if anything happens on the defendant's phone?
At this time, Chris Wilson calls Alex at 9:20:34. It shows for
Ooh,
131
making things look
seconds.
so
and it-
pretty.
We got this data from his CDR since it does not show on
Yeah,
his,
no, those are
either one of his extractions.
beautiful cats.
And during that time,
I don't
Claude
think they're allergic,
Sabiro
aren't they?
at 9:21:36 calls, but Alex does not answer it.
So
Ah.
And again,
it's
this
interesting,
phone
they
was
put
being
every
used
single
as
time that those
Fairfax
calls don't
Defense
show up on their
correct?
call
That is
log.
correct.
Uh-oh.
They're gonna make
You
sure
see the
people know he
blue and
deleted
green
it.
box?
But I think it goes against their argument that he's manufacturing an alibi if
So
he's
at
deleting his calls.
Wondering where his
21:22, which,
file is.
that's military time, it's gonna be 9:22. Green is gonna show vehicle movement, and blue is gonna show transmission shifting.
And
the
is that
telemetry data.
consistent with the OnStar data at 9:22:49 of him arriving in Alameda?
It is.
Fred, what did you just throw off my desk?
And on page 28, is that data point that you just referenced?
That is correct, 9:22:39.
As cats do, if you don't pay attention to them, they throw things off of surfaces.
Starting about 9:22, does Alex's phone reflect any step activity?
It does 9:22:39 to 9:32:14. We're showing approximately 195 steps taken on his phone.
At 9:24:13, what if anything does the defendant phones reflect?
Okay.
He calls Libby Murdaugh.
He says, I have got to see what my brother is doing. He's eating something over there.
Either phone extraction.
Oh my
He
God.
should have
That would
called
be the
Shelley.
the landline at Alameda.
Oh, is that the
Whoa.
landline? So that's the call to
Seven-
After
Shelley.
that, is there another
Oh my
missed call from Rogan to Paul?
There is at
Oh,
9:26:06
polydactyl.
p.m.
That's cool.
He could have just asked, what are the next calls?
And then at 9:31:44,
Excuse me, don't
is that the
mind me.
first backlight activity on Maggie's phone since that time period you testified earlier about 9:07?
That is correct.
At 9:34, around that same time, is there any communication on Maggie's phone around the time of that backlight activity?
There is at 9:34:14. Rogan Gibson sends an iMessage to Maggie Murdaugh saying, tell Paul to call me. And that shows unread,
Never read?
never read.
Never read. Never read.
Do we also have backlight activity associated with a missed call to Maggie's phone?
We do at 9:34:20.
I like how
Up
they
here at 9:34 to
interwove the car with
9:36:20, it
this.
says Maggie Murdaugh's iPhone backlight. Is that backlight off?
That's going to be backlight off.
Just missing from the words?
That is correct.
Well,
9:35 and
in your
9:45,
timeline-
2-minute period. Is there any activity on Alex's phone?
backlight off
It's
and on
showing
is kind of
approximately
important.
60 steps taken on his phone during that time frame.
So they're going to argue, the defense is going to argue
And
that
also, as you see on the right-hand
936
side,
is Maggie's
Paul
phone
and
being
Maggie's phones
heated.
are locked. It's referenced with the lines.
With the
color
iPhone
coordination
backlight
on
off,
the right-hand
backlight on.
side.
And those lines have been continuing through the past few
They've been
pages.
continuing, correct.
I think that's the time they argue that the phone got dumped.
We have some orange and purple boxes.
I feel like
Let's
they're
tell
gonna
the
need
jury
to
what
do
those
such
are.
an amazing
The orange
wrap
color is
up
going to be
of
that
this,
system
like,
startup
I'm not
from
gonna,
previous testimony.
I don't
from
know. I mean, obviously the
Polkowski.
jury's
And then the
thinking
pink
I
is
am,
going to be
so.
engine running propulsion.
Kind of
Is
smooth.
there another missed call from Rogan to Paul?
There is at 9:42:17, there's a missed call. And then we have Alex's Suburban showing a device connection at 9:42:49, which is consistent with the data
All right.
telemetry.
Suburban's leaving Alameda around this time?
That is correct, 9:43:18. We show it starting at 2 miles an hour.
We have some additional telemetry consistent with him leaving.
We do.
Is there any activity on
Where's all
Maggie's
the
phone at this point?
indictments?
So at
Where's all the
9:44:04
Friday.
to 9:45:04, it
Bring
shows
on the
that her
indictments.
backlight was off.
And is there a missed call associated with that backlight activity or around the same time?
Yes, Maggie Murdoch received a call from, it's going to show as PA in the phone extraction, which is, it's Alex's number, and it shows missed.
Was that call missing from Alex's phone extraction?
It was missing from both phone extractions.
Going down to 94635, what if any activity do you see?
It shows that Alex Murdoch called Paul Murdoch, shows 18 seconds
Oh my
long, that's with the connection time. And that is based
Like
off of
public road
Alex's
reel.
CDRs. It does not show.
He spells border at
in,
BOARDER. I'm sorry.
94723, what do we see, if anything?
Alex sends a iMessage to
Dog
Maggie
is
stating,
stupid.
"Call me, babe,"
Chud,
and that shows
stupid.
unread in Maggie Murdaugh's extraction.
Stupid
Do
chud.
we see some backlight activity around the
There's a
time
lot
of
of
that?
Oh, so that
text
would have been
message,
when it
that
was
unread text
received.
message?
We do
And
a
there's
couple
another
seconds.
stupid ass convoy in Canada because the Canadians
When
are
their
so
text comes
goddamn
in.
boring. All they can figure out is a convoy.
We have a map
Sorry,
here.
no sorry.
Just generally, what does this reflect?
We do. This is going to reflect the coverage area of cell tower between Moselle and Almeida.
They would read him if
And
it
this is,
slapped
whose
him in the
phone?
face with its
This is going to be
dick.
Alex Murdaugh's phone. This is going to be his Verizon records, not location data from phone.
YouTube, do a better job of
Moving
getting
towards
rid
the
of fucking
direction of
assholes on
Moselle.
your platform.
That is correct.
And no, I don't mean me.
Additional maps consistent with that as testified to by Matt Wild?
That is correct. Just showing coverage area.
They're showing the pings in the
At
maps
9:52.
above, and then they're showing what
Yeah,
happens below it. So
please.
they are showing the pings in those maps, you see? And then below it, they're showing
So
the
at
activity.
9:52:15, Alex Murdaugh
Need
sends an
some-
iMessage
need
to
some
Chris Wilson
funds.
saying, "Call me if up."
Just around the time where he's running 80 miles an hour?
That's correct. 9:51:43 is when we have the 80.6 mile per hour.
All right, moving over to the next page, is there any further activity?
I mean, I know
Alex
when
ends up
I'm driving 80
receiving a
miles
call
an hour
from
down the
Chris
road, which
Wilson
happens
at 9:52:59.
My music's generally
Shows
very
42
loud.
seconds long with connection. That is also not on either extraction. And at
odd, but they're
9:53:55.
like, so he's driving
receives
80 when
another
he
call
calls
from
Chris Wilson,
Shows 123 seconds. And that is on his CDRs, but not on either phone extraction.
We know they talked, and Chris Wilson said there was nothing odd in their conversation.
And then from
going 80
at
miles
about
an hour isn't necessarily
9:56:57,
odd. I
what if
mean-
any activity do you see on Alex's phone?
So from 9:56:57 to 10:06:57.
However,
it shows that
nothing
Alex
sounds
Murdaugh
odd in
traveled
Alex 911 when he
231
got shot in the head
231
either,
steps
so there's that.
traveled during that time.
Starting at what time?
9:56:57 to 10:06:57.
Remind the jury what time the 911 call was?
It was 10:06:14.
Chris Wilson, I think, already talked about the call in his testimony.
Wait, what?
At
They were talking
9:57 and
about work.
9:58, what activities reflected on Paul's records?
So Rogan Gibson calls Paul Murdaugh, shows 4 seconds, and that's based off of CDRs.
Uh-huh.
And then at 9:58:35, Rogan sends a text message to Paul stating, "Yo."
And that hits Paul's phone?
That is correct. And it
Is it ever
shows,
read?
it shows unread from his phone extraction.
Because of course he did, because they were in the middle of a conversation, and so when he doesn't respond to the
have a
conversation,
bunch of
Rogan
green and
tries
blue
to get his
boxes.
mom
Is
to
this
call
what
him,
telemetry data
to have him call him, and then
This is,
Goes
the
through
green's
it.
gonna represent drives and blue is gonna represent some kind of gear shifting with the vehicle.
But the GM OnStar data reflects what, about 10 on the dot?
It reflects him pulling into the driveway at 4147 Moselle Road. The main
Oh.
entrance.
Oh.
And where did the Suburban go first?
Suburban went directly to the house, bottom left.
It didn't go to the kennels first, it went to the house first?
That is correct.
Oh.
What time does it arrive at the house?
it's an interesting
What time right
argument.
there in that map, that's what, the map at the top?
That's
of-
what the time that it pulls into the driveway.
Is. We can't all see it. Tell the fucking story.
I wonder if he'll say, if he's texting Maggie and he's like, call me, why didn't he just go in through the kennels to see if they were there? Because there's an entry there. Why not go past the kennels before you go to the house? I don't know if that's really anything at all. I mean, people generally follow habit. If his habit is to go in the other way. But we heard
At 10:03,
contradicting evidence on that
36
too.
p.m.,
That if people were at the
is-
kennels, they
there's
would
two
go in and out
entries
through
around
that
that time. Can you
entrance.
tell if any activity you see as it relates to Maggie's phone?
So Alex Murdoch calls Maggie Murdaugh's phone at 10:03:58, and backlight is on associated with that.
Chris Bowman, yes,
And
the
then
jury.
starting about 10:04:08, what don't we see for time period?
So from 10:04:08 to 10:46:40, there is a gap in activity. I don't see any activity on Maggie's phone at all through the Knowledge C database.
The jury is allowed to take whatever exhibits they
10:05:06,
find helpful
what, if
back to the
anything, does
jury
the
room
data
and use
reflect?
them. Watch
It
videos,
reflects,
God, I would
Alex's
want all of
Suburban
it.
leaving the
look
main
through the paper
house
exhibits.
I would have
based
to.
on the GM data.
photos. They get all of that.
Going over to page 35. Is this one of your cast maps?
Yes, it is. It's 10:05:06, and it's showing the time the Suburban starts to leave down to the kennels.
And going to the next map, what time is that?
Next map's going to be 10:05:57. That's
What-
that's arrival time at the kennels.
That's
According
very
to that
fast.
GPS location data.
10:05:57.
Yes, sir, from GM and OnStar.
10:05:57. He's at the kennels, and then he
What's that
calls
time again?
911.
It's going to be 10:05:57.
The asked and answered is excessive.
Down at the bottom of the page, what time is the 911 call?
10:06:14.
How many seconds is that from the time the Suburban
16
arrives at the
seconds.
kennels and he calls 911?
Roughly 20
Hasn't even-
seconds.
It's fast.
20 seconds for him to find the bodies?
Correct.
They're going to argue that he knew what he was going to find, and that's why they called so fast. The defense is going
Right.
to argue it was readily apparent that Paul was dead, and so he called. Creighton, we
20
get it.
seconds? Uh-uh.
Statements to law enforcement shortly after the crime.
I think that's actually
Went
good
over and
evidence.
checked the bodies and that sort of thing.
I do.
What, if anything, in his statements to law enforcement did the defendant say about what he did when he arrived at the scene?
The defendant stated that he went and checked on Paul and Maggie to check the bodies.
And from the moment
That OnStar
Suburban
data,
arrived at
man.
the
That
kennels, how long did
OnStar.
it take for that 911 call to be made?
It's going to get him.
Less than 20 seconds.
20 seconds to get out of the car,
Check the bodies.
see what he sees, get his phone that's probably in the car. Because do you take your phone out of the car with you? Interesting.
I think this
that
is it, you
OnStar
guys.
data
I'm sorry. I think this
Is
really nailed
very,
him.
very close.
Another call from Rogan to Paul that
But
never
why
been
lie about
That is correct.
why
10:08:27,
lie about
never
checking the
answered.
bodies? That OnStar data they did not have last
It's
week.
10:11:54, what happens?
This is when Alex Murdaugh was on the 911 call, stated he was going to go get a gun. This was at 10:11:54. This is when the Suburban is showing leaving the kennels.
He does what he says he's going to do.
And down
But
at
we
the
know he
bottom of
lies.
page 36, we see another map. What does
Whether
that
he
reflect?
kills is the
That's going to
question.
be 10:13:54.
Yeah, good point.
And on the next page, it's going to
I
show
guess
the
that
map.
doesn't
That's
really make
when
him absolutely guilty.
That wasn't me.
the Suburban left the main house going back to the kennels.
Oh, it wasn't me either.
And what time does the location data reflect that the Suburban arrived?
Make
back?
sure you like Emily D. Baker's channel, subscribe, it's
10:14:30
free.
is when it's going to reflect right back to the
And
kennels.
she's got some great coverage of like the high profile cases.
Approximately, this is when he's coming into
I don't
the
always agree with her.
view of the
I don't
kennels.
always agree with her, but she does cover them.
That OnStar data.
And what
And she
time
was
does
a
the
former
911 call
prosecutor,
in?
so.
So the 911 call is going to end at 10:17,
She said she was never a defense attorney. She was always a criminal prosecutor, so that's
and then the
interesting.
step data is what the 10:16:37 p.m. is referring to. That's going to be when his step data ended. I believe it was 594
Oh, that's a
steps
cool
taken.
idea. Oh, that's cool, Ted.
After the 911 call, does the defendant's phone reflect any activity?
It does. It shows him calling Randy Murdaugh. Shows 16 seconds long.
He told
activity
911, I'm
time.
going to call
And
family.
that's based off his CDRs. It was
And he
not
does?
found on either extraction. Then also we have a 1018 where he's sending a text message to Randy saying, please call me emergency.
Is there step activity around this time on Alex's phone?
There is 10:18:53 to 10:28:05. We're showing approximately 525 steps taken during that time frame.
That's a lot of steps.
And does Paul's backlight come on again?
Because if he's pacing, it might
It
not show
does
steps.
10:18:08 to 10:18:20. We're showing backlight.
Was that after the 911 call had ended?
No. I'm sorry, yes. Yes, it was.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. So 10:17 is when the 911 call ended, and this would have been at 10:18:08. So this would have been right after.
The last text that hit Paul's phone was from whom?
Rogan Gibson.
Yo.
No one comes
I
out.
believe it said yo.
Paul's phone still hitting, of course, that
It's
kennel
just,
location.
it's so
That is
normal
correct.
in
This
such
is going to be off of his
horrific
iPhone
context that it's
location.
just kind of chilling.
Paul's phone found
Rogan's
yet
like, bro,
for your knowledge of
yo.
the investigation?
It was
Call
found
me.
on Paul's rear end, facing up.
Top of page 39, we have a map. What does that reflect?
This is going to reflect Verizon records for Alex Murdaugh, starting at 10:19 all the way to 11:18, and it's just showing the sector it was pinging off
The
of.
deleted
I'm gonna
calls.
miss
That's in
you
the area
guys
of
today.
I think it cuts,
Right,
again,
you
I
have
think
a
it
range
cuts
of
both
times there
ways.
from the 10
Because the
inch hour
prosecution
to the
argued in
11
opening he was
hour PM,
manufacturing an
that's
alibi,
when
then why delete it?
That is correct.
Why not show all the calls? And I think it goes the other way
Alex
too.
phone
Well, he
reflect
only
a couple
wanted
of
some
that
calls
were
to
not
show.
on his extraction, but in the CDRs?
It does.
It also shows the
To what people?
extraction.
It's going to be to Randy Murdaugh, John Marvin, and then Rogan Gibson, and then Christie.
And he tells police he makes those calls.
What, if any, activity does Paul's phone reflect?
So Paul's phone shows a
he shows
display
them that night.
on screen auto lock. It's been locked. It's just documenting a auto lock.
What? What's
Display
on
on
the
auto lock? And that auto lock can be consistent with what, according to your understanding?
According to my understanding is that auto lock could be, it doesn't recognize like a face, so automatically locks, or it could be just hitting like on the iPhone,
Here,
the power button on the side.
Tell me what's
What was the last text that hit Paul's phone again? Who was it from?
Rogan Gibson
And what does the defendant do just seconds later?
calls Rogan Gibson.
Oh.
Was that on the Dylan Hightower extraction?
It's not on the Dylan Hightower extraction or the second one.
So they're going to argue he saw Rogan's
You
text
mentioned
to
before
Paul.
that there was a group text about Mr. Randolph's health. And when did the defendant finally read that text?
The following day, so that'd be June 8th, 2021.
At 10:22:09, was there a text that the defendant read?
There was 10/22/09. He received a group text message from Michael Gunn and a few people saying she brought the heat from Miami boys, and it was read the same night at 10:38:42 p.m. An associated picture is below.
What? Wait, what is...
10:24 and the 10:25 hours, what, if
Wait.
anything, does the
What?
defendant's phone reflect?
Alex tries to call Rogan, and then he sends an iMessage.
I'm going to
saying,
need you to
"Call
back
me."
up.
Yay!
I-
I'm so happy for you,
I'm sorry,
Ted.
y'all.
Yay!
I've got...
Yay,
What
yay.
the fuck is this group
She brought-
text?
For we.
I am...
9, he received a group text
I'm-
message from Michael Gunn and
Y'all, I need to know what is happening with this group text because it's so out of left field. We've heard nothing about this.
Come on now.
But is he reading this
For you.
while he's waiting for law enforcement to come because his son and wife are dead? What is happening with this group text?
a few people saying she brought the heat from Miami boys.
From Michael Gunn. From Forge.
And it was read the same night at 10:38:42 p.m. An associated picture is below.
Forge. That's from Forge. Okay, so then at 10:24 he calls Rogan Gibson. Then at 10:24 he iMessages Rogan Gibson, call me. Then at 10:25 he FaceTimes Rogan Gibson. And then at 10:25 the first deputy is on scene. Y'all.
The 10:24 and the 10:25 hours, what, if anything, does the defendant's phone reflect?
Alex tries to call Rogan.
They said they were friends.
And then he sends an iMessage stating, "Call me." And then he attempts to do a FaceTime, and this is going to be the first log that we see on his phone records is going to be this FaceTime call with Rogan on his extraction. for
Do you
the
think
day
Michael
of June
Gunn knew
7th,
this was going to be in the
2021.
timeline?
Multiple attempts to contact Rogan. Huh?
Or not?
That's correct.
Yeah, Michael Gunn.
What time does law
Probably a
enforcement
little embarrassed right
arrive
now.
on the scene?
Let's go.
Approximately 10:25 is when the first deputy arrived on scene.
Can you guys hear me?
And we saw that body cam.
10:25?
No, Rogan, his friend.
That's correct.
We see
Joe
stuff
Rogan.
activity
I wouldn't be
around the
surprised
time.
though. Can you hear me? Okay?
We do, so
I
we
have
had
no idea
a
what I'm
group step
doing.
activity
Can we
end
just all agree to that?
at
Can we all agree I don't know what
10:28:54,
I'm
and then
doing?
we had a new group start at 10:28:54 that goes to 10:37:27.
I'm
just
just
showing
no idea what I'm
326
doing.
putting it on
rounds approximately.
1.25 so we can catch back up. For all of you that are watching on multiple monitors, I'm sorry.
It reflects 10:29:17 a
okay.
call to Randy.
Oh, no.
That shows answered 42 seconds
Is that
long.
okay?
That's also not on the extraction. And then a
Test.
FaceTime with Rogan at 10:30:31. That does show on the extraction.
Test.
FaceTime.
That's correct.
Rogan didn't answer the
I
calls.
have no idea.
I believe his previous testimony, Rogan said he was asleep during the time.
Rogan didn't answer any of those calls.
Hey, no, no,
Moving
no.
on to
Get
page
down, get
41.
down.
This is
Hi.
going to be a Paul
Hi.
Murdoch Verizon
Hi.
records. This is just
Hi.
going to show.
Hi. Get
the,
out of there.
the
Yeah.
tower, and then just the
Nope, that's a
location.
bad
No, I
idea.
don't know
See
if
Moselle
Gunn's
Road.
married. I don't know if that's Gunn's
Great,
wife.
great.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just,
okay. Come on.
it's so
Let's go.
random
Come on.
that it's in this timeline.
Come on. Yeah, I
Is
know.
there a
you.
display on?
Yeah, you.
It's just so
Activity
odd.
on Paul's phone,
Yep,
but
you-
also
What is
a
All eyes on
happening?
phone
you.
call from Nolan Tootin around that time?
That is correct around
Ah!
10:34.
Why do cats wanna die?
It's showing display on, and then a Nolan Tootin phone call.
And then finally, what time does Paul's phone finally die?
Paul's phone finally dies at 10:34:24 p.m. on June 7th, 2021.
We should
Almost
have.
2 hours after
There
the
should
video.
be more cats.
That is correct.
I know. Why not? Why not have Joe Rogan somehow involved in this ridiculous case?
Safe locked until when?
Oh, that's
The
right. He
following
is
day,
married.
June 8th,
Alec and
around
Maggie went to the wedding.
1:10
Maybe that's his
p.m. when the
wife.
investigators
Let's go
found
with
it.
that's his wife. Let's
That's
go with
correct.
his wife is rocking and she brought the heat in Miami.
Okay. He's showing pictures of his
I don't know.
wife.
I'm trying not to
I don't know.
distract with what Michael Gunn was up to. It's just such a weird thing to include. It's just an odd. It's out of place in this
weird.
timeline, which it has distracted me because now I want to know why the prosecutor's in. If the prosecutors put it in to just poke at people, I'm not liking that. But if they put it in to show that he's reading text messages at this time and active on his phone, we already have that through Rogan, Gibson, and others. I just find it very interesting. But
Come
yes,
on, let's go.
the data is the
You can do it.
receipts. And
Good job.
so he did a lot and didn't call his wife's family.
Yeah, I know. I need more.
Your mom
I
is
need
correct.
More.
He did a lot and
crap
didn't call
in
his
this
wife's
case.
family. The prosecution might be being messy,
Ridiculous.
but they're the prosecution. It's not their job to be messy. It's not their job to be messy.
yeah.
he
I need
didn't
an arc.
delete that
I
one.
need a narrative
Couple
arc.
of exhibits, we're almost done.
through
Everybody's
the
hungry.
crap.
Trey Westman marked as 523. If you're,
We haven't seen him call Buster yet.
Recognize that.
I do.
And tell
I
the
didn't see him
jury
call
just
Buster
where
yet.
that's from, please.
This is going to be a text message I retrieved from one of the Cellbrite extraction reports. It's gonna be from Paul.
Oh no, they're not talking about the Miami Heat basketball
Your Honor,
team.
this
If you
time
didn't
I'll
see
say
the photos
5.3.
associated,
Your Honor, we would renew the previous objections. Have no additional objections.
if you didn't see the photos associated, they were not talking about basketball in that text message. So for those of you just listening in the background, that text message to the group was of a woman on a boat, and they were talking about her bringing the heat in Miami. So,
Showing pictures of your wife.
but again, could be Michael Gunn's wife. So, I'm not going to speculate on that.
Forget it.
The reason I brought it up is because it's a very, it feels out of place in the whole timeline. But there's a group text with a photo. It's showing that he has cell phone reception. He doesn't call Maggie's family. He doesn't call Buster. He's trying to get in touch with Rogan Gibson, not Buster. He is
Let's say
trying like
5.3.
hell to get in touch with Rogan Gibson.
Text
Wonder
from-
why
From
Rogan.
which person to which person?
So this is going to be from Paul Murdoch, and it's going to be to
This is
voicemail.
Rogan
That's going to refer
text
to
line.
Alex. This is obtained from his phone. It's going to be the owner.
Who
So it's
could
going to be
guess what
Paul
this guy's
to
up
Alex.
What's the date?
The date is going to be May 6, 2021 at 10:52:13 a.m.
Live to die.
Oh, shit.
It says, I am still in EB because when you get here, we need to talk. Mom found several bags of pills in your computer bag. This is again from Paul to Alex
Oh, dear.
on May 6.
Yeah.
We
bring
ha-
heat.
We now have multiple testimony
Bring the heat
that
to
Paul
Cali.
was
That's
taking
right.
pills from
You want
Alec.
to talk about
and we
it?
have
Let's
Alex
talk about it.
phone call
I'm happy to have that conversation.
interview. No.
Rationally and calmly.
It was the
but We're
interview.
not going
I
to do
think
this
it was the phone
anymore.
call interview.
We're
It was
not
one of
doing
the
this
three interviews we heard
anymore.
yesterday where
You're just
Alex
gonna choose.
saying he doesn't know
there's not
what
a
he did in
choice.
the hospital because he was experiencing
Stick to
withdrawal
death.
symptoms. And if he was trying to
Give
bribe the nurses to
fences.
call Cousin Eddie, it's because you will do anything when you are in withdrawals, and he's
Fences are
trying to
complicit.
get Cousin Eddie to come bring him pills. This is not the motive that the prosecution has ever argued. They have never argued that this was fueled by withdrawals, ever. They have never argued that. So it might seem odd to the jury if they try to switch gears now. So just saying. But that's a very interesting text message that we have never seen. But if that's the case, why not argue it in opening? Why argue all the financial frauds? I've got thoughts. We're gonna have a long talk today, chat. We're gonna have to have a long chat. I feel very bad for Paul that he's trying to deal with his dad's addiction with his mom. Because if the addiction is part of what's crashing down in this, that's a whole different thing than the financial crimes.
States 553, see if you recognize this exhibit.
Okay.
This is right before these murders,
I do.
a month before.
This is going to be some searched items that I obtained from Maggie Murdaugh's extraction report.
Your Honor, this time it offers
This is
states
all new.
553, I believe, without additional objection.
No additional objections, Your Honor.
Submit it.
For those of you asking why not show all the
Tell the jury
motives,
what this exhibit is, please.
I
So
think
this is going to be
the
Google
prosecution needs
searches. Far left, you're going to have a timestamp. The source, which is going to be Safari, that's for Apple. And then the value is going to be the searched
Oh,
item.
shit.
And on May 26, 2021, at 11:21 p.m., Maggie searched green gel pill P30. She also searched 11:20 p.m.
These are Maggie's Google searches.
Green gel pill P30, white pill 30 on one side RP. And if you look to the right, you're going to see a comment that says deleted. That one is showing yes has been deleted. And then
she's
if you go down
deleting
to row
her
number
internet
4,
searches.
it's going to be May 6,
Safari
2021
search
from
history.
Safari,
So I
white
was
pill
getting my
30 on
nails
one
done
side
yesterday.
RP, and that's also shown deleted.
And bringing the heat to Cali. I was getting my nails done yesterday, and the woman was really sweet, and I didn't really have any makeup on at that point. And
So May 6th,
anyway,
there
so
was
she's like,
some type of
what are you talking about?"
confrontation regarding the
Oh, I was
pills.
talking about the fact that I'm going out for coffee today, and da 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 da.
Clearly,
And she's
Maggie
like,
did not have a PDR, but I wouldn't
oh,
expect
you're
Maggie to
still
have a
single?
physician's
And I'm
desk
like,
reference
"Yeah, I'm
to
still
look at these
single." And
pills.
she's
She
like,
did what
"How
everybody else
old
did,
are
and she
you, if you don't
Googled it.
mind me asking?"
Could you slide it down just a little
And
bit?
I'm
So I make
like,
sure there's not another
well, I'm
entry.
59.
Okay.
I'm 59 years old.
And again, the defense
And
would have known
she's
all
like,
of this is coming. The defense
oh
has
my
all this
God.
information.
Like, she was legit,
The defense
like,
knows all
bad
of
shocked.
this.
Like, you're that old? And I was like, yes. I mean, she didn't say that.
The
but I'm
entire chat
like,
Googling green gel.
Yeah.
Don't.
It was funny. Anyway, it kind of makes
Show
me
you
laugh.
Oregon States 556 and see if you recognize this exhibit.
Too funny.
Text that we've never seen.
This is going to be a text message thread between Alex Murdaugh and Russell Lafitte,
And at the time, where did Russell Lafitte work again, to your understanding?
Palmetto State Bank.
Before he was
And Your Honor, this time it offers
prosecuted.
states 556, I believe, without additional objection.
No additional objections.
What is he saying to Russell Lafitte?
Objections previously ruled upon.
See the exhibit.
I'm so thankful that Barber is the defense attorney that's going to be doing this cross-examination. You have no idea how thankful I am. So thankful. So this is the rest of the storm. The drugs are exposed. His family's asking questions. It sounds like from the sister's testimony, his son is taking his pills from him. In his own words, he says, "I don't even know what I would do when I'm starting to go into withdrawal." That was in his words from after the hospital. And if Paul's the one taking, that's a whole different scenario than just the money problems are coming down. It's a whole different situation.
Paul is gonna
The
bring it
storm
down.
is a lot different.
I still don't see where you kill your child.
The fact that it took us 20 days to get to some kind of cohesive something is real fucking frustrating.
556 up on the screen. And again, tell the people on this text and the time and what it says.
So this is going to be a text from voicemail, which is going to be Alex Murdaugh's phone, to Russell Lafitte. It was sent on June 3rd, 2021 at 3:22 p.m.
Help, I need money.
This is from Alex stating, I need to extend farm credit line another $600,000. My dad will sign also if needed. How much turnaround will that take? And
His
again,
dad-
that's from Alex to
in the
Russell Lafitte
hospital?
on June 3rd, 2021.
Show you two final exhibit states.
Has anyone applied for a loan that way?
554.
Chat, let me know if you've ever applied for a loan with a
recognize
text
those.
message that said,
do.
I need
And where were those
600K.
These are found from Maggie Murdaugh's iPhone extraction.
Your Honor, this time I offer 554 and 555 into evidence.
His
I believe
dad
that
was in the hospital June 3rd. And then got out of the hospital and then went back in the hospital, I think.
Economy class. Your public mailing, you know, the well-intended thought stuff. Yeah. Yeah, you do that. I didn't get coffee. I have a diet.
I've never
Coke.
applied for a loan
I have
that way.
iced coffee from yesterday.
Maggie Murdaugh and her
Okay, let's
sister.
not be too luxurious
lovely.
about it. It's basically day-old coffee with ice cubes in it. I love you too, Ted.
Stage 555, who is that?
This is going to be Buster Murdaugh, Maggie Murdaugh, and Paul Murdaugh.
Oh, the coffee date. Oh, yeah, no. Yeah. Yeah. We'll see.
Thank you, Special Agent. Please answer any questions the defense may have.
You have to
Wow.
be pretty. You have to.
They've
you have
done
to
with break for lunch
laugh
now.
a lot.
For an hour and 15 minutes. Please do not discuss the case.
And I'm probably not.
Wait, an hour and
starting a
15 minutes puts us back
relationship
when?
as I am on stream.
Chat, help. it is
I'm
it is
probably pretty
1:08 in the east.
I bet you I'm really needy.
When does an hour and 15 minutes put us back?
I think
The judge might
I haven't
say.
been in a relationship
The
in a long
judge
time,
might
but
say,
I think I'm
that's,
pretty needy.
My brain has stopped.
I don't know. And I'm so independent.
The Paul, why'd you have to get involved makes more sense. It does.
As
Please
are
not
we
discuss your
all.
testimony
Oh, is
during
this time for? Oh my God! It's time for whatchamacallit.
and
What?
in recess.
I love you too, Ted. I do love you.
All right.
All right,
So
so we're gonna listen
2:25
to
ish.
her, and then we're
I
gonna.
think
find
that's
some
right.
stuff
I will
to-
be back right at like 1. I will be back at 1:20. Let's see. I'll be back
So,
at 1:20 p.m. after
11:20.
my lunch. That gives me actually time to eat today.
11:25.
All right. So, the court, I was just a little bit behind. So,
Let's see what.
yeah,
the
I'll be
next
back at
steps are.
1:20. That makes sense. All right. We're going to answer some questions. We're code orange. We're code Fred this morning
11.
because
Okay.
Fred, I think that's the state's last witness. It looks like we're going to have about a 2-hour cross-examination is what they expect. I expect to keep, here's what's going to happen. Today, we're going to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And that's what should be happening at this point in a trial. It's like, ooh, it's this, but ooh, it could be that, but ooh, it could be this, but ooh, it could be that. I don't know if we have any solid answers at the end of the state's case. And you might not know that either, and that's okay. We still have at least another week of testimony in the defense's case. So with that, let's go ahead and do a quick swoopy doop roundup, and then some questions, and then some lunch. Today, we finally got a timeline witness showing where the car was going, what steps were being taken, where the phones were rounded up, that lays the groundwork for, well, I think if anyone's come to a conclusion, it supports their conclusion. But is it going to move anyone one way or the other? If people already think that the state is overreaching and there's not enough evidence here, I think the timeline says to them, hey, there's not enough time to clean this up. But if people are already leaning towards he's definitely involved, the timeline shows more definitively that he could not have done the things he said he did on the 911 call in any way, because the 911 call happened, 15, 17 seconds after he arrived at the kennels. It's a lot of time to process that your wife and son have been shot to pick up the phone and call 911. And we didn't remember, the prosecution didn't have that information. We had not heard any of that information with the hard and fast timeline until GM turned it over last week, because GM responded to the search warrants going, we don't have have anything. And then all of a sudden in the middle of trial, GM's like, oh, by the way, we could give you a lot more information. And that information has definitely pinned down the timeline. But I just wonder how the defense will poke holes in this after the lunch break when it comes back on cross-examination. And then there's some random text messages in there and you're like, what? That's strange. What is that group text with Michael Gunn? And then you have this text message we've never seen before, ever. On June 3rd, Alec Murdaugh texts Russell Lafitte of Palmetto State Bank and says, and this is me summarizing, this is what he says.
Hey, Bo. I'm going to need $600K in my line of credit. We good?
Texts the head of the bank that he needs to extend his line of credit $600,000 on June 3rd. This is before he's confronted June 7th about the $792,000 that is missing with regard to Chris Wilson. Before that.
What did we decide was a good news source
before
that we
he
wanted
knows
to?
that they know that that
What was
$792,000 is missing. So what is that $600,000 for? It's very, very interesting. So with all of it, I think this is going to solidify people's point of view already. And if you're sitting here going, I have a lot of questions, I don't know if this answers your questions.
Oh, you mean
And I don't know if it will. We still have a week of the defense's case, and then we have the prosecution rebuttal. We are still a long way from the jury getting this, and the jury is told to not make their mind up yet.
You know, actually,
so if
I
you're
think
like,
once
I
they
still
break
have
for lunch,
questions,
I might
that's totally
break for the
fair.
day, 'cause
But
I
you're
think
not
I
on the
should
jury,
just,
so
like,
if you're like,
take a
I
little
feel this way or
nap
this
and
way,
take a
that's
little
fair.
break.
Just keep in
I think I
mind
should
whether
take a
the
little
next
break.
testimony to come changes
I
your
want to
mind,
prepare some stuff
because
for
the
the
jury's going
lounge,
to be doing that
actually.
too. It's like,
I have some
I
ideas
just wonder
about
how many
that
questions they
Dominion,
have. I just wonder how
that
many
Dominion
questions they have.
transcript.
We're going to get to some questions
So
because I got questions, you got questions.
I think
We've
we'll go
got
through her questions,
questions.
and then I'll
And
probably
we're going to fuck
wrap
around and
it
find
just
out real
for
quick,
this
and then we're going to go
morning,
get some
and
lunch.
then
I'm going to go see my kiddos
I'll be
because
back
they don't
for
have
the
school.
lounge. Me a chance to get some. I'd like to. You know what I'd like to do? I'd like to do the lounge from the kitchen today.
Before I do that,
I'd like
I'm
to
going to
do a
do the
kitchen
YouTube things.
lounge.
Give me 30 seconds to just plug my own shit, and then I promise I'll be done. If you haven't subscribed, please do
Oh
that. I
yeah,
would
please do
super love to get
subscribe
to
to her and
700,000
like her
here on YouTube.
broadcast.
It just makes me feel warm and fuzzy. And I'm trying to prove to my 11-year-old that I am, in fact, a real YouTuber. He doesn't seem to believe me until
Oh
I
my
have
God.
an M after my number, because Mr. Beast has an M after his number, as do all of his other favorite YouTubers. So the shade from my child is real.
That's cute.
And I am
Oh my
fighting him. The only
God.
one that can help with that
That's
is
just
you.
Ann
So thank
Arbor
you for that.
itself
And
sounds
then Mr.
cold.
Beast
I
goes
don't
and
think I've ever been
releases
to Ann
a
Arbor.
candy bar called D's
I've been
Nuts.
to.
Do you know what my 11-year-old now thinks is the funniest fucking thing ever?
Oh my God. I
Yep.
don't think I've ever been
Yep.
to Michigan.
Yep. D's Nuts. Then
I don't think I've ever
we've
been
got
to Michigan.
other things to plug.
That's
The podcast.
surprising.
It's
I
called
love
The
a good
Emily Show.
lake.
I'm covering other cases right
Why
now
wouldn't I
on the
go
podcast
to?
that we're not
I'm gonna
covering in
put her
this.
down a little
I
bit.
am absolutely going to be doing the Quick Bits roundups. I went and got my nails done last night.
Yeah,
I haven't
do
had a time
definitely
to
get
round up with the
her.
Quick Bits.
Take a look at her
with
Quick
that,
Bits things and all the things on her channels.
Quick Bits is my second channel.
But
The
yeah,
Emily
no,
Show
I
is the
didn't.
podcast.
It's where the
Members only
Beatles
live stream will
plays.
be on Monday. If you're a member here on YouTube or
Oh, I don't
on
know what that means.
RiggyKnight.com, you will be part of that
Played to
live
get
stream.
John
So with
Sinclair out.
that,
Oh,
thank you for letting me
okay,
do the
yes,
YouTube-y
okay.
things. Yeah, it's apparently a
Cool.
candy bar with nuts in it called D's Nuts.
Who's already found my messages
Look, I
this
grew up in the
morning?
90s. I grew up in
Yeah,
the 90s.
Ted's
And I
spreading
was so
public
happy to get
melee through
away
thought
from
stuff.
that phrase. And here we go again. Here we go again.
There's a way closer.
Yeah, David said
Oh,
it.
yeah,
Mom,
no.
I
That's why I
want
think
D's nuts.
it's a
Yep.
just be safe. That's all.
Yep.
Just be safe.
Thank you, Mr. Beast. Thank
Yeah.
you so much
Yeah, Ted has
for
done
that
a
gift,
lot
because my
to
kids
stand up.
cannot
I guess that,
stop
it's hard to
laughing.
stand up on
Mom,
the
can
hellscape
we
these
buy these
days. There's some
nuts?
people
Can we
that
get these
choose
nuts?
fences. I don't understand fences in some
Thank you, Mr.
arguments. I
Beast.
just don't.
All of us parents
Seems
appreciate
pretty
you.
clear to
All
me.
right, with that, it is
Anyway.
time. I know it's funny. I know it's funny,
I
but
don't
also,
know.
yikes. All right, let us keep going. Oh, okay. So wait, I told you about
Drive
I
fast
told
so
you
you don't have to
about
drive safe.
the Emily Show podcast. I told you about
Move fast
Quick
and
Bits,
break
the
things.
podcast
Yeah,
and
I
the
think
second YouTube
what
channel.
we should
I
do.
told
We
you what
should
we're
be in
doing
the
over
kitchen
here.
tonight.
I
Don't you
reminded you
think?
to subscribe.
I think we should
Should
try
I
to be
just,
in the kitchen.
y'all, a new
I just need
project
a
that
little
I'm a
chair to
part
sit on.
of
And, or though,
released
no, I
today.
could
Should
sit
I
on the
tell you?
counter. That was
Should
fine.
we just, do
And
you want me
maybe
to
make
tell
some
you?
cookies.
I couldn't release it because it didn't get
I think we
released
should do
until
that.
today.
I think it's
So
Friday night. Wouldn't it
should
be
we just,
nice
should
for
I
my
just let you
daughter to
know
come home from
and then go
work
to
and have like
questions?
fresh baked
Should I just
cookies?
let you know and then go to
I
questions?
think so.
Because
I
this
think
has been a
so.
secret project
Oh, the cats are
that I
definitely
am
Team
that got
Ted too,
confirmed
by the way.
today.
They told me.
Should I tell you?
They
All right.
they are all
Let's
up
talk
for the
about it. Let's
public
talk about it real
melee and
quick.
the thought
This is in Deadline this
fucking.
morning. Real Housewife of Salt Lake City star Jen Shaw to be
Oh,
subject of Queen of the Con Season 4 podcast.
oh, I don't know what
I
that
have
means.
joined
I
Queen of
love
the Con
the Real
Season
Housewives
4
of Salt Lake City.
as
That's one of
a
my favorite
contributing
franchises.
producer, and I will
Yeah,
also,
they
you will
really
hear
they
me
dig
in the
you.
podcast. So
They really
Queen
dig you.
of the Con Season 4
So does my daughter. My
is
daughter
brought to you
digs you
by
too.
TV producer and
She
con hunter
knows. She
Jonathan
knows you're a
Walton,
hero.
investigates and hosts the
So
podcast,
there's
executive
that.
producer with Air
Lots of
Media,
people know you're a
and Elise
hero.
Rosen, and then attorney Emily D. Baker is attached to the new season
And
as a
hey,
consulting producer. The
tomorrow
series is distributed by
morning.
iHeart
Tomorrow
Podcast Network. So
morning,
I have been
bright and
working on
early.
Queen of the Con
Look for an
Season
email from
4. So
me.
with that, I will
Maybe I'll
be
just go ahead and set something
involved
up, and then I'll
with
send you
this
the I'll send you the
iHeartRadio
link.
podcast. So that
Okay,
will be the
I'll send
third
it on
podcast.
email as
So
soon
for
as
those
I
of
get
you
it
that
set
are
up
already
for
familiar
tomorrow.
with Queen of the Con, as I
I'll
see
be easy,
so many of
easy.
you in the chat
Easy,
are,
easy, lemon
this
peasy,
is a
squeezy.
project that
Easy peasy,
I'm
lemon
going to
squeezy.
be an integral part of. So there will be
Difficult.
more
Isn't it morning?
podcasting to come.
Don't you say
So
that. Is it not
that has been
morning?
released today. I'll be sharing
Did you
that
mean
more
nighttime?
on social media after the
Okay,
trial today.
nighttime? I
So
can do nighttime.
thank you. Queen of the
You want
Con
to do
has
nighttime?
been a really well produced
I'm
podcast.
sorry.
It is very
I can do
victim
nighttime.
focused, which is one of the things I liked, but also find that they follow the evidence. They're
What do
not
you
just
think?
out to,
You tell
you
me.
know, name call people.
If you
So
meant
with
PM,
that,
that's fine. I can do that.
I'm very excited to be a part of season 4 of Queen of the Con, and glad to see that Deadline shared that project today. So
with a meeting
so
take
with
place.
that,
Let
Dave
it
said that's dope,
happen.
but I thought she was about to say she's an
Does
Avenger.
that work?
There
10
are some
for
things I
me
can't
should be 7.
disclose.
No, I mean
Some
it,
things I
the
can't
morning or
All
the
right, with
evening
that, we
works.
need to get to questions. So
The morning or the evening
let
works.
us get
So
to your questions.
7
I know you've got a
or
lot of them.
7:30
I can
a.m.
see them,
or
and thank you all for
7
the
or
super chats and
7:30
support.
p.m.
Crystal
Doesn't
said
matter
what
to
we're all
me,
feeling. This
if
trial
that
gives me
makes
a
sense.
headache. Facts. Every
I like how we're
single
doing
day
this just like
this
on
week,
live
I've had a
stream. I
headache
think that's
after this show.
excellent.
Like I keep touching my neck. My skin is very reactive, but like all of my muscles are tight. My neck is tight. I'm just like,
But I really can do either one easily,
Lori,
equally.
this weekend I am working on
Equally not a
Bring the
problem.
Jury merch. I'm also working on some variations of that.
PM. Okay,
I just
sweet.
haven't gotten there yet.
That's
Julie
it.
said
7:30
that They
p.m.
believe that the drugs
or
are why he
7.
killed his son.
You want to do
The thing that
7
hurts, the
p.m.?
prosecution has
Okay,
never
7 p.m.
ever
7.
argued that. Trixie said Miami Heat looks a little like
Love
M.
you,
Gunn's
Ted.
wife,
I love you
Amanda.
so
And
much.
I imagine that it is, but why put
Have
it
a
in
really
there?
safe
It's
drive,
just odd to me that
and
it's in there.
I'll see you
True,
tonight.
thank you for the
Okay,
super
love?
chat. Based on the millions
love
of
you.
dollars, quantities of pills, and now Maggie's search,
Yes,
she
PM is
didn't know.
fine. No problem.
I think
No problem
I think
whatsoever.
there's lots of
7
evidence
p.m.
that he
7
was
p.m. 7 p.m.
involved
10
in
p.m.
some way
10
with
p.m. 10
distribution.
p.m. 10 p.m.
He's
10
been
p.m.
charged with narcotic offenses. I don't remember if he was
All
charged
right.
with distribution or just cousin.
I
But there
love
are
all of
narcotic
you.
offenses that
Thank
he's
you
been charged
very
with.
much
I don't think
for
Maggie
everyone to come today.
knew. And so
Yeah, I'll
was
see you guys
Maggie
tonight.
suspecting and just Googling pills?
And
Because
yeah,
why is she
cool.
Googling?
Oh my God, I'm really
Why
excited.
is she Googling
7:30?
these
Totally.
pills if she
Totally.
knew what it was? I think it's a very fair point.
7:30. 7:30
all
p.m.
of you that have been touched
10:30
by
p.m. your time.
addiction, of
7:30
any
p.m. my time.
sort,
10:30 p.m. your time.
if you know, right?
Done, done, and
So if
done.
this is a 20-year
Done,
addiction
done,
and she
and
knows
done.
he's addicted to
All right. I love you
painkillers,
guys. I'll see
wouldn't she
you
look at that and be like,
soon. Take care. Have a
'cause that's a big bag
wonderful
of painkillers.
Friday. Have
She
a
wouldn't
very
need to
good
necessarily
Friday. You
Google
have to
what
promise
those
me.
were.
You have to.
Because she would know that. So
I'm
it's
counting
very
on you.
interesting to see.
I love you.
So I see the chat saying there's
Have a wonderful
trafficking.
day.
There's trafficking